Helpless, he just stood there until she reached him. And then the last thing he felt, the last thing he heard, was his own body being torn in half.
What?
The next morning, looking out from the train, travelers on their commute swore they now saw a boy with no legs crawling into the sewer.
What?
Finally, according to this legend, after either hearing this story or the sounds of teke teke, Kashima will visit you in 3 days, ask you a riddle, usually in a dream.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And the only way to escape suffering the same fate as that boy is to answer her questions exactly the right way. She will ask, do you need your legs? And you must reply, I need them right now. And then she will ask, who told you my story? And you must reply, Kashima Reiko. Ka is in mask, Shi is in death, Ma is in demon, Rei is in ghost, Ko is in accident. And if you answer her riddle without making any mistakes, she may let you live.
Jesus.
And if you don't, she may decide to turn you into whatever she herself has become.
So I've got 3 days to memorize those answers?
Yeah, 3 days.
I'm like, what do I have to say again? It's not funny. Oh, you're so
It's
lucky
not
we're
funny.
traveling together.
It's not funny.
You have 3 days. She says,
Not
"Do you need your
funny.
legs?" And you say, I need them right now.
I need them right now.
And
Okay.
then she'll ask, who told you my story? And you must reply, Kashima Reiko.
Kashima Reiko.
Kashima
I'm gonna have to get that, like,
Reiko.
permanently inscribed on my hand for the next 3 days.
Here's some
Do
pictures
you
of
have
what
a
this
Sharpie?
thing looks like.
I don't want to see this thing.
So this is, from there's an little image of
Yeah.
Kashima crawling towards the
Fucking
screen.
awful.
Not even looking.
Oh, God bless America.
And then there's another one here. You can see circled in the background somebody's, depiction, photo depiction of what she's coming after this girl here.
Oh, so that's like a selfie? Someone's like,
There's a movie. There's a movie that's been done about this since.
Okay.
And then there's one more teke teke image.
Stop saying it.
There she is holding up to her remains.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a 2009 horror movie, Japanese horror movie called Teke Teke. I haven't seen it. I watched the trailer, and it looks, I would say it looks okay.
Yeah.
Also, it tells a slightly different version of the story, because a lot of these with folklore, legend, the version changes a little bit from story to story.
I need my legs right now.
Isn't that a creepy story?
Hey, hold on. I need my legs right now.
Mm-hmm.
Tashisha, what?
I need them right now. You're not supposed to say legs. I need them right now.
I need them
And
right
then
now.
Who told you my story? Who told you? You don't remember?
Kashida.
You're as fucking good as dead.
I know. Tell me again, Dan.
Kashima Reiko.
Kashima Reiko.
Oh, man.
Kashima Reiko. Do you have a Sharpie
No,
handy?
no, we can talk about it after the show.
I don't want to wait.
You got a couple days.
She's going to come in 3 days. That doesn't mean that
Uh-huh.
she could come between now and
No, 3 days. You gotta wait 3 days. She'll come 3 days from now.
3 sleeps?
That's the legend.
3 sleeps from now? Or like exactly?
I don't know. I don't fucking talk to her. That's what it says. 3 days.
You can't tell me that I have 3 days to live and not give me the exact.
I'll text her. I'll text her after the show.
I'll fucking kill you, Dan.
Listen, you crazy bitch. When you come and kill my wife?
Well, just so you know, your sleep is now fucked for the next day. Does she come in your sleep?
Yeah, usually in a dream.
Okay, because you said she
Does
asks
she
the
come
riddle.
in your sleep?
Yeah, like in your dreams.
Fucking
Yeah.
hilarious.
I mean, again, we're talking about.
You're so screwed.
This isn't like this is like all formalized. This isn't like like a business you got to go to where you gotta fill out this application. This is just like this is a story.
I don't care. They're all just stories.
I know. They all are, but I don't know like exactly. She doesn't. It says in this one she doesn't always show. It says usually in your dream she can like I mean you could just wake
She
up.
just crawl in right now?
Yeah, you could just like go to the bathroom for example in the middle of the night.
Why would you say that?
And then she could just come up our stairs from the basement, but like she would just come right past the drums, and then she'd probably meet you right by the door there.
Hey, babe. You're so fucked. Because now, when I have to get up in the middle of the
Think
night
about
to
that.
pee, when I have to get up...
I picture that noise kind of like. Tick,
I wasn't talking.
tick. Okay.
When I get up in the middle of the night, guess who's getting up to take me to the bathroom?
Oh God. I gotta run security.
Hey, Heven!
You're gonna have
Don't
to go
worry.
downstairs, check the
I've
basement.
got
Well, all that's gonna
your...
happen is she comes up the stairs and I'm there.
Got
and I answer
this.
right, and then she's like, what about?
Won't be too bad.
Is that how she talks?
I'll be like, she'll be out of the bathroom in just a second.
Appreciate your turn.
She's almost done.
Hope you're doing good, Heven.
Wow. All right, Dan. Thanks for that.
It's
Creepy
been
story.
going so good.
Teke. Now, I want to say something
Other
that she probably
than
won't like.
bathroom
You know
troubles.
those little, like,
I wish there was
Cheetos?
no
Yeah.
bathroom
aren't they called,
troubles,
like,
but you know.
Takis?
Oh, I have no idea.
So now
I
all I can think
will-
about is,
Hot Cheetos. I don't know. I didn't know what you're talking about.
I think it's maybe
Yeah,
Spanish
Takis. Takis.
Really no idea what you're talking about. I don't know.
It's those hot little Cheetos. Well,
Takis.
are you today? I'm good.
Takis.
How are you today?
They're hot Cheetos,
Other
right?
than
Yeah,
literally not being it, I
And by the way, I think a difference between
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, thank you,
Like,
Joe.
I didn't look it up though.
if
so I might
it
be
if
wrong.
it
Okay, just guessing as
happens,
well. All right.
Right. Okay, well, before
it
we
happens.
dive
You
into
know,
all the fun that I
if
have for you
the
in
bathroom
Canada
calls,
and Utah,
you know,
we got this email.
the bathroom calls. We will just leave it at that. How about that?
From a fan.
That's how I'm doing today. Today was really good.
Okay.
Price change and everything like that. Nothing bad. Lad have streamed. He streamed, and I stayed in there for that. Willow's Eve
I
streamed.
just thought this was kind of like fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to be
yeah,
that
thank you.
guy,
Sure.
Thank you.
but I just thought that you might be.
I didn't want to tell you about it.
So a poltergeist, being the German
We're a
source
good friend.
noisy
Haven.
ghost
Right.
or noisy
We're good
spirit,
friends.
They are the worst of the worst.
You and me, we're good
Physical damage
friends.
to both yourself and the house.
I think good
Bruises,
friends should know
scratches,
when
moving
to
furniture, and
not
other
ask
objects with
questions.
Hostility being the main focus. And
Like,
they are
just be
mean.
like,
So the
you know,
poltergeists are
Poltergeists
mean,
mean.
noisy, and the worst.
Okay.
You
Then
know,
there's
as
a
your good friend.
Specter. They're visible to
I'm gonna say
human eye
that,
and usually cannot
maybe.
disturb physical
Maybe
objects
that
in the
question
world,
keep to
including
yourself.
bodily harm, but not always,
Yes, other
as
than
there can
that,
be
today has been
subtypes,
going
such
good.
as a
We
poltergeist
price
specter,
change
which
and all
can be
that.
both felt and heard.
Okay.
Okay.
My
Then,
hand,
human
I
banshee.
accidentally
They tend to be
stuck my hand in
auditory
some
only,
fucking
such as hearing voices in the walls or
ocean
even sounds in
perch
the walls like scratches or
accidentally,
footsteps.
and
once
I
again,
washed
it's a
off the
subtype.
ocean perch,
Okay.
and then my
He
hand
said
smelled
there's
like
many entities
ocean
that fall into
perch.
subcategories
And then I
where
was
they
like,
can
oh
seem
god
like
damn
they
it.
are all
I
types of
washed
ghosts
off,
with
smelled
no apparent
fine,
limits to their
and then
power. This
immediately,
is once again the information that matters if you actually believe in ghosts
I
in the
was
first place.
going for a price tag
Yeah.
in the
So I thought it was
case,
kinda like-
That is
and
interesting. Yeah, for sure.
I
And I will say that
touched
with a lot
the
of these,
big
you know, when you
old
go into
whole
different,
fish of flounder.
And, this is something I'm
And
learning a
I
little
was
bit
like,
because
oh,
of the time
this-
stuff we're doing
that's
the
fucking
folklore
great.
episodes that I'm doing right now about Baba Yaga.
There was
and,
no
you know, a lot of
customers
these things, like,
today.
origin of, like, witches and stuff. And
But
there
my
is a lot
my
of this
fucking
stuff, even, like, the
battery,
nomenclature of the
my
terms
charger
somewhat speculative
is not
because,
charged.
you know,
Like,
it'll
my
mean this in
phone
this region,
is
it'll mean
barely
this,
fucking
it'll mean
charging
this,
right
but
now.
But that is good. But I will say that all these are a little fluid.
Which
Because,
tells
you get
me
100,
that
like, you know,
fuck
ghost
me
experts in a room.
is what
Oh,
it's
yeah.
telling me.
They're gonna like, well, actually,
Like, it's
you know, there's gonna be a
charging.
lot of
It's
those.
just
They're gonna like, well,
taking its sweet
there's gonna be a
fucking
lot of, like,
time.
How they gonna do it?
I don't know what it is.
That's
You make the
But yeah,
weirdest
other
sound,
than that, today has been going great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talked to my
That's good. I mean,
friend,
that's
the
great. Yeah, that's
sushi
great.
guy.
Overview. No, I love
Uh,
extra info. I love it.
A little tidbit.
Didn't
Yeah,
really
tidbits.
do much. Work was
Thank you.
real
Anonymous
fucking
tidbit.
slow today,
Like,
and I
like,
think it's
criminal
because
information here.
Are you gonna
fish
go to
prices
Canada where you're
have
not
gone
allowed to
up
go?
just a little.
Okay.
And then
Canada.
not that much was going on sale tomorrow. Colossal
Okay.
shrimp will be on
Ready?
sale.
Yeah.
That's what you want to know about.
This story actually, I was
Colossal
like, okay.
fucking shrimp are on sale in a place
Dear
you
Queen of
can't get
Darkness,
to,
a
Haven.
master sucker who is spooky.
Isn't that
I've been a
interesting?
massive fan of Time Suck for
Other
a
than
couple
that,
years
today
now
was
and
great.
absolutely
Today
love
was
the new Scared to
good.
Death podcast.
Today was
3 out of 5 stars.
excellente.
Nice.
Nice. My fiance
The baby
and I
is
watch it every
good
week
as
and
well.
love how we
He
get
is
goosebumps
he
through
is
each and
just
every story.
sitting there being
I
cute.
apologize in advance for the long
and
email,
quiet.
but I was compelled to share
I'll
one story
probably
about
just-
the afterlife
With
and
the
my
scale
encounter
thing,
with it
I'm
after
doing
sharing
it like
some
this for
listeners'
now.
experiences.
I'll probably
Throughout
fucking
my childhood, I have
find
had
a
situations with ghosts
I'll
and
probably
haunted
find
dolls,
one.
but nothing has happened to me as an adult until I started
Yeah.
college.
Okay.
When I was
I'll
in college,
find
my
a
school was
scale.
located in an
Think it
old
might be a bit
asylum for the
off
mentally
by the time I get
disturbed
it.
in Toronto, Canada.
Yeah.
You know the type.
By the time
Murderers
it gets
who
to
are deemed
you,
insane,
it'll
schizophrenics,
be a bit off.
autistic,
It'll
bipolar, you
it
get
might
Yeah, there's
might be a
Yeah.
bit
They had converted this old creepy campus
less
with
than
multiple buildings
fresh
into a college
is
in
what
the
I'll
70s.
say.
This
Less
one
than
particular
fresh.
building is known to be haunted, and the school has even
Liability,
used it to turn it
liability,
into a haunted
liability.
house
That's
for
something that
tours
they
for the
teach
public at
us
Halloween.
there
Lucky for
is
me, this
like,
where almost
you
all
know,
of my fucking
it's a
classes would be
liability
for the
here,
next
it's a
4 years.
liability
Oh
there,
my
you
heck.
know. We want to
One day,
do
minding my
nice,
own business in
right
class,
by our
listening
community,
to my
but also
professor
we
talk
don't want to
about
be
some bullshit
liable
that
for
I've never
shit
used
that
in my
might
life.
happen,
I hear a knocking coming
which
from the other
is
side
a
of the wall
fucking
next to my
possibility.
seat. I didn't think anything of it, passed it off as my imagination, but then it happened again. My professor tells
But yes,
me to knock it off. But I had to try and explain.
Colossal
that it
Shrimp
wasn't
will be
me,
on
and
sale.
it was next door, knocking on
Look
the wall.
at that.
Right.
Here's the issue with that.
No, nothing.
class is in the
Nothing really
basement.
big. Nothing
The
really
walls are concrete,
spectacular.
And it's fucking dirt
Put
on
up the
other
price
side of the
tags.
wall.
Put up
This was
everything.
my first fuck no experience in this class.
Easy day.
The very next week,
As the sushi man says, easy money.
For the class
which I agree with him.
mine to end, I began to whistle because who doesn't like to pass time with a good old ditty?
But yes,
Much to my surprise,
easy money,
around the corner,
easy
out
day,
of sight, I can
and
hear
hope
someone
your
whistling back
day
to me
was
the same thing
good.
I was
Hope your
whistling.
day is going well.
I was
I know you're
curious to see who this
probably
mystery person
waking
was.
up,
To my
so
surprise,
hope
down the
it's
hall,
going
I see
well.
this woman
Hope
dressed
it's going
in white walking towards me,
fantastic.
where I was standing. I can hear her whistling. She was maybe 100 feet away from me, but I couldn't really make out any of her features. As she approaches the doorway, about 50 feet from me, she just vanishes. Fucking disappears. Fucking gone. I hauled ass out of that building and didn't go to school for 2 weeks. When I finally returned, it happened again, the same thing, but this time I had friends with me. I had witnesses. I had told them previously what had happened, and they didn't believe me, and of course mocked me for it. Called me names, asked me if my ghost girlfriend was in the room with us, and so on. They ran out of the building faster than I did, and although terrified, vindication did feel so good. After the second time it happened, I did a bit of research because I wanted to know who this mystery lady was. Turns out, this building was specifically dedicated for individuals who suffer from schizophrenia and bipolar disorder but had committed violent crimes. According to what I found, there was a nurse in this building who would sing and whistle to her patients. She was known as the whistling nurse. The story goes that she fell in love with one of her patients, and when he died from reasons unknown, she became severely depressed. One day she fell or jumped from the third-story stairwell on the outside of the building, which resulted in her
bing,
death right
bang,
above the spot where I
boom.
heard the fucking knocking.
Heaven, yeah,
imagine,
just up
my
and
4
away
years were
to
filled
get
with weird
son
and
ready for
spooky
school.
situations,
That's
such
okay.
as smoke coming from the old
But
crematorium that had
everybody,
been boarded
bing,
shut, and the chimney had been
bang,
blocked with cement.
bada
But this was the
boom.
most profound.
It's
Again, sorry for
done.
the long
It's
email.
done,
Wanted to
so.
share this story for a long
Fuck
time.
yes.
Love the podcast.
It's
love
done.
Time Suck. Hope to maybe get a shout out for my fiance, Leandra. Hi, Leandra.
Hi, Leandra.
As it would make her day. Keep
And then
on
I'm
creeping,
just gonna do
Vito.
this. I'm
Thanks,
gonna
Vito.
do
Oh,
this.
I do not like that.
Cha, bada,
Yeah, that
bada
apparition, but I
bing,
guess, like,
bada
she wasn't trying
boom.
to hurt him like you talked about before.
But she was trying to communicate with him. She was mimicking his whistle. I can't whistle for shit. But like, what if you're just like,
That is,
And then,
and all of a sudden you just across the room, you just hear
love it. Yep.
like a little bit
Yeah.
of echo, a little bit,
Merge. Merge all the
Yeah, that would
selected.
creep me out.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
then
then duplicate.
what? There's just
And
Yeah, just that alone. Can you
then
imagine, well, I mean, like, again, not to be like weird, like, you know, like our basement, like any basement, but
Yeah.
we're down there, and then on the wall where there is just dirt on the other side, just to hear like somebody like, hello, you know, like, oh my god, yeek.
eek.
ugh.
I'd be like, take it, can you get that?
Let's duplicate.
Doors for you.
Doors for you.
It's your legs.
Your legs are here. Oh my god.
And then
We're laughing
let's
about that now.
merge
And then, like,
selected
yeah,
layers.
look,
And then I
look,
gotta
so
do a
sorry.
spooky
I didn't
version
mean
of your
it. I was just kidding.
character.
We thought you had
I
it
gotta
because
do
you
a
know
spooky
you like it
version.
good.
We are
Gotta
fans of
do
you.
a spook.
Awesome.
Gotta
I like
gotta
it, I like
make
it.
this into your night terrors.
Sorry, demons.
I wish I might
Gotta
have
turn it into your
Yeah.
what is it? Paralysis
right?
demon is
Yeah.
what they call it,
Yeah.
right?
And it just feels, I don't know. But like,
And
also,
then-
who the fuck turns an old insane asylum into a college?
Well, I mean, if you take any kind of paranormal aspects out of it, if you're
Sure.
looking at it just like if you're somebody who doesn't believe in any of this stuff on any level, then I totally get it. It's like
City planner. You're
Yeah.
like, this is a great space.
yeah,
And
especially exactly.
then
You're repurposing
filter,
government buildings, saving taxpayer money,
blur.
all that stuff. It all makes sense on those levels.
I know, but still, people really need
shit.
to look into this stuff
Let's
a little
see.
bit more.
Yeah, let's see how it. Yeah, all the spook. How
Yeah,
spooky?
I'm ready.
Okay.
How
so
spooky
this
do you
isn't,
want
like,
it?
One
Haven.
long story. It's just like a
How
series
spooky
of
we
weird
talking?
little events that
Okay.
happened to this family. But for me, as I was reading it, it actually felt it has a very
Look how
strong note of
fast they're
plausibility to
going.
me because it's like
Like, really.
I don't think that all hauntings have to be like some big, huge, dramatic.
Yeah, look how fast they are.
Right.
Like to me, what I'm about to share with you, I'm like, maybe that
No,
is what it would feel like if
I'm
your
kidding.
house was haunted. Just
Okay.
a little bit
I'm
here,
definitely
a
kidding.
little bit
That's
there,
that's
a little bit
fucking
here,
that's
as opposed to
nasty.
just like, yeah, it all adds up and it all makes you crazy. I mean,
Let's
that's
turn
kind of
it
what's happening in our
down,
house
way
now, right?
down.
Like,
That's
slowly but surely.
it's fucking awful.
Right?
Okay. No. But yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, that's way too much.
Hello,
As
Lindsay
spooky
and
as you
Dan.
like.
My girlfriend
Okay.
and I are big fans of
All
Scared
right.
Death and have just recently
I
begun
asked,
listening to Time's Up. Well, welcome to
Zoom.
our weird world.
Zoom.
Before I get into this, let me apologize for this long story. It happened over the entire span of my life. So I think we find out later. if he's like in
Yeah,
his 20s.
fast.
Okay. I grew up in a
I'm
small
going
city in
fast,
Utah,
Mr. Krabs.
in a place where the houses were fairly old. Growing up, my parents had always told me that the houses were built on top of what could have been old military camps or hospitals. So already off the bat,
Yeah.
we got some stuff hanging
Yeah,
around,
yeah.
right? Growing up, I had a fairly normal childhood. I lived with both my parents, and I was the oldest of 3 kids. My family's always
Going
been
fast,
religious,
Mr.
but
Krabs.
also hardcore believers in the
Let's
supernatural.
do it both
Okay?
directions and
It
then
wasn't
let's
until I was
change
about
the
the age of 7
angle.
that I realized something was up with our house. I would hear noises at night, mainly footsteps through the hallway leading to mine and my sister's bedroom. On occasion, I would see things that looked like a shadow pass by our kitchen into
Yeah,
the
that'll be
bathroom and
fine.
living room.
That'll be
It got
okay.
to the point
All
where I
right.
would run through the
And
hall with my
then
eyes
you
closed,
just turn
to
that
use the bathroom in the
down.
middle of the night for fear of seeing someone or something. There were multiple occasions where my parents would be alone in the
Oh,
basement
God.
after putting us kids to bed. They would
But,
hear
like,
footsteps
right
and then the
there.
sound of running upstairs. One
Yeah,
of them would inevitably
that's
come upstairs to
soft.
check on us,
Because you're trying to
just
get
find
that
everyone
soft
fast asleep.
blur
So the whole family's
effect.
experiencing this.
You see what I'm talking about? That soft
On
blur
the weekends,
effect?
my parents worked late night jobs, leaving me and my younger siblings home alone. Being too young to actually be on our own,
Oh, I
we would
don't
always
like
need a
that.
babysitter.
I don't
My
like that
parents brought in
cough.
Multiple babysitters.
Where'd it come from?
including
Where'd it
my
go? Where'd
grandmother
it
and
come
my
from?
aunts.
Cotton Eye Jack.
All of them, after a while, refused to babysit us at our house. Check this out.
Good look on your own.
My grandmother claimed to see a very tall man standing in the doorway of the basement watching her. She also said one night she heard what sounded like a bowling ball dropping from the ceiling onto the floor upstairs. She, of course, rushed upstairs to check on us and found all of us fast asleep. She couldn't find anything to explain the sound that she had heard. My aunt only made it one night in our house. She was unable to sleep because she swore as well someone was watching her when she slept. She said she heard whispering, and then she saw the tall figure standing in the basement doorway, just as my grandmother had claimed.
Oh my God.
The basement freaked us kids out too. We stopped playing down there unless our parents were with us, even though that's where most of our toys were. My parents tried to keep most of this from us when we were younger, not wanting to spook us.
Yeah.
However, whenever something weird would happen, such as stuff going missing or the sinks turning on by themselves, they would blame it on Charlie. To this day, my parents can't explain why they named the presence in our house Charlie. But me and my siblings all played along with it. Charlie became a normal thing in our house. Even my friends who came over knew about Charlie and his shenanigans. Living in the house for about 4 more years, another number of things happened. My mom would see mists at night, going from her bedroom to my siblings' room.
Oh my God.
She had weird nightmares about something coming into our rooms, attempting to get to us. All of the doors would lock on their own as if someone was trying to keep my family in or
Right.
possibly keep someone else out.
Get out of this house.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's
This is a massive GTFO. The strange
Yeah.
occurrences were continual. One time during a fight my sister and I were having,
Where is
a
it?
coat hanger came flying out of our closet and hit my sister in the face.
all right, kids. Get in the van. We're fucking out of here.
The stories are
Yeah.
endless. Finally, when I was about 11, in 2007, our family decided to get the fuck out.
Good.
We said goodbye to our home and goodbye to Charlie,
Yeah.
or so we thought.
Oh my God. That's always the fear that it follows you.
After a short time in our new home, it was made clear that Charlie was still with us. We moved to an even smaller town in the countryside with my grandparents. The house was built for us, so the way they say this, I'm assuming like a brand new house.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
As far as we know, it was built on normal ground and not any kind of burial grounds or anything
Sure.
like before. When we moved to the new house, there was basically no other houses in the surrounding area, right? They're out in the country.
Yeah.
We moved in on Christmas Eve and into the basement where my family would be living, but it was not yet finished. It would take another year and a half for the basement to finish.
Give it a second.
For all of us to live in that portion. Over the course of a year, we all lived upstairs with my grandparents. My little brother, who was 5, had made an imaginary
Hope your
friend.
day's going well.
His name was Sloan.
I know that
A name we thought was a little
you're getting your
strange for a
son ready.
5-year-old to
I hope
conjure up.
everybody's day is going
My
well.
brother would come
I
up
hope
with
everybody
extensive
is
knowledge about his
doing
friend, such as the fact that Sloan had no parents, but he liked our
fantastic.
parents. And Sloan liked to play billiards. Specifically billiards, not pool,
weird
billiards. A game my brother nor my family ever played. We didn't even have a pool table.
All right, there we
There's
go.
absolutely no reason for
There
this
we go.
5-year-old to know what this game was or how it was played, and yet he did. My
Heven,
parents and grandparents played along with the imaginary friend,
PNG.
and anytime something weird would happen, they would blame Sloan. And anytime anyone got into trouble, he
Oh.
would blame Sloan. They even went as far as making a stocking and small gifts at Christmas for Sloan.
First Charlie, now Sloan.
Uh-huh. We eventually moved into the basement where my sister and I shared a
Yeah,
room,
there
while
we
my
go.
younger brother had his own room. For months after moving into our respective rooms, my
It's gotta
brother would
save.
refuse to sleep in his
It's
room.
got to
He
save
claimed to see white orbs
correctly.
flying out of his closet at
Ow,
night,
that
and
hurts
he was
my
scared to be in
fucking
his room.
stomach.
Alright, kids,
Good
back in the van. We'll
job,
go back to
it's.
first house.
I'm so
We
gassy.
would let him have our dog Shadow
That's so
sleep in his
fun.
room to hopefully bring him some
Oh,
comfort.
good. I
but it didn't
hope I'm
help. My brother
not
would claim that there would be
dying.
times
I don't think
that
I
he would
am.
hear growling sounds and get mad at Shadow, only to find the dog sound asleep.
So good.
Shadow passed away in 2018,
So
and my brother, now 17, still claims to hear growling sounds on occasion. My parents continued to make my brother sleep in his own room despite the complaints. Over the years, though, things in his room did eventually seem to get better. He stopped
I
talking
love that
about
everybody
Sloan, but
sees
things in the house were
that-
always strange. On multiple occasions,
Yeah,
my sister and I witnessed our closet
it's taking
doors
its sweet
opening and
time.
closing on their own with no explanation. We still see shadows walking from hallway
it.
to hallway,
No
room
thanks.
to room.
No thanks.
My grandmother has also claimed to see a woman in a white
Gotta
dress in our
save
kitchen.
that. This is
My
what
dog
happens
Heven
when
will
you
stare
have
into the hallway,
fucking
still barking and
things
growling
that
for no
are
apparent
so
reason.
goddamn
Even my cats have
huge.
become skittish and
Like,
run
this
off from
is just
something we can't
because
see.
I
Everyone
use
and
such
everything in
big,
the house
like,
experiences odd
canvases.
occurrences.
The
I'm
DPI.
23
Please
now
don't
and
die,
still live in the
go.
house with my family, and my girlfriend lives with
I
us
don't
as well.
think I'm gonna
We lived in this
die.
house for nearly
I don't
12
think I'm
years,
gonna
and things just
die.
grow more and more weird.
I
Just a
don't
few
think
months
I'm
ago,
gonna
a picture
die.
frame lifted itself off the wall
I
where
just
it was hung
wish
up by a
Clip
nail
Studio
and
wasn't
crashed
fucking
to the floor
dying.
in the middle of the night, shattering glass and waking everyone
That's one thing that I
upstairs
hope.
awake. Things go missing.
I don't
things
think
turn
I'm gonna
themselves
die.
on. Sometimes
well,
music from our stereo will just
we
start
all die,
playing.
but
Just a week
I don't
ago,
think
I was
I'm
alone
gonna
in my bathroom,
die
which is connected
anytime
to my
soon.
room, where I heard footsteps walking towards me from the bedroom. I'm a total creeper and I love spooky stuff, but despite that, I hate being alone in this house. I always feel like I'm
There we
being
go.
watched. I refuse to leave my room in the
All
middle of the
right.
night.
That, as you can clearly tell,
Although the
and
spirit
now,
entity has never caused us any harm, I still
This is
hate
gonna be
feeling
funny.
the way this place makes me feel.
I'm gonna undo.
I appreciate you taking the time to read it, despite being so long. Thanks for an amazing podcast. Keep up the
Yep.
great work.
Do it.
Lexi.
Thank you, Lexi.
So yeah,
Doesn't it
every
just
time I
feel
do shit
that's
like
how it would
that,
be, though?
Right. Just
Yeah,
continue
there we go.
things.
Yeah, just a little bit of this and a
All right,
little bit of that. And the sink
and
turned
save
out today. And then like 3 weeks later, our
as
closet door opens. Like, it feels like it happens far enough apart that you kind of forget that things are happening. And then when it happens, you're like, oh,
PNG.
wait, this other thing happened.
Bam.
And they did get the fuck out.
They did get out.
And
So
Clip
I
Studio
think the
format.
next
Yep.
move,
Save.
Lexi, I imagine you're listening. I think
Yes,
the
I
lowest
do want to
risk
replace
thing
it.
you could do to
Yes,
try and
I
fix it
do
is to
want to
kill your
replace
grandma.
it.
She's the oldest. She's
And now I
living
gotta
both
save it
places.
regularly.
You're not gonna. It could be.
And there we
attached to
go.
her. You're not gonna know until you.
And now, this is gonna be
Should we have a moment of
crazy.
silence for Lexi's
Because
grandma?
I think it might be too big.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
It might be too big.
Oh my god.
But we'll
just for a second,
find
I
out
picture, like,
in
Sophie
just a
O'Donnell's
minute.
gonna be like, all right, got it.
In
And just, like,
just a
push pause on the
moment.
podcast and be like, come here.
Corporate accounts
Wait, you
payable.
gotta talk about
media,
something.
No, but-
speaking.
Yeah, what do you?
Just a
that would
moment.
be the
They've
most.
all been in both
Yeah,
houses.
yeah,
also,
I know.
like who is it attached to? And it
Media
wasn't
sales.
attached. The dog passed
That'd be
away.
so depressing. That'd be so like if you
dead.
uprooted your family specifically to get away from some
let's see.
malevolent presence in your house.
Yeah.
And then you show up and you're
let's
like,
see.
son of a bitch.
It might be
like
too
now,
big.
Now stuff is happening in the new place. Because then what do? Then just like, fuck, okay.
Now you gotta make peace with it. Well, now you start bringing in like Lexi. I think.
Exorcists.
Right.
Oh
I
yeah,
think now
it's
it's time to burn
pretty
sage,
beefy.
salt the doorways, figure out what kind of like
It's-
crystal, like whatever you
it's
think that you
fucking-
can kind of use
Let
to
me
clean
let me
the space.
transform
Just gotta be-
fit to
Put a crystal
screen.
necklace on your grandma. Make her wear a
There we
sage
go.
dress,
Look
burn her
at
alive.
that.
Ding, ding, ding.
You're a genius.
Where are they?
You're really next level, Dan.
Where are they?
I'm so lucky I'm married to someone so smart.
No, but yeah, but you're.
They're the dead right
yeah,
here.
I mean, why not? At that point, why not? Whether
Why
you
not?
believe in that stuff or not,
Well, and she's
And
they're
now
religious,
I
so
put
don't
it
know. I mean, I
right.
don't know what your religion is, but
whatever the cleansing ritual is for your religion, give
Yeah.
that a go first, and then go from there. Because
Get a priest in there.
what do you have to lose?
I don't get somebody in there.
Yeah.
No Ouija boards. Oh my God, no Ouija boards. Do not try and like talk to it. Don't try to bring it out. You're trying to send it away. And honestly, the first thing I would do as a family, if everybody's on board, I would stand in like the main room of the house, everybody holding hands, like create a circle, and then everyone
Here.
envision like a white
There we
light.
go.
Close your eyes. Envision a white light of protection.
That
and see what
doesn't
everyone
look-
says, and
Ooh.
then tell the spirit like
Beautiful.
Time to go.
Yes.
You're safe. You're free. There's no
Yes,
space
it
for
is.
you here. We don't mean you any harm. We know you don't mean us any harm. But
Right.
it's time to go.
Bingo.
You're not alive. Go. You gotta go. You just gotta
Like-
push it out.
Sloan, I know a nice ghost named Charlie at your house. Let me
Oh,
introduce
I'm
you.
so sorry.
Bring him back to the other house, and then
I've just
that
been
person
so
has two ghosts to
gassy.
deal with,
And they can
but
have
you're
ghost
good.
babies.
And they can-
I'm sorry, guys.
Ghost fuck.
I bet it's awesome.
I know Heven's in here,
Yeah.
and she's
So
a
many
she's a
moves you
lovely
can do,
woman.
right? There's
Yeah.
so
Uh,
many.
You can float.
So I don't
You'd
think
each be
that she
spinning,
wants to
like,
hear
in
me
different
just
directions.
belch
Like
in
you
her
just put
fucking
the
ear.
ghost penis in the ghost vagina.
I
like,
would
and then each
I
person
would
just
consider that
spins one
not a
way.
plus.
I thought
Counterclockwise.
Sloan was a boy. I thought we had two
Oh,
boys.
so what? Okay, ghost penis and ghost butt.
Yeah.
And then each spins. So now they're gonna have to probably be facing the same direction, but like they're spinning clockwise, counterclockwise.
So fun.
Still a cool trick.
I got two cool presents I want to show you.
Yeah.
I don't know who they're from because you brought back a box
Yes.
of things
Oh yeah, I know they're
from-
not like from Salt Lake City. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, and thank you to Salt Lake City. And we
I
recorded
know that
before
people
Nashville. Thanks to the
don't wanna
Nashville people in
fucking
advance who will meet there in
hear
Huntsville,
me
Alabama.
burp.
And yes, big thank you to the Salt Lake City.
That's
Christian
I'm really
not
bad
the
at-
most
I'm really bad at
like
remembering names,
prominent
but in Huntsville,
feature
there's a
of my
super
channel
adorable couple.
is to hear me
And last
fucking
year
burp.
They gave you like they gave us a box
And
they had said like here come the spoons or something.
Oh, yeah.
Everything was banana.
Well, it's
Right.
fine. Better
No
out than
pressure
in.
to
Thanks,
give
Shrek.
multiple gifts, by the way, we never just so everybody knows.
Multiple gifts. You don't have to give any gifts.
Any gifts. We never
Alright.
expect any gifts. Never expect any. We're never gonna be like, oh, fucking, gotta get a bucket.
Nah, I'm fucking with you.
Never-
I
never
think
gonna
it's
get that.
funny.
No, but I
It's
remember this
funny.
couple. She's so cute. She has blonde hair. They have a little boy. I can picture the husband. But they gave me a spoon, and they gave you. I think yours says Master Sucker, and mine says
yeah,
Ready
yeah.
to Suck. And
Yeah.
I have fond memories of Huntsville, Alabama. I like it.
And
Okay, so very funny thing that we got first.
Yeah.
This is
I think it's
this is for
funny.
Dan's enema.
You're
In
silly.
case he needed it.
You're
It is
silly.
a tiny crystal.
You're so
it's an
silly,
amethyst
Heven.
penis.
You is a
I mean,
funny person.
Tiny little.
You're so
Yeah, no, we
funny.
can't zoom in.
Yeah.
Tiny little crystal penis.
And
You can sneak it in that
then
shot.
I'm
It doesn't-
gonna
it's not
go
focused,
here.
It's not focused for that. But
It'll be on
No,
Instagram.
that's.
Tiny little
I think
crystal
that's a
penis.
deep purple.
And by the
Crystal
way,
dick.
if you're a new listener,
Nope, that's
the
black.
horror part is over.
All right.
So if you're like, oh, why are they
All
talking?
right.
Because it's showing up
Let's
with
go
it.
Yeah, you
to
can go in.
this.
And then also,
If you don't like this part.
And
I
then
know, I
let's
like
start
these because-
sketching. Hey,
whoever gave these to you,
Delon.
you're a genius.
How are you?
You know how to cure coronavirus.
Hope you're doing well.
Crystal soap.
Oh yeah,
Hope everything's going well.
Crystal soap.
Hope everything's going good for you. Ba-da-doo-doo-doo.
weren't there.
I'm sorry.
I don't want people to have to wait for me
She,
to
said, like,
fucking
well, you know, now you can like bathe in crystals.
render this
Yeah,
picture.
buddy. I mean, they're so pretty.
So
They're so pretty.
I'll
And
just
this
I'll
is how
keep
I'm
it
going
at
to cure
that.
coronavirus. I'm gonna start
Perfect.
putting out weird videos
So let me
about
put this
how.
right
Yeah, just that we're gonna cure
here.
with crystals.
Let me put this
You are
out of the
gonna
way.
An amethyst dick up your ass, and then you take a bath in amethyst soap, and you are cured. So if anybody is looking, if anybody has been diagnosed with COVID-19, come see me. I've got the cure.
I picture you in, like, the
So
old-timey
we
wagon, like
are
the snake
going to
oil salesman,
spook this
in, like,
gal
the
up.
American Old
We're
West,
gonna
with your
spook
soap
her up.
and your little tiny dick
Gonna
crystals.
spook
Kind of like
this.
just standing on some
The
shitty platform addressing like an old,
we're gonna
Wild
spook
West
up
town.
That'll be so great.
Haven's
Just put the crystal
OC
penis
up.
in your bottom, and you wash yourself with the crystal soap, and that's how you don't get sick again. And then people just handing money and
Great.
going back to their cabins. Oh
I'll pay off all of our debt this way.
man, great.
Awesome.
Whether thou art a ghost that hath come from the earth, or a phantom
I don't like it already. I don't like the body type that I went with. Hate it.
ghost undead, or a demon, or whatever thou be, until thou art alone, thou shalt find here no water to drink. Thou shalt not stretch forth thy hand
Let's go with.
into
Let's
our house
spook her up.
whether thou
Let's spook her up. So we're gonna go with a trademark of spook, which is.
Welcome to Scared to Death, Creeps and Peepers. I'm Dan.
Hey guys, it's me, Lindsay.
Just really quick,
Like this.
thoughts go out to everybody dealing with the
Let's try
coronavirus
this.
pandemic in some way, which we know is basically everyone.
Yeah.
We hope you're washing your hands, limiting physical contact as much
what's
as
up?
you can. And we know
Damn
that
it.
this, disease is affecting a
If
lot of
anything, gotta
people
sleep.
who
Lad
are
and
not
me
sick,
were
who may
having
never get sick.
hanging
Special
out,
thoughts go
but
out
for
to
now, I
anybody
sleep.
who's
It's
working
3
in the
a.m.
service
Yeah, get some
industry,
rest,
retail
man.
industry, so many other
The only
industries,
people that stay up are me.
baristas, waitresses, bartenders, restaurant owners, car salesmen, on and on and on. I know this is terrifying and not the kind of scary you were hoping for in the world.
Yeah.
We're going to do our best just to keep make it in the military. Major Lee chose to retire from active duty.
Okay.
It was a tough choice. He loved being in the service.
I believe
but he
in
thought it was
you.
the right choice for his family.
Sure.
Get
He
some
spent most of his time in
rest.
service managing supplies, and he'd be doing the same thing now for a private contractor. But he would no longer have to travel constantly, and he and his wife could use some money. they'd
Oh,
saved
you
over the years
shush
to buy a
now,
family home.
Nightwalker.
Soon after looking at houses, they found a beautiful home in a
All
small
right.
town just outside a major U.S. city in the suburbs, where Ronald would now work. The town had everything they wanted: good schools,
real
nice Catholic
spooker.
church,
Let's
parks for the
really
boys to play
spooker
baseball in,
Let's-
shady sidewalks for taking
Let's
walks.
really spook
There was
it
even an
up.
ice cream parlor in the center of town, perfect for
So
after-dinner treats.
there's a few
All very
ways
quaint,
we can
wholesome,
do
Malt
this.
shop, diner, cute little movie theater.
There's a
more,
few
all
ways
set
we
in a
can
friendly little
spook
town
you
where
up.
everyone seemed to greet you with a smile, and everyone seemed to know everyone else's name.
I love this. Take me there.
The house was plenty big enough for the family, with a large
We
yard
can
for the kids to play in. Had 2 full
make it
stories, plus a
real
small root cellar,
monstery
and an attic big enough to use as a storage room or
and
convert into a playroom for the
elongate
kids.
everything.
It had 4
Real,
bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 in the ground
like
level, 1
real
in the second story,
demonic kind of
long, narrow
thing.
staircase connecting to 2 main floors.
And it looks like a
Even had a garage
cat,
with a nice workspace along the side.
so
and it was easy walking
like
distance to
give
both
it
the local grade
more
school and junior
actual
high
cat
combination
features.
and the local high school. Less than a mile from all the downtown stores, there was even a big city park with a playground at the end of the street for the kids.
Nice.
It was perfect. The
Nice.
sale went smoothly.
Thank you.
Lee's initial offer was accepted
I
by the
did.
current owners.
I did
They
like
signed
that
the papers
noise.
and quickly became
Thank you.
homeowners for the first time in their lives.
Thank
Okay,
you.
this is all very exciting.
All very good so far. In the month it would take
I don't
to
know
ready
what the
papers
right
for closing,
wing.
and for the
I
owners
don't
to
know
move
all
out.
that
The Lees
stuff
put
on
all
it
their things
though.
from base housing into storage and lived with
On the
Lucinda's
right,
parents until they
on
could
the
move
right
into their
wing,
new
I
home.
know the
And when the
feathery
time
wing,
came, some of Ron's army pals from the
which
nearby
I'm
base helped
probably
them move
gonna
in.
just
They picked up all of his
make,
family's things
like,
from storage, loaded them into a
disheveled
rented truck,
and
drove them to the Lee's
like
new
this.
home and unloaded their things.
But
Shortly
let's
after
see.
arriving at
Let's
the
try
house,
it.
Ronald
Let's
cracked
try
the
it.
door and
Let's
started
try it
opening
like
the windows
that.
on the first
And
floor.
then
And one of his
let's
buddies took a box upstairs to put it into what would be Ron's
move it
daughter's
over
room.
here.
And when he
Let's
walked into
for
that
right
room,
now.
Ron heard a surprise
So these are
shout.
a few designs that
Time
we're
now
gonna
for a tale
have.
called He Wanted to Die in That House.
Yeah.
Ron heard footsteps coming from the wooden stairs, and his buddy, who had just yelled, came into the kitchen where Ron was now standing. "Hey, Ron, you better come see this," he said. Ron walked up the stairs with his friend. They walked down the hall to the bedroom his friend had just been startled in and threw open the door. Inside, there was a thin elderly man sitting on a bed listening to a small transistor radio.
Okay.
He glared at Ron and his friend with intense anger in his eyes. He started speaking rapidly and animated, yelling at them in a language Ron was familiar with but didn't speak. He was shouting at them in Italian, and Ron knew enough Latin from his Catholic school days to get the basic gist of what he was saying. He really wanted them to leave. Ron and his friend tried to explain to him that it was Ron's house, and he was the one who needed to leave, but the angry man didn't seem to speak any English. Luckily, one of Ron's friends was Italian, Frankie Giovanni, and one of his relatives who lived nearby actually spoke the language fluently. Frankie ran to a neighbor's
She
house
is
and
a
called his uncle, who luckily came
Nephilim?
quickly.
Let me
Ron
see.
really hoped this guy would be able to talk some
Nephilim?
sense into this angry old man and get him
Hold
to
up.
leave. He didn't want to drag an elderly man out of his new home, and he'd rather not involve the police. When Frankie's uncle arrived, he went up to talk to this man and found out that he'd lived there for
Ooh.
many, many years, and that he didn't want to leave. He had figured he was always going to die in that house, and he was devastated when his kids, who were the owners, had decided to sell it.
The Nephilim of the
When rest
Laura
of his family moved
Croft.
out, he dug in his heels
Laura
and simply
Croft.
refused to go with them, and he wasn't going to leave now. What followed was a heated argument, and Ron had no more luck convincing the man to get out than his family had before him. Unfortunately, he still ended up having to call the police. Someone from the county sheriff's department arrived with someone from the county welfare agency. The woman from the welfare agency called the realtors to see if the man's family could be tracked down. No luck. Finally, the sheriff's deputy, Ron, and a couple of Ron's old army buddies had to physically remove this old man from the room.
Oh, jeez.
They had to literally carry him down the stairs and out to the waiting squad car. He was, of course, furious. The whole way down, the man fought like mad and screamed at them in Italian. Finally, just before the old man was placed in the squad car, he screamed something directly at Ron. If looks could kill, Ron would have died right then and there. The man made a strange gesture with his hands as he yelled, and directly before yelling, he spit near Ron's feet.
So there's a
Frankie's
few
uncle looked a bit concerned by
Niflheim.
what he just heard.
They're pretty
He
weird
told
looking.
Ron, he just put a curse on you for taking his house. Ron didn't believe in curses, but he soon would.
So we'll find out.
Ron shrugged his shoulders, saying, whatever makes him happy, I guess. And then while the deputy and the welfare agent drove the angry man to a nearby facility for the elderly to hold him there until the family could be tracked down, Ron and his friends removed the man's belongings and
So
brought his family stuff into the
there's
house.
a few ways we
And
can
several
do
hours
this.
later than originally anticipated,
We
Ron
can
finally
make
went
it
and returned
really
the truck to the
demonic.
rental agency, picked up his family, and they moved into their new home.
We can do it like
And all was
this,
well
where
for the first
it
week.
has a more
The Lee family
humanistic
unpacked boxes, repainted a
human
couple of rooms, and cleaned up the yard. The
human
new welcoming
form.
neighbors introduced themselves to Ron and Lucinda. Several of
Like
the women in the
this.
neighborhood brought the family cake, cookies, and pies as welcome to the neighborhood gifts.
Cute.
A couple curious
And
kids
then
from
we
the
can
neighborhood, about the same
really
ages,
stretch it,
the Lee's
like
two older children,
really
rode their
fuck
bikes
with
up and
it.
down the sidewalk in
Fuck
front of
with the
new Lee home
proportions.
until Lucinda invited them in.
That's a
and
good
introduced
way
them to her
to
boys,
make it
who hopped off on their own
horrifying.
bikes and went out to check out the neighborhood with their new
Like,
buddies. By the end of the first week, the boys were playing baseball.
That's
in
a
the park
good
with
way
their new
to
friends
really
and
make it
inviting them over
scary,
for
but
dinner.
we'll see.
And then late one
We'll
night,
see what you
a week
like.
after they'd moved
Let's
in, the
let's
honeymoon
go
was
with this
over.
first.
Ron was woken in the early morning by the sound of someone slamming cupboard doors in the kitchen. He nudged Lucinda to make sure he wasn't hearing things, and right after waking her, two doors were slammed in rapid succession, and they were both certain that neither of them was dreaming. Ron jumped out of bed, headed toward the kitchen. He briefly thought about grabbing a handgun he had in the dresser, but he didn't. It must just be one of the boys. He figured one of them had gotten out of bed far too early and was looking for some cereal. He just didn't think an intruder was logical. This was a small town in the 50s where having to escort an unarmed elderly man out of the home had been the craziest thing the deputy had dealt with in months, if not years. That same deputy had told him, echoing what the realtor had told him weeks before, that this was the kind of town where no one locked their doors. But part of Ron, as he made his way out of his bedroom and toward the stairs, thought he might soon rethink that policy. He again paused for the briefest moment and thought about grabbing his gun. No, he was being paranoid. What kind of intruder loudly slams cupboard doors? Right after having that thought, Ron heard another cupboard door slam shut. It was one of the boys. It had to be. Ron walked to the top of the stairs, and then he froze.
Oh no.
He couldn't believe what he was seeing. At the bottom of the stairs, bathed in eerie blue-white light coming in through the windows from the street light outside, was the old man who had cursed him. The man looked up at Ron, and Ron quickly realized this man he was looking at was no longer human. His eyes were black hollows. His skin was bluish-white. It looked brittle and cracked. His hair was wispy, white, and practically glowing. He pointed a bony finger at Ron. His mouth opened. A dark blackness poured out like a snake. And then Ron, a hardened military man, a World War II veteran who had seen combat, a decorated veteran, felt very, very afraid. And then in a flash, this thing was at the top of the stairs, its face no more than 6 inches from Ron's face. Startled, terrified, staring into the black hollows where eyes should be, Ron let out an involuntary scream and fell backwards. He quickly rolled over onto his hands and knees, facing away from this wraith, then popped up and spun back around to see nothing. Whatever he'd just seen was gone. Dad? He heard from down the hall. He'd woken his oldest 2 sons, and now they were both walking out from the rooms into the hall, and his oldest asked him, "Why'd you yell?" He told him he just stubbed his toe, walking down to grab a glass of water and convince him to go back to sleep. His wife now walked out. "Ron, everything okay?" "Everything's fine," he said from the hall. And they walked back to bed. When they got back to the room, he briefly considered telling her what he'd seen, but he didn't want to scare her. And it sounded insane. Would she even believe him? He told her a window had been left open and was blowing a little door downstairs open and shut. Lucinda, exhausted from the move, bought it enough to go back to bed.
Okay.
The rest of the night was quiet with no further incidents. The following day, Ron drove into town to work at his new job. Lucinda continued to make their house a home, look after the baby and their toddler, and their 2 older boys played down the street at the park, enjoying the last weeks of summer. And then the next night, it happened again. More banging from the cupboards downstairs, more frequent and aggressive than the night before. Both Lucinda and Ron woke up to the noises this time. Lucinda asked Ron if he thought a window had been left open again. When he told her yes, she offered to go close it herself and started to get up.
Oh no.
Ron grabbed her wrist. He said that he would handle it. He didn't want to risk her seeing what he'd seen. He walked out of the room like nothing was wrong, shut the door behind him, and then froze in the hallway, almost paralyzed with fear. A cupboard door in the kitchen began to open and close continuously. Bang. 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 He steeled himself and walked to the end of the hall. Bang. 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 He doesn't see anything. The apparition from last night, nowhere to be found. He slowly and steadily walks down the stairs, prepared at any moment to see the horrible sight from the night before. Bang. 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 Soon he's in the kitchen. Still, he sees nothing other than the cupboard door opening and closing, with no breeze in the house, opening and closing. He starts to walk towards it, not really knowing what he's going to do once he gets there. Then another cupboard door opens, and then quickly slams shut. And then suddenly all of the cupboard doors open at once.
Oh my God.
And before his eyes, all slam shut. Bang! Ron, of course, is startled. And then he's about jumps out of his skin when he hears his wife scream from behind him on the stairs.
Oh shit.
He spins around. Immediately he sees what had scared her. The ghost of the old man is back, standing off to the side of the base of the stairs by the door to the backyard, staring at the two of them. His eyes still empty, black hollows, his skin still bluish white, brittle and cracked, his hair wispy white, practically glowing. His mouth opens and once more a dark blackness pours forth like a snake. He silently says whatever he's saying, and he possibly moves fast in a blur and now stands directly in front of Lucinda, who screams again, a scream of pure terror, and then he vanishes as Ron begins to run towards his wife. Lucinda bursts into tears and yells, "What was that?" Ron begins to tell her everything as the boys pour out of the room, and the baby and their toddler can be heard crying. After getting the kids to bed, he tells her about the curse, about seeing the same entity the previous night. Lucinda wants him to find this man, talk to him the next day, talk to his family, beg for forgiveness, do whatever he needed to do to get this guy to leave their family alone.
Sleep, lurk. Go get some rest, Days Dies. Stay amazing, stay awesome, stay positive. Thank you for coming in. Let's SO you. Let's SO you. I need to set up that clip thing.
No, they hadn't connected him to his family, the deputy said, because 2 nights earlier in the nursing home he'd been forced to move into, the man had died.
I knew it.
Staff said he'd refused to eat the entire time he was there. Ron told his wife what he just heard, and she insisted they immediately visit their new church. The spirit of this angry man was haunting their home, and they needed to talk to a priest, so that's exactly what they did.
Good.
They spoke to Father Parson, who agreed to come over that night for a house blessing to cleanse their home. The Lee family gathered that evening in the kitchen, children and all. Lucinda and Ron each held their rosaries. And Father Parsons began their home's blessing, saying, "In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit." And then Ron, Lucinda, and their oldest 2 boys each made the sign of the cross and replied, "Amen." And then when Father Parsons started to say, "Peace be with this house and with all who live here," all the cupboard doors began to violently open and shut. Father Parsons made the sign of the cross and started to repeat louder this time, "Peace be with this house and with all who live here." And then Father Parsons screamed and stumbled backwards. Ron, Lucinda, and their children turned and faced the door to the backyard, and the old man was back.
Oh my God.
He stared at the priest with those sunken black eyes, black mist pouring forth from his mouth. He angrily and silently mouthed what Ron could only guess was his curse. The Lee children were screaming now. The cupboards continued to open and slam shut. Bang! 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 Father Parsons quickly regrouped. Again he yelled, this time as he held the rosary cross out towards the spirit, "Peace be with this house and with all who live here." The apparition flashes forward and is suddenly in the priest's face, who is clearly frightened but doesn't move. "Peace be with this house and with all who live here," he screams. "Leave this family and be gone. Your time here is past, and the Spirit of the Lord compels you, in Jesus' name, to leave this place and never return." And just for the briefest moment, the face of the old man's ghost seems to become less monstrous, less menacing, looking more like he'd looked in life, and his expression is one of sadness. And then he quickly fades from sight. The cupboards cease to slam, the house falls silent, the energy of the home immediately feels more peaceful. The priest finishes his blessing, and Ron and Lucinda comfort their crying children. When Christ took flesh to the Blessed Virgin Mary, he made his home with us. Let us now pray that he will enter this home and bless it with his presence. May he always be here and with you, share in your joys, comfort you in your sorrows. Inspired by his teachings and example, seek to make your new home before all else a dwelling place of love, diffusing far and wide the goodness of Christ. And both Ron and Lucinda say, Amen.
Amen.
They thank the priest profusely. The priest returns to his church. They move the crib next to their bed, and all the kids sleep in the room that night, and the next night, and for several nights after that as well. What didn't happen those following nights was the return of the old man's ghost. The blessing had worked. The Lees never reported any more sightings. They did find out where the old man had been buried at the local cemetery, placed flowers near his tombstone, paid their respects, and expressed their sadness over the way things had ended for him.
Dang! I reached for my cross.
Yeah.
Dang. Do you have pictures?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll hold my thoughts until after the photos.
Okay, so here's a picture of the old man
Yikes!
who had put the curse on the family.
What? That's not real.
That's not the old man from that's a creepy old man from Poltergeist 2.
And I was like, wait a second.
How creepy is that actor though?
Yeah, they did a good job with him.
Here's a picture of Ron and Lucinda, the Lees.
Why? What is with the fucking creepy bunny?
That's not them either. I was looking for a creepy old man, and for some reason this picture came up of a dude in a creepy bunny costume holding two boys.
Yeah, that's creepy. Ugh.
Okay, one more. This is the only one I could find. So here's a picture of the Lees. No, there's no pictures of any of these people. This is so creepy though. When I was looking
Why
for a
does
creepy
it
old man.
say CDC, Center for Disease Control?
That's Phil Spector.
It is?
Yeah, remember we watched that documentary a long time ago?
Yeah.
That is the former big-time record producer, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member, currently 80 years old and in prison for murdering actress Lana Clarkson.
Yeah.
Shot her in the mouth. He is the creepiest looking older guy.
He did not age well.
No.
Something's
He's like a
wrong with his face. I mean, like
he literally looks like a goblin.
Well, it looks like it looks like he must have gotten in a fight, like broken jawbone, or like his.
I don't know.
His face just doesn't look right.
Sure
I don't know. Do you think it should be wider?
All right. Well, thanks for fun pictures.
You
no
think it should be
pictures.
wider?
Okay, so first
That's
of
my
all,
thought.
I have to say this.
Should it be
Who the
wider?
fuck just leaves their father in this house?
Yeah, sure.
That's preposterous. Can you imagine if we would have moved into our house and there was just an old man still living there? That is insane.
That's always the question that you
Like,
ask.
like
Is
if-
that
okay.
should it be wider?
My parents are not that old. They're not
And the
near
answer
dead, even though, you know,
may
I have
surprise
thoughts about
you.
my dad.
Is
But
that
let's
yes?
just say
it
my dad
definitely
dies, and
should be wider.
my stepmom wants to stay in the house. We're going to call like welfare services, like somebody.
Sure.
She's going to be removed before we let new people
Sure.
move in.
It's insane.
How is that a thing?
I don't know.
And then they couldn't be found? Are you kidding me? Was he
Right.
just an insane old man?
Who
Was that
knows?
even his family that lived there before? Like, there's so many questions.
Oh yeah, and there's no additional details, and that's the nature of a lot of these stories. You know, it's a scary story, you know, out there on the web somewhere, and yeah, we don't know if these are true or not. But again, if it is, terrifying,
Felt really fucking real.
right? So I mean, yeah, but there's no peripheral details, which I kind of like on a lot of these stories.
Does it feel more real to you then?
No, it's just like it makes it harder to kind of pick apart where you can't like look up and then find somebody who's like, well, actually,
Right.
Lee's exaggerated this. It's like, no, there's just one story floating out there, and this is what it was. And I had to do some digging for that one too. It's not
Yeah.
like an easily accessible story.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my brain is so on coronavirus that which is, I know it's not funny, but this is funny.
Right.
When you were like, and he was 6 inches from his face, I wanted to
my
be
God,
like,
you thought
that's
of-
not social distancing. 6 feet.
I know, it's so hard to get our brains out of that.
So hard. So it is freezing in here.
Yeah.
When we started, it was 63 degrees in here. It's moved up to 64. I can't feel my toes.
Oh man. Well, okay, so this next story is
That was creepy
it's
as
a
shit.
creepy story.
I was picturing like our house and cupboards opening and. Do you remember last night when I was getting into bed and I was like, what was that sound? And you were like, that was me opening the closet door. I'm like, nope, that's absolutely not what I heard. It was like a definite
Oh
like,
yeah,
rumble
right
sound.
before I went to yeah.
It's like you never care when I say I hear sounds.
I don't want to feed. You're a dramatic person.
But you don't hear them. Why don't you hear them?
I did hear that last night.
Well, why didn't you say that?
Because, as I was saying earlier, you're a dramatic person, and I don't like to feed into your dramatic moments because I know it's just going to make it worse.
But what,
If I feel like my job has to be the steady rock.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will lose your shit because you're much more mentally fragile than I am in some ways.
Oh. Okay. That is something to be discussed later because if you recall,
Yeah.
you
I said in some ways. I put a little asterisk in the end.
you are the one who did a time suck on bizarre mental disorders and then went on like a personal diatribe about how you're mentally ill.
I do have. Well, I mean, I'm not like clinically, but I'm
Like
crazy.
So being crazy is not a clinical diagnosis.
We're crazy in different ways.
Uh-huh.
You're crazy in a way. I know when to rein mine in and not feed yours.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of my jobs as a partner.
Mm-hmm. I won't discuss how I have to stay mentally stable for you to be crazy.
I know you do. You do. In other ways, I freak out in non-apparition ways. Yeah, I spiral. Absolutely.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Sure. Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
I go.
But if you would just validate it, like, oh yeah, I actually would be less freaked out, because then I feel crazy when I'm like, oh my god, like, is it something like
you say that, but okay, I'll try it. I'll try.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try it.
Because you're just like going off what you think is right, but
right.
but if you were like, oh yeah, I heard that, and then because I was like, I don't know, I'm like, was that just like a weird furnace sound? If you would have been like, oh yeah, I heard it,
Yeah.
I've heard that before. Yes, definitely the furnace. Like
Right.
you just shut it down as opposed to being like, nope, didn't hear it. Because then I lie there, I'm like, am I hearing things? Am I really losing it?
Okay, so I'll try and I'll validate it. But I will say, if I validate it and then I'm up to 3 in the morning, because
You're up till 3 in the morning anyways, because I'm like kicking you and I'm
Right.
like, what, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Okay, but if it makes it worse, then after that I won't say anything. Then after that, there could be a demon standing next to you that you're screaming. I'm like, nah, I don't see anything.
That is not true.
Then I'll wink at it.
If that happens, you will also lose your shit.
True.
And also, like, who cares if you get stuck staying up late right
I
now?
do.
Why? You,
I still have to get up early and prepare content.
nah, you could sleep in. You could stay up late the next day. You don't have to get on
Okay.
planes for a while.
All right.
This is the best time.
That's true for you to freak out.
Yeah.
Or the worst time.
The best time. You know what we could do?
Yeah.
Oh my god. We could just stay up all night and monitor the house. We could get like special cameras and like the whole thing. We could totally see if our house is haunted, and then we just sleep during the day.
No. That's not against my natural cycle.
I think it would be so fun to figure out if our house is haunted right now. This is a great time.
Okay. I think let's do this next story.
Okay.
And then we might have more at the end. Now this one is the opposite of the last one. This one is the most verified you can be as far as like in the world of paranormal. Where that last story is a very obscure story, this is a story that, many ghost hunters
I think
have come
this
to
is
hotel.
kind of
There's
creepy.
been many sightings, all kinds of websites it shows up as being a haunted place. So a little setup before the scares.
I'm just gonna start protecting myself.
Fireworks exploded over the mesa, sending a shower of sparks to the sky. Through the haze, the residents of Flagstaff, Arizona could see the outline of their brand new hotel, which was 5 stories tall and occupied nearly an entire city block. The beautiful Hotel Monte Vista had formally opened New Year's Eve, 1927. Flagstaff residents hoped their new hotel would help usher in a new era of prosperity for their city. The first permanent settlement in Flagstaff was built in 1876 when Thomas F. McMillan built a cabin at the base of Mars Hill on the west side of town. During the 1880s, Flagstaff began to grow, opening its first post office and attracting the railroad industry. By the turn of the century, it was the largest city on the railroad line between Albuquerque and California. Timber, sheep, and cattle were sent to the west coast. Luxury goods returned on the railway lines. But Flagstaff lagged in tourism, and the lack of hospitality meant that visitors moved on quickly and went elsewhere to spend their money. The hope for the Monte Vista was that it would encourage people to stick around and dine, drink, and shop in Flagstaff. And it did just that. The hotel became just as popular amongst tourists as it was with locals. Decades later, in the 40s and 50s, when Americans' entertainment of choice turned to movies about the Wild West, the hotel did more business than ever, as Flagstaff became a popular filming destination.
BRB, school run.
Would be shot nearby in Sedona and Oak Creek Canyon, and when many of these movies filmed, the Hotel Monte Vista housed their stars and crews. Famous guests such as Gary Cooper, Spencer Tracy, John Wayne, Bing Crosby, Bombshell, Jane Russell, and more stayed at the Monte Vista. In one of the rooms of the hotel, a scene from Casablanca was filmed. With so many guests coming and going to the hotel,
Casablanca.
some tragedies were bound to occur. And behind some of these tragedies, ghosts would follow. Time now for the tale of the spirits who haunt the Hotel Monte Cristo. In the early 1940s, a wealthy businessman passing through town for just one night found two young down-on-their-luck women who were willing to exchange some sexual favors for a bit of cash. But he had more than sex on his mind.
Oh dear.
He brought them up to the Hotel Monte Vista, room 306. I said Hotel Monte Cristo earlier, and I paused, and I'm like, that's not right. The Count of Monte Cristo, I think, stuck in my head.
You did, and then I was sorry to take us out of the story for a second.
Yeah.
But I'm watching you because I could watch your eyes, like looking at the other page, then looking lower and seeing that. You know, you're like, wait, what did I do?
I know. I was trying to keep reading and also look at other parts of the page. So Hotel Monte Vista. Well, I haven't got to the scares yet, so that's good.
Okay. I mean, I do love a Monte Cristo sandwich, so that's what I started thinking about.
So he had more than sex in his mind. He brings these two women up to room 306 in the Hotel Monte Vista. Shortly afterwards, guests down the hall report hearing their bright, spirited chatter, which slowly turns into the sounds of sex. A few minutes later, some guests hear the sounds of an argument, and then the sounds of some sort of physical altercation.
Uh-oh.
And then the screams. The clerk who answered calls about these reports goes to check on the room, but he would be too late to save anyone.
Shit.
Two women are thrown from the open window of the third-story room. Both die on impact on the ground below.
God.
The businessman shoved his possessions into a suitcase, quickly fled out a back door as the bodies lay mangled on the sidewalk, growing cold. The man was never found and held responsible for the murders.
Jesus.
And now some think those women's spirits haunt the Hotel Monte Vista. In the years since the murders, various guests, usually male guests traveling alone, have reported being awakened in the middle of the night and unable to return to sleep due to a persistent feeling that they're being watched. Some of these men have even reported that every time they start to slip off, they feel the sensations of cold hands around their mouths and throats, and then they find themselves suddenly unable to breathe, and they jolt back into being awake.
What?
Are those two women perhaps still searching for the man who killed them?
Probably.
Are they all these years later trapped in some world between this and the next, still hoping to have their revenge? In 1970, three men robbed a bank outside of Flagstaff. As they started to flee the scene, the police arrived and a gunfight broke out. One of the officers fired a shot into the leg of one of the robbers before the men fled. They were able to lose the officers in the ensuing chase, and then instead of going to a hospital where they were worried officers would be waiting for them, they ended up at the Hotel Monte Vista. The man who'd been shot didn't think he'd been badly hurt, and concealing his bloody leg beneath the table, he decided to self-medicate and lay low until the next morning. He and his two fellow bank robbers drank well into the night. The more they drank, the less pain he felt in his leg. Eventually, he started slurring his words, and then finally, he slumped over, unconscious. His friends assumed he'd had just one too many, until later they looked down. On the floor beneath the table was a pool of blood.
Right.
Their friend had been bleeding out, and he died before the ambulance would arrive. By the time it did, his friends were long gone. Just a few days later, the bartender, Jerry, heard a cheerful voice greet him with, "Good morning," when he unlocked the bar to start his day. At first, Jerry assumed it was a drunk patron who'd fallen asleep there the night before, but when he looked around, he realized no one else was there. He felt silly for having responded to the voice until a few days later, when he was opening the bar with a coworker, and they both heard it. "Good morning," the voice rang out. "Morning," his coworker responded, and again, no one was there. A couple months later, Jerry and another hotel bartender were talking after hours, long after the place had closed. Suddenly, they heard someone stumbling into the bar, crashing through the doors and knocking some chairs over. When they ran to find the source of the noise, nothing. They were the only ones in the bar. And it wasn't just the bartenders hearing all this commotion. To this day, guests sometimes hear voices and loud music emanating from the bar late at night. Numerous guests have heard the same song, a popular Ella Fitzgerald rendition of How High the Moon from 1960 being played over and over again on the jukebox. Some hotel visitors swear they can hear a raspy voice singing along with Ella. Did that man who died listen to this song shortly before he bled out that night? As the 70s slid into the 80s, Flagstaff hit an economic recession, and many of those who couldn't afford housing or were working intermittent. I can never say that word. It's one of these most annoying words. ITINERANT. Like temporary. I'll just say temporary. It's a fancy word for temporary. I overreached trying to put that one in there. They're working temporary jobs. They boarded at the Monte Vista. One such man was known only as the Meat Man by the hotel staff.
That's fucking creepy.
He stayed in room 220 for several months, and all of the staff soon learned to never enter his room. The first few times when cleaners did come in, they were overpowered by the stinking smell of rotting flesh.
Oh.
The source? Rancid meat hanging from the room's chandelier.
What?
This incredibly strange man never offered an explanation for why he had this meat, never said what kind of meat it was. Then several months after checking in, this meat man died. Staff didn't find his body until he'd been dead for 3 days. And then when they did find him, he smelled almost as bad as the meat he used to hang from the light. The hotel staff cleaned out his room, hoped this would be the end of it, but some think the meat man is still staying in the hotel. A few weeks later, some men staying in the same room had a fight and punched a hole in the wall. A maintenance man got the call that room 220 needed some work. When he got there, he felt a chill in the room that he just tried to ignore at first. He needed a tool that he didn't have on him, and he had to leave for about an hour or so to run to a hardware store and come back. When he returned, he unlocked the door to room 220 and claimed he found the television on at full volume. The linens on the bed torn to shreds and draped over the chandelier, just like the meat that had hung there a few weeks earlier.
Weird.
Today, guests that sleep in room 220 sometimes report the television acting up, as well as reports of a horrible smell permeating the room and cold male hands touching them as they sleep.
Ah.
The most haunted room might be 303. Several guests who have stayed in room 303 have reported not being able to sleep at all because of the constant creaking. Creak, creak, creak goes on the entire night. And while the sound is bad enough, making it worse is being able to see the source of the sound. The sound comes from an old rocking chair in the corner of the room, rocking back and forth on its own all night.
Fuck that.
Sometimes out of the corner of their eyes, guests have glimpsed the same spirit rocking in this chair, an elderly woman forlornly staring out into the distance. They've gotten the feeling that she's waiting for something, for someone, but who? No one has any idea who she is or who she may be waiting for. All these spirits are thought to be the spirits of former guests, but they are not the only spirits in this hotel. The ghosts of those who formerly worked at the hotel in life sometimes also remain in death. It's a commonly reported phenomenon that former employees keep returning to their jobs after they've died. Many people, particularly housekeeping and front desk agents, have, for example, seen a polite attendant assisting their ride in the elevator, despite the old elevator having been removed years ago and an automatic elevator installed in its place. A soft voice will ask, "Which floor may I take you to?" Some have even claimed to see a hand whisking through the air as though to shut an old-fashioned elevator's gate. Not uncommon when you're riding the elevator to look into the mirrored panels around you and see a figure standing behind you.
Yeah.
Then there's the phantom bellboy. Hotel guests will hear a knock at their door and a muffled voice announcing room service. But when the guests open the door, no one's there. One woman recalled encountering multiple spirits during her visit to the Hotel Monte Vista. I just came back from spending the night at the Monte Vista Hotel in Flagstaff with my son and friend. After we got done checking in, we asked what floor the meat man was on. They told us the second floor, room 220. So we put all of our stuff in room 305, the rocking chair room, and then headed down to the second floor. We walked around for a while. We were the only people on the floor at the time. As we started heading down the hallway towards room 220, we noticed a meat smell. It was a very distinct sausage smell. The smell only lasted a minute or so, and then it was gone. When we got to 220, we started taking pictures of the door. We stood there for a few seconds talking, and then headed down the hallway to leave. Just then a door opened in front of my son. He dodged the door thinking a guest was coming out of the room. However, when he turned to see who was coming out, he saw that it was the door to a janitor closet. We stood there and watched the door to see if anything else was going to happen, and then we saw a dark shadow cross the hallway. My friend started recording on her phone, and when we replayed the recording, we heard a man's voice. It sounded like he spoke right by the speaker on her phone, either calling out or breathing hard. We left the hall soon after that. My son was uncomfortable for the rest of the trip, although I couldn't get him to say exactly what was making him so nervous. Another recent guest described an experience with a more menacing apparition at the Hotel Monte Vista. "I went outside for a cigarette," described the guest, a young man driving across the country with his girlfriend. "I was walking through the alley and watching the hotel staff load a shipment of produce into the kitchen. The door was open to the basement, and behind the employees I saw a figure. It was an enormous man, more than 6 feet tall. I thought he was another employee until I noticed his menacing, uncomfortable presence and way of fidgeting, as though he were itching to get out of the basement, and he was getting angrier and angrier as people kept blocking his way. I didn't know what to do. I was paralyzed. My cigarette burned down to the nub, and I felt it start to burn my hand. As soon as I felt the burn, the figure made eye contact and smiled, as though he enjoyed my pain. I ran, and I didn't look back.
Hell no.
Maybe the most disturbing paranormal encounter that many have claimed to experience are the ones with the baby in the basement.
Yeah.
The disturbing sounds of an infant crying somewhere in the basement have been heard over and over and over. A sound real enough to lead several people on a search for the source of the sound, people thinking someone had just abandoned a baby in the basement. Primarily maintenance and laundry personnel report this encounter as they're the only ones routinely going down there. Staff have found themselves running upstairs to escape the sound of the cries. Sounds very real to those who hear them. And some of those who have looked for this baby report that as they seem to get close, they start to feel the air get thick and heavy. The shadows suddenly seem strange around them. They feel the presence of something ominous and malevolent. They're overcome with an urge to flee the room. Did something terrible happen to a baby in that basement? Or is the sound some sort of trick? Is something leading possible victims further and further into the shadows, where something far worse than the spirit of a screaming child awaits them? The end.
2 things.
Yes.
We're never going to Flagstaff. And if we
Just
do,
the city in general?
I just want to avoid it. Because as you were telling that story, I started to feel like a real creepy energy.
Oof.
I was starting to get a little freaked out there at the end where I was like, in my mind, I was saying, no thank you, go away, I don't want any. Just like trying to stay in the story, but also something felt very off in here. And 2, if we have to go to Flagstaff, no.
Not staying there? Not going to stay in those rooms?
Not even staying in that fucking hotel. Maybe we can go for a cocktail, but that's it.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have pictures?
I do. It's a beautiful hotel. So here's okay. So here's the first one. It's a really pretty hotel. There's another cool. Next one's like a black and white. I think a little cooler of the same hotel.
Yeah.
And especially thinking about it, like way back in the 20s.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this next one, this is the rocking chair in room 305.
5?
Yeah, 305. Sometimes I kept writing it down as different numbers, but yeah, 305.
It does have I don't know if it's just the way the photograph was taken, but there's a light hitting the chair that makes it feel especially spooky. And then you can see a reflection in the mirror. And I'm like, what's... I want to go like this. I want to zoom in.
And then this is the Meat Man room. Last picture is the...
Gosh darn it.
Yeah, the room with the chandelier. Oh, no, wait, that's a super creepy doll.
Were you trying to get me? Didn't work?
I know, it's so hard. It's so hard after so many episodes to get you.
Well, I think you just have to get better at it.
But there was the rest of the pictures were just rooms. I mean, they weren't particularly scary. So
yeah,
you get the gist.
that meat man thing, that's very strange.
Right.
Why would you be hanging meat from a chandelier?
So many mentally ill is where my mind went. Who knows? It's just so odd.
Ooh, I felt funny. I did think did he kill somebody?
Oh, right.
And hang them up there?
Yeah. Who knows?
Because I don't know how you would... I mean, they didn't say it was a slab of beef, that would be obviously, like a half a cow kind of thing or whatever. Also, just the weight of that, the chandelier, I don't know, something about that just didn't feel right.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, before we go to your story, I do want to say that I noticed some comments and things about people liking the cryptid, the skinwalker tale.
Oh yeah.
So and hoping that there's more. Yes, we definitely will keep varying this up and try and find as many different ways to tell a scary tale as possible. And I think the key is variety. I was joking about the pictures. I mean, you got to stay in this world of horror, but definitely want to. I'm glad that worked. I'm glad that worked for many of you because I liked it as well. And hopefully you like the urban legend kind of one as well, the teke, just to open up more possibilities.
Talkie-talkies?
Teke.
Talkie-talkie. I can't believe that no one didn't... I cannot believe that we were not given any talkies in Nashville. We got so many amazing presents.
Yeah.
I thought for sure someone would be like, this is what a talkie is. Because I can't believe that you don't know what they are.
Oh, well, I'm so confused right now. I was thinking of teke, like the girl
yeah,
with
and
no
then
legs.
I said the hot Cheetos, Takis.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
Welcome to my life. Okay. Now, do you want some crystal water?
No.
Do you want to borrow a crystal or a cross?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
You got your squishy?
I gotta find my squishy.
He's right
Yeah,
there.
right there.
He's next to your gravel. What?
Nothing.
What?
I think about like your welcome to my life comments about like. Yeah. I don't remember everything you say
Or anything.
or anything. My God, this what's going on with you? This quarantine got you all sassied up today.
I think I was thinking about yesterday when you said I'm a character.
You are a character. I said that. Yes, you are a character.
Okay.
Is that?
I don't know how to take that.
You don't like me? I said it's good.
No.
I said it's good.
Okay.
You're not boring.
Okay. Are you ready for some spooky stories?
I am a character.
I don't even know what's happening right now.
Okay.
Okay. So this first story. It's a little story
maybe
about camping.
that.
I feel like
I'm
you're
listening.
still laughing.
No, I'm listening. I'm listening.
Okay.
But I don't know.
I mean, I thought that this was kind of crazy, and I don't know how you could explain it.
Okay.
So I'm curious to hear what you think at the end. Like, how did that happen?
Right. Okay.
Or how could this happen? Hey guys, I have a story for you. My friend and I have 1 or 2 big camping trips a few times a year in the Oregon wilderness. This story is about one of those trips. One of the bigger camping grounds that we frequented is in an isolated spot deep in the mountains off one of many logging roads that snake their way through the Tillamook National Forest. It's a tradition within the group for one person to leave early, scout ahead, claim the spot before making camp. Seeing as how I enjoyed meandering through the woods alone on rainy days, I left early to claim one of the prime spots before anyone else. And after an uneventful drive through the Tillamook Forest, I ended up making camp around 11 o'clock that morning. It was a cold autumn morning, and it was misting heavily thanks to the low clouds moving across the valley that day. Putting in one of my wireless earbuds, I started one of several podcasts I had downloaded onto my phone and got to work by getting a fire started fast. Hanging tarps to provide cover for sitting came next. Hanging tarps to provide cover for sitting came next, as well as putting up my tent and chopping wood for the coming evening. After an hour, camp was made, and I sat down next to the fire to warm up, dry off, get some coals ready to cook lunch. But while I was buttering up the cast iron pan, the audio in my phone cut out completely. My first instinct was to check to see if my dumbass had forgotten to charge my headset. Fully charged. Disconnecting the headphones from the Bluetooth, I started the podcast again. It played over the speaker, and my phone was fine. The moisture must have shortened out the cheap wireless headset, I thought, before pausing the podcast to check the wireless one more time. I restarted the headset and went to reconnect before the sound of something coming down the gravel road drew my attention. After a few minutes of staring at the road, expecting one of my friends to pull up, nothing happened. Turning my attention to the fire, I started to feel a sudden cold, as if my clothes were completely drenched. And then I noticed that the fire had burned down to cinders and was smoldering, nearly choked out by the rain. Startled, I jumped to my feet to find that I was soaked to the bone, as if I had either been sitting in or walking around in the rain. I didn't start getting scared, however, until I checked my phone. It was somehow now 2 p.m. I had lost 2 or so hours. It was about this time that I made the decision to get the fuck out of there. I grabbed my things out of the tent that I would be leaving behind before making my way to the car when I heard something on the road again. My heart skipped a beat before the sight of my friend's red pickup truck brought a huge sense of relief. I made my way over to him while he parked. When he got out of the truck, I could tell something was wrong. My buddy looked tense and angry. "Bro, what the fuck?" he yelled at me. "What happened?" was all I could manage to say. "Stop fucking with me, dude. You scared the shit out of me." Confused, I pressed him again. "Dude, what happened?" "You know what happened. First, I show up and you aren't here, and then the screaming and the yelling in the woods. You scared me so bad I left, you asshole." My heart sunk. That wasn't
spooky.
But before I could continue, a scream echoed through the woods, seemingly emanating from the campground behind us. The blood-curdling, grinding sound of pain and fear almost made the forest itself turn dark as the rain started again. My friend and I only took one look at each other before running to our cars and getting the fuck down off that mountain. When we made it out, we called the rest of the group and told them that the site was full, before going home and never speaking of the incident until several years later. When we finally did talk about it, I had only one question for him. Why did you come back? He said, I just had the feeling that something was wrong, you know? And to this day, we have yet to return to that logging road, and I still have no idea what happened, nor do I care to know. I'm just glad my friend didn't leave me behind. Mr. S. Mr. S.
How are you, General?
Yeah, odd story. I
Hope you're doing well.
When his friend heard the
Hope
screams,
everything's going
if he thinks that his friend is
awesome.
missing, why
Hope
not look for them? But I
everything's
guess you
been
can be really scared.
alright.
Yeah.
Then he did come back.
I think he did look for him.
I
I think
have
that
a
it's just
modern
confusing how
miniature
it's
general.
told.
Oh, yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think the friend came. His friend wasn't there. He heard the screams
How's
and then
the
was like looking
how's
around
the
for him,
most
like, where the fuck
modern
are you?
Major
And then,
General?
like, left looking for him. I think that's
I
why
am
he
a
came
very
back. That's why
modern
I was
Major
together. Like, he
General.
wasn't at the
Yeah.
and could have opted not to come back to the campsite, but then felt like something about that doesn't seem right, so we're going to go back to where camp is.
I can't sing the song. I don't remember all the lyrics.
Yeah.
The whole like loss of time thing is a fairly commonly reported phenomenon, where people who have had extraterrestrial sightings, or like they see like bright lights in the sky, things.
She wanted spooky.
Instrument panels start to go wrong. Like their car starts acting funny.
Oh, yeah,
their
with his
phone starts
phone.
acting funny.
Yeah.
That is classic kind of signs of possible extraterrestrial encounter.
Well, maybe that's what happened.
And so if I had to pick, I feel like
I'm back.
I
Doing
am so
quite
skeptical.
alright. Had to
Sometimes
actually
I don't
add
know
a
why
verification
X-Files flashes in my head,
process
where it's like,
for
okay,
safety
between
measures.
Time Suck and now
Oh,
this,
hot
I've
damn.
randomly studied so many of these
So
things
Heven,
so much.
this is
that
the
I
second
just flashed
one.
on like I'm Fox Mulder sitting like
This is the first one, which I'm gonna shade and do all that shit too.
That is if I had to guess,
But I was trying
say
out
if
this,
something paranormal,
seeing how I liked it,
unexplainable happened,
seeing
that
if I
would
liked
be
it a little
some
bit
type of
more.
extraterrestrial encounter.
Okay.
Yeah.
That thought did not cross my mind. I don't know what I thought happened.
Yeah.
I was very confused, but also really creeped out.
Yeah. Like if I saw weird lights in the woods.
But he didn't see weird lights.
I know he didn't see weird
okay.
lights, but if I was like, and my phone started acting weird, like if I started having a lot of tech problems, my mind would go to extraterrestrial before it would go to.
I'm
some
sorry
type of
that you
spirit.
had to add a
Right,
two-part
haunting, cryptid, that kind of stuff.
verification.
My mind would
You have
look
to
at-
do
my
that
mind-
for
my mind would look for the bright lights.
Twitch
Listening
if
for
you
like a
want to
hum or
become
some kind of-
affiliate.
some kind of machinery, some type of craft.
What if we were
Have you
camping
become
at the
affiliate?
camp, and you went to the restroom?
Have you
left
done
camp,
the
it was
affiliates?
11 a.m. And then when you came back, it was 2 p.m.
I'd be freaked out.
Would we pack up and go home?
Hope the
Yeah,
trip wasn't too
probably
bad,
I'd have to go
Heven.
home, and if I really lost that time, I would immediately want to go to a doctor and report and like, did I have some kind of fucking stroke?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
like some. I mean,
They both look so good. No, I mean for Discord. Oh yeah, I had to do that as well.
The test came back, like I'm just totally fine. I would honestly want to be checked for like now. This makes me feel like it sounds even crazier. Some kind of implant. Like is there a little scar behind my ear,
Probably.
somewhere? Yeah, I'd be
Yeah,
worried.
well, Mr. S, maybe he should have a full body scan. Wonder if he's done that. Does he keep up with his health? Has he had a physical recently? Mr. S, if you're watching,
Oh my god.
you might want to have things checked out.
Yeah, because can you imagine like you do that and then you go to the doctor and they're like, what's this little? It's like some weird little piece of metal
Oh my god.
in your head or just in your wrist or something. Like what is this? then I would really be freaking out.
I just flashed on
This
Westworld
one just
and
looks so
freaking ready to
wrong.
watch season 3, and
This
I was
one
thinking about
looks
how Ed Harris gets
so
shot and he's, like,
goddamn
trying to get
wrong.
his arm. I still need to
Already.
figure that out.
I think I remember. But I
She
don't wanna
does
say it.
not
Don't
look
say it,
right
don't say it.
at all.
Okay,
Let's
now
add.
this next story, I have to tell you, I prepped this on a plane headed to or from Nashville, I can't remember which, and I was fucking scared.
Okay.
Like
okay.
legitimately scared. It's a bit long.
Like a long, scary one.
Yeah, and I think that and it has like a nice build.
Good,
And I
good.
think the storyteller does a really good job of keeping the series of events. I just realized that this is like so big. The series of events.
If you're just listening, she was talking about my penis.
The school's closed, so not too bad.
this right here.
Just lots of cars. Oh yeah.
Ayo. Oh, geez.
Oh yeah,
I don't know
no.
what this bean is.
This is
But
this is
I
what you
thought-
see.
I thought I was like,
I'm
you
just
could
trying to make
read like really
your
well. Like, this
paralysis
really made
demon.
sense. It was clear. I didn't find any part of it
Basically.
confusing. So I mean, I feel like you can really. immerse
By the way,
yourself in this
did
one.
you
Okay.
guys know that
Okay,
Heven is
so
your
this
paralysis
story,
demon now?
Is about a haunted apartment in Harlem, New York.
Okay.
Okay? All right. And so she begins, "Hi, I really enjoy your show and find myself unable to turn away even when I'm getting
I love
cold
the
chills.
little
I am definitely a
like
peeper and don't know
the
why I
eyes
can't
for
stop
her
coming
are
back
kind of
for
like
more. Maybe it is the
the
curiosity
3D
unknown,
the
or
old
maybe it
3D
is hearing things that
glasses
seem to
that
match
they used to
experiences
have.
I have had in my life.
Oh my
Or
god,
maybe
this
I'm
could be
curious
a
to know what
fucking
crystals really have
cryptid
this power to
so
protect and
far.
deter bad things that we
This
can't
could be a
see.
fucking
I'm waiting to hear your
cryptid.
results on that.
I don't like I don't
My story takes place over a couple of years
I
in the
love
early
it.
2000s
I gotta
in
say
the
it.
middle of New York City, and it made me a believer in many things from the paranormal realm. My husband had been accepted into a graduate program at a prestigious school in the city. We found ourselves moving from our small town in Utah to the Big Apple. It was exciting, an adventure we looked forward to. I had never been so far away from friends and family for very long, and I found myself bawling my eyes out as my dad drove away with the empty moving truck after helping us move into a 5-story walk-up in the middle of Harlem. We had spent the last of our savings putting down a huge deposit and payment on our apartment and the move across the country. Even if we didn't like where we were in it for the long haul. Things started out uneventful. My husband was soon starting classes, and I taught part-time and spent the rest of the time with our 4-year-old. I was expecting our second child and found myself exhausted after long days of teaching. I began having very vivid and intense dreams about a man being in our apartment. He was angry and telling me to get out as he moved from room to room at an unnatural speed. I would wake up in a cold sweat, feeling unsettled, but brushed it off as crazy pregnancy hormones causing these dreams night after night. A logical explanation. It was not long after, however, that my dreams seemed to move into my real life. One day, I heard my 4-year-old son playing in his room, and it seemed like he was having a one-sided conversation. I could hear him growing agitated and then began crying.
Is
I went in
that
to
what
see
I
was
get for
going on
saying I
and saw
didn't
him with his
have
back
one?
pressed against one wall,
What? A
staring at the
paralysis
wall
demon?
cross-legged
Oh,
at him with
yeah.
fear all over his face.
You don't have
I
a
asked him, "What's
paralysis
going on?"
demon.
He said,
You
"The
have an
man wouldn't stop
OC.
yelling at me." I felt my blood run cold and the hair stood up on the back of my neck. I stared at the wall where he was looking, and I could see nothing, but my son could see something. I brushed it off as his wild imagination and took him outside to the park to get his mind off of the unsettling moment. Upon arriving back, he did not want to be in his room alone. I let him help me with making dinner and waiting for Dad to get back home. While we were in the kitchen, I swear I could hear the floorboards creaking in the direction of his room. I again tried to think of an explanation and thought of how we had favors above and below, and we were in an old building. It was probably just me being silly and paranoid. It came time to go to bed that night, and I had the same dream that seemed to plague me every night now. The angry man pacing through our apartment at an inhuman speed, yelling at us to get out. I found myself not sleeping well, and exhaustion set in. It took a toll on me, and my pregnancy became riskier. I was advised to stop working and to try to take it easy at home for the duration of my pregnancy. I was happy to be able to spend more time with my little guy. I soon grew troubled, though. I heard my son having more of his one-sided conversations as he would play throughout the day. Sometimes they seemed like nice and friendly conversations, but soon they would turn frightened and uneasy. I decided to try to talk to him more about who he was talking to, thinking that maybe he had an imaginary friend. He said, "I play with Sebastian. He likes to see what my toys can do, but then he has to hide when Mr. Tinkets comes looking for him. He tells me not to tell him where he is." Who is Mr. Tinkets? He's a mean man, Mommy. He tries to get me to do bad things, and he says if I don't tell him where Sebastian is, we are going to be sorry. I was alarmed by this and felt very uneasy. I don't know where he had heard the name Sebastian, and had never heard of anyone with the last name of Tinkets. I felt like something was watching us as I talked to him, and I could have sworn the room grew colder by 10 degrees. I told my son to join me in our living room, where I could rest and turn on a show for him and get his mind off of what was happening. As we sat watching a movie, I could hear his battery-operated toys making noises from his room. Sebastian likes that one, my son said, as we heard the little fire truck he had making noises. I got instant goosebumps and felt like crying, which seemed to become a regular occurrence. I had no idea what to do, so I just started praying and left a voicemail for my husband to come home as soon as he was able to. When my husband got home, he of course looked at me like I was crazy when I told him about our son's conversations and the toys making noise on their own. He said it was probably the batteries getting low.
I feel kind of hungry, but
airplanes flying over,
we'll get foods eventually soon.
He told me not to get
You should you should eat if you are hungry.
I
Yes,
felt like crying
you should
in frustration
eat.
with him, but decided maybe he was right. Maybe it was
Eat.
just my exhaustion, mixed with the things that had perfectly good
Yes.
explanation and not some scary alternative. I quickly decided
Yes.
it was not just my mind.
Eat.
It seemed like as soon as my husband would leave for
Devour.
work, the toys started making noises. I would hear what sounded like footsteps moving through our apartment, and cold
Feed.
spots would seem to randomly show up. There were times when I did not feel like we were alone. It was often that I felt like we were being watched. Then one day something happened that made my blood run cold. I kept hearing noises coming from the kitchen that sat off of our living room area. The lights were out, but I thought I could see something moving in the dark.
I don't
It
know.
seemed to be
I
peeking
like
out at me
both,
from around a
but
corner
this
in the
one,
room. I thought it must
this
just be
one
my eyes playing tricks on
feels
me.
worse.
So
I slept early
staring at
today.
this black
I
shadow,
could, but
waiting
still
for it to
wake it
move,
up.
And move it did. The shadow stepped out from around the corner, and it was all black. I couldn't see any features. I could only tell it was human
Haven.
shape and size.
Isn't
I was
it
already freaking
beautiful?
out inside when the shadow appeared to bend over and walk on all fours quickly across the kitchen and disappear down the hallway that led to the front door. I didn't know what to do. I wanted out of the apartment, but the thing was by the front door, or so I thought. I wasn't about to go into the kitchen and look down the hallway leading to the front door. I quickly ran and grabbed my little guy, who was fast asleep for the night. I brought him into the front room with me and sat staring into the kitchen, wondering what I should do.
The
When my
second
husband
one,
arrived
yeah.
home, I totally freaked out crying. I mean ugly crying, where your nose is all stuffy and your eyes get all puffy, telling my husband what I saw. I think he didn't believe me, and that made me so angry with him. I felt trapped
And
in this
then
apartment,
the
unable
zipper.
to really do much to get out during
The
the day because of
zipper.
my high-risk pregnancy.
I
I
like
had to
the
tell myself
zipper
that whatever
idea.
this thing was
Just
had not hurt us
slowly
yet,
going
and so I
down.
just had to coexist with it and hope to never see it again. The activity when my husband would leave began to increase. I hated to leave my son alone because it seemed like whatever was coming to him was growing more agitated, and he was more upset more often than not. One day I was in desperate need of a shower and a moment alone to gather my sanity. I decided my son would be okay for the 10 to 15 minutes it would take for me to shower and feel like a normal human again. As soon as I had turned on the water, my little guy knocked on the door and asked if I could hurry. I told him I would. I was in the shower and out and heading into the apartment in about 10 minutes. When I stepped out of the bathroom, I noticed a few little red drops on the floor, leading from the bathroom door toward my son's room. I looked closer and I saw that it was blood. I raced into his room, and what I saw brought me to my knees. My son was sitting in front of the wall that he would stare at, and there were bloody handprints all
Jesus
over
Christ.
it. Most were his handprints, but there were a couple that looked bigger. Blood was smeared along the wall, even up high next to the ceiling where he could not reach. He turned to me, and I could see his nose was gushing blood. I quickly grabbed a towel from his laundry basket and held it to his nose to stop the bleeding.
Looks like
and
it
dragged
wants
him
to
out
eat
of the
my
room.
soul.
What is going on? I choked through tears. My nose started to bleed. Mr. Tinkets told me.
Sorry,
if
can't
we
type
covered
again.
the wall
It's
in red,
fine.
He might go
It's
away, but he said he might need more
Fine.
blood than I have.
Everything's
I was totally creeped out. I went to his room and it felt so cold in there. I began to have a conversation with something I couldn't see. I told whatever it was that this was our home and it needed to go away and to leave my son alone. I remembered from church hearing that if you told something evil to go away in the name of Jesus Christ, it was supposed to make evil spirits leave. So desperately, I commanded whatever it was to go away using the name of Jesus Christ. I took a picture of the wall before cleaning it to show my husband when he got home. I was not going to leave smeared blood up on the wall. It would be my undoing. I spent the day in the front room fighting back contractions from the cleaning and the stress, watching a show and playing with my son. When my husband arrived home, I pulled out the digital camera to show him the wall. I told him what had happened. I scrolled through the pictures, but the one of the wall was all black. It was gone. Or maybe it had just captured the black creature that seemed to be stalking us. Either way, my husband seemed to be fed up with me and my story. It really seemed to put a strain on our relationship. That night when we went to bed, things would change. As we were laying in the dark, the apartment seemed to groan and creak a little, all attributed to being an old building settling. We were nearly asleep, laying on our own sides of the bed, not touching, feeling frustration with one another. Then, it sounded like something walked into our room. It seemed to stop close to my side of the bed, and it felt like something was leaning over me. I stared into the darkness, unable to see anything, and then a man's voice whispered, "Hey, Mommy." I sat upright and began to silently cry, clutching the blankets. My husband sat up and asked, "What was that? Did you hear that?" He had not heard the words, but had heard the whisper. He suddenly seemed to be starting to believe what I was experiencing. We went and got our son and brought him into bed with us. I couldn't bear the thought of him sleeping alone in his bed and having that thing go to him.
My God.
We didn't know what to do, but the next day was one that made us change everything. I could hear my son in his room talking to whatever it was. I went in to get him because I couldn't stand the thought of it any longer. When I walked into his room, his bedroom window was slid all the way up, and he was standing on the windowsill, holding onto the sides of the window, leaning forward, looking down at the ground 3 stories below. I don't know how he could have gotten that window open. The superintendent of the building had put in a bolt to keep it from being opened more than a few inches,
Right.
and it was a very heavy and very hard to open window, even for me. I didn't want to startle my son and have him fall to his death, so I slowly walked towards him. The room felt so cold, and I felt like I could hear a whisper close to my son. I couldn't make out what it said, but I didn't want to find out what sinister ideas it was putting into my son's head. I quickly lunged forward, grabbed my son, and pulled him back inside towards me. And that's when I felt like something had punched me in the side. I felt a hot and intense pain. I ran into the other room with my son and pulled my shirt up to see I had a spot on my side that was red and starting to bruise. I was done dealing with this entity. I knew that it would not be long until his baby sister was born, and I couldn't have something hurting my children. When I took my son into the front room and turned on a show to distract him, I went back into his room to close the window. Walking toward his room, his toys that all made noises all started making noises all at once. I was so angry at this point. Something could have killed my son, and it had hurt me. I slammed the window shut, replaced the bolt to keep it from opening. Then I picked up the toys and took all of the batteries out of them. I got a screwdriver and opened the ones I couldn't do by hand and took out every battery and threw them in the garbage can. At least I didn't have to hear the noises, and I felt like I had to show whatever this was that I meant business. As I closed the lid to the garbage can, I felt the hair stand up on the back of my neck as a couple of toys I had taken batteries out of started to make noise.
Jesus Christ.
I called my husband and left him a message telling him we needed to have our apartment blessed that night. I was not going to spend another night there as it was. That night, our apartment was blessed, and it seemed like the activity stopped. I thought it had worked. Life seemed to move on as normal once again, and I felt the stress and fear begin to dissipate. It was a short time later that my daughter was born, and things felt all right. I didn't feel like anything was watching us, and I didn't notice any cold spots anymore. It was a little over a year later when we were packing up to move. As I was cleaning the kitchen one last time, I heard a noise coming from the kids' bedroom. I knew that they were both in the front room playing, so it could not be them. It was then that I looked toward their room and saw the tail end of a black shadow quickly moving across their room. I was so grateful that we were about to leave this place. The day we moved was such a relief. Luckily, I never experienced anything quite like that again, and I hope to never come across any black shadows again. Thanks for letting me share my story with you. If you have any idea about what that thing could have been, I would love to know. Your listener, that can't seem to look away, JK.
Jeez.
Isn't that so intense?
That's such an that's a creepy story.
What do you think?
I mean, nobody knows. No one's gonna something like this. I mean, what I find interesting is the kids telling his mom that there was a man and a boy spirit, and that the man was angry because that's come up before.
Yes.
And and for every one story that I tell here on Scared Dead, there's probably like 5 other ones that I've looked at that I'm just like, it's just not enough meat on it, or something that I feel like makes for a good story because I try to make them a little bit longer. It doesn't fit. And I will just say that, like, in looking across many like accounts, that's a fairly common type of entity occurrence where there's two,
Yeah.
and there's specifically a child, usually a boy, for whatever reason, who claims that he has found a playmate of sorts who can't be seen, and that the playmate is scared of another entity that is almost always male and angry, and it's just weird. Like, why does that exact scenario keep repeating itself? Kind of like earlier when we were talking about like the instrument panels going berserk, or loss of time, or those kind of things being like extraterrestrial telltales. This is I don't know if you want to say trope or what, but it's like it comes up again and again and again. So who knows what the hell that thing is? I mean, some people would say demon, some people would say, I mean, the trouble with all those kind of things is, like, you know, ghost, demon, shadow people, they could all be different terms for the same thing.
Yeah, we just don't know.
If this stuff exists on the other side, which, you know, there's so many stories, again, we don't, that's the scariest part. It's kind of like, I was talking about that, you know, again, I can't help but kind of bring everything back to what we're dealing with. It just collectively as a world right now.
Yeah.
But the main stressor with the coronavirus situation is the unknown.
Right.
Like, psychologically, going back 20 years, I actually would read about that stuff at school. You know, that's super high on people's stress. There's, like, you know, death, divorce, you know, moving is a huge one. And all of those, the underlying occurrence is change, and an uncertainty of what will life, you know, now this person will no longer be here. How is my life going to be without them? Now I'm no longer in this relationship. How will it be without them? Now I've moved to a different place. What am I going to do in this place? Like, it's the fear of the unknown, and this is totally unknown.
Totally unknown, and can't even be explained.
And seems malevolent. So when you add, like, we don't know what it is, we can't, you know, definitively, you know, like, study it. It can literally be just a actual shadow that moves differently than we think a shadow should. A feeling, a voice, and a dark energy. I mean, that's why this shit is so terrifying.
Right.
Because it's unknown combined with harmful.
Yes.
Menacing.
Yes.
The worst kind of unknown.
Why do you think it's not a lot of stories about little girls playing with little girl spirits and then an angry mother type figure? Because I feel like I was trying to think, the only little girl story that I can really come up with is that couple from Tacoma that sent in their story. Was it Mr. Whispers or
oh God,
the Jingle grandparents? I can't think of the exact name. And they were like living in the walls, but that was a little girl talking to the twinkle grandparents.
Oh, yes, male and female,
But even still, it's like,
it's generally a boy. I mean, there's one, like, theory about that kind of thing where people just think that, you know, if you take the notion of something evil, what it wants to do is it wants to corrupt something good, something innocent. And there's been, like, moral studies that do show that, like, males are generally just, you know, better than...
I knew where this was headed.
Dang it!
Like 5 seconds.
God
I'm
dang
like,
it!
Is he gonna do what I think he's about to do?
So predictable.
So predictable. So, well, as a little palate cleanser,
Yeah.
you are predictable. Possibly even when you think you're being unpredictable, it is predictable. I know who you are so well.
How happy does that make you?
Yeah, I think that's why I get mad at you when you suddenly change patterns, because I'm like, oh, okay, so this is his new non-predictable. Because I imagine you thinking about it and being like, I'm going to do this, I'm really going to throw her off. And, like, being so proud of yourself. And I'm like, okay, got it. Now he's really into this. Okay.
How dare you? What's your next thing?
Well, this is a little palate cleanser. Just like a really awesome note to leave on. So a fan of ours, Paige, was in Ireland. And when she was there, she got to go to Leap Castle.
Right. And Leap Castle is, I don't remember how many stories back. I don't know, 5, 6. But Leap Castle is the thing that sticks out for me for that story. A haunted castle,
also
for many times, now a private residence. And
damn it.
The elemental. Like, there's this, there's like the bloody chapel. The elemental is the one, like, down in the...
This is pretty fucking
where people would
gnarly.
Be, execute like a whole trap door. But yes, very, very
like
fun,
Heven.
Yeah, in the episode, I meant to look up which number
I was wondering if you
but it is the episode entitled
be so kind as to enjoy.
So this is the message we get from
this
just really
coming from
scary.
you.
Pictures.
Yes, so hang on for the pictures. She says,
I
"Hey,
think
Dan,
I
hope
like this
email finds you both
way
well.
more.
My
Like,
fiancé
this
an
is
avid listener
way
of the
different
Scared to
than
Death
I
podcast
usually
and has
do.
begun to
Normally I do
introduce them
stuff
to
like
me. I
this.
was in
It's
Ireland,
creepy.
And before heading out on this
But
awesome
this
trip,
is
my
it's
fiancé told me
getting
about Lee's
it's getting
Castle
good.
from the podcast episode
That
The
is a
Unknown.
very spooky
He said that
paralysis
if Lee,
demon.
she was traveling with
Yeah.
a friend,
Yeah.
could visit in any way, we should. She emailed
It's
the owner, and
even
Sean is the owner.
I
He
was
said he would
like, all
welcome
right,
them
you
to the
want
castle. She
this?
said, not
All
gonna
right,
lie,
you
it
want
was a little bit
you want me to
awkward
spook
just
up
walking
your
into
all
someone's
right.
new home
Let's
based on
fucking
being the
spook it
world's
up.
most haunted
Let's
castle.
really
She's in the
spook it
progress
up.
of
Like the
restoring
first
the castle,
one,
since it was partially
it's kind of my
destroyed during the
normal
Irish Civil War.
go-to.
He told us about the story
This
of the O'Bannons
is
and the O'Carrolls,
definitely
gave us some flashlights, and then just
slowly
sent us off
falling
to
in love
explore,
with
which is really
all this fucked
amazing
up
that he just
shit.
let some strangers,
Yeah.
you know,
This
come
is
to his place,
a
and also that
like,
you
oh
guys
man,
weren't,
this is like a
violently
fun
anything.
house mirror.
Like, you're very
This is a
trusting.
fun house
We found
mirror.
ourselves in the
This
bloody
is
chapel.
wrong.
I cuddled away by a
And then
window
I wanted to do
listened to
this.
your podcast, The Unknown.
See
It
what
gave
I
me
can do with that.
goosebumps. Unfortunately, my friend and I did not see anything.
Love
but
it.
thought
I
was very
know,
cool that
like,
I listened to your Elite Castle podcast.
I
in the
rarely
bloody
ever
chapel. Thanks for making my
do
skin crawl.
spooky.
Thanks for making my skin
Like
crawl
you saw the pictures I did at
Take
work.
care. Paige
Even
Taylor
my
and her
spooky
boyfriend
pictures
Blaine
are
Horn. So,
awesome.
Producer
First
Joe's gonna
one's
cue up some photos.
spoopy,
This is
second
Elite
one
Castle.
nightmare fuel.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, this
What a cool private residence.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how much
First
did you pay for that?
one, a bit
You know, I do actually
scary,
remember
kind
coming across some figures, and I just remember
I
thinking
could
it
see
wasn't
it
what you
as
would think.
like some like
It wasn't
fun,
$50
like
million.
little,
No, it wasn't like an
like
insane
Halloween
amount. I think it's
decoration.
kind of
This
like a
is
weird place. I
like
mean,
I should really.
took some
Should I
fixing
call
up,
the
you know, to
cops
get rid of
Sure,
on
he's
this?
restoring it.
Right, livable again. So I don't think it was an outrageous price because most people, as cool as it is, just wouldn't want to live out where it is and wouldn't want to live in
Right.
this structure.
Okay, so now our second photo. This is just a view from Leaf Castle. You know, just open. I mean,
God, I hope I get to go to the Dublin Comedy Festival with all this nonsense. I hope it doesn't get canceled. Fingers crossed.
Fingers
I want
crossed.
Ireland so bad.
I spent a tiny bit there, but so many years ago, I was drunk the whole time. So, okay, so now the next picture. This is the Bloody Chapel.
Yeah. No, like
Very, very
it's
cool.
it's
And then
real.
This next photo
If
is
I
what we're referencing.
could,
It's like the
I
dungeons
would.
Yes.
below or beside.
That is something interesting.
chapel.
Is to do a
And all these photos
completely.
will be on social
You
media,
may
of
want to
course.
get your
Yeah, I'm
PC
Scared to Death
blessed
podcast.
with second one.
I
I
never done that.
know.
It's Scared to Death podcast on Instagram. Yeah.
This is
And then this
definitely.
next photo is just.
But you
of
said you wanted it
ruins.
spooky.
So like this is them looking out the bloody chapel outside.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
You know.
You
just
wanted it
living
spooky.
dead ruins. And then this last photo
Saving?
is of Paige listening to the episode The Unknown in the bloody chapel.
You really
And I
wanted
love
it
that.
spooky, and I was like,
cool.
all right,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
all right,
That
let's
is-
spook
I think
you
that's a
up.
cool shot.
Yeah. So thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And you know, just again, we
and
won't
the
be doing,
color
like,
also
updates
works for
frequently.
it.
That's not going to be a part of this show, but this was
Yeah.
so specific.
I don't know
to
if you
something
can
we
even
talked
show
about.
this one to your son.
And you wanted to thank somebody about a T-shirt.
I did. Thank you for reminding
See,
me.
I already listen to you sometimes.
Or did you just like see it over here?
No.
I got this T-shirt. First of all, we got so many cool presents in Nashville.
Yeah.
And just with the chaos of everything, we haven't really unpacked. There's a pile of things, but I did get this water bottle that I'm very excited about. You put crystals in the bottom, so thank you from. I can't speak today. Thank you, Mariah. I can like change it out.
Oh,
It's okay. It's okay. It's just wet from me washing it.
Oh, okay.
Like crystals in the bottom.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm all
Very
for it
cool,
too.
very pretty.
You
very
you
loud,
said
like,
you're the
like
lady of
afterwards, like, "You're not great
spooks,
for on the show."
so I was
And then
like,
I
all
cannot
right,
remember this fan's
fair
name
enough.
to save my life,
Lady
but
of
she can tag
spooks,
herself
here you
in
go.
I remember you getting that photo though.
Social media.
Crystal's Cannabis Kindness.
I mean, does she know me or what? Like, do you think that me and her are best friends?
Probably.
These are like all the things I need in life.
Mm-hmm.
How come you don't give me thoughtful gifts like this?
Because you say she's anything, and then it makes me not want to give you stuff.
I'm not gonna give you anything.
Oh man, what's happening on here?
So it goes, Dan. That's it.
Okay, that's it.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, I don't think I brought in any other. Like I said, everything is. We like to document it when it comes in. Harmony does an amazing job of like
Yeah.
making sure that there's photographs of everything.
Yeah.
We can thank everyone for what they've sent. So it's just a giant pile of things that we just haven't gotten to, but we're so grateful. It was so fun to meet fans in Nashville.
It was.
It was such a precarious sort
Next
of weekend,
episode of this podcast, my mom's OC became my paralysis demon.
There were a couple of people who like, it just really stood out to me. There was this one couple I referenced them to so many times.
A streamer by the name Go Camera was listening to your podcast, and then literally this became her fucking nightmare.
She got super teary-eyed and was just thanking us.
This fucking thing became her goddamn nightmares.
This might be the last thing that we get to do for a long time. We really needed this release. So yeah, I mean, and we did our best to be. We took photos at a distance, and didn't interact unless it was lots of hand sanitizer and permission from both parties, and blah blah blah. And we did all the things, and
that means it's a very complicated issue. I mean, it's just tough. Where you don't want to not flatten the curve. You don't want to spread something that's going to hurt people, but then all. Whether thou art a ghost that hath come from the earth. $50 or more during the quarantine.
Happening, guys. This is coronavirus.
Let them in. Several years ago, in late January, in a snowy town in the midst of a hard winter.
This fucking the next episode of this podcast is just literally.
Heard the sound of 3 loud knocks.
You know
on the
what?
front door. Jean jumped a bit, startled.
Haven, let's look at the contrast.
The kitchen where Stanley was washing a few dishes.
Exhibit A.
Before the two were to go to bed for the night.
Exhibit B.
It was almost 9 p.m. The couple wasn't expecting any visitors. They never had unexpected visitors that late.
Oh, you know who you should get to draw something spooky for your birthday?
Leading to their front door.
You know who'd love to do that?
Fox.
He draws spooky shit all the fucking time.
In their living room, and if someone they knew was stopping by, they'd almost, always call first.
Right.
None of that happened this night.
She's so cute and fluffy. She's so cute and fluffy. I was like, did you want me to draw her in my style or anything like that?
To knock on their door.
No.
Stanley
no, I want her spooked up. I want her to be spooked up for Halloween. Okay.
Fuck.
Neither looked over the age of 11.
Spooking it up.
At the ground.
All right. Do you want me to spook it up, or do you want me to, silly, like she's wearing, she very cute. Do what you want.
He worried that something terrible must have happened to them.
Okay. I haven't drawn anything spooky in a while.
Neither of them looked back up at
Fine.
They kept their heads down.
You got it, buddy.
And then the boy asked, or maybe
young lady, you got it. For the birthday girl, of course. Which I don't think I did do it. Do you want a birthday song? If you want a birthday song, I can do it.
Stanley and Jean hesitated a moment. Jean shot
I can do a birthday song.
Actually shook her head no.
I will not. I will not be afraid to do a birthday song on here.
And he welcomed them inside. Of course, come in before you catch cold.
Hell, even if you clip it, I don't care. I'm not bothered by it.
To make some hot cocoa. While his wife put some water on the stove to boil, Stanley asked the kids some questions. So who are your folks? Why are they picking you up here? Is everything okay? Do you need to use our phone? All of Stanley's questions went unanswered, and then he heard a low growl from across the room. It was Charlie, Jean's tabby cat. And yes, it was Jean's tabby. Stanley wasn't really a cat.
I don't know what happened to my mom. She just started getting real weird.
Time around. Charlie liked everyone, and he teased Jean that he was going to take off with the first person who offered him a can of tuna. But Charlie did not like these kids. Charlie stared at them intensely, fur along his spine standing straight up, steady, low growl in his throat. Stanley had to admit to himself he didn't care much for these kids either.
Why'd you let him in, jackass?
Jean returned to the living room to ask the kids still sitting silently on the couch, not answering the questions that Stanley asked, staring down at the floor if they wanted marshmallows in their hot chocolate or not. Just as she noticed that Charlie the cat seemed spooked and hostile, the children, one or both of them, spoke. May we please use the restroom? Jean told them that of course they could, and she pointed out the closet bathroom, or the closest bathroom, first door on the left down the hall towards the bedrooms. When the kids stood up, she got a look for a moment at their eyes, or more accurately, at the spaces, the voids, where their eyes should have been.
I fucking knew it.
The children's eyes were as black as a starless universe.
Goddamn
Unnaturally
black-eyed
blue.
children.
Less of a color and more the absence of color. The absence of anything at all.
Goddamn
Quickly looked at the
black-eyed
floor
children.
herself after seeing those black spaces as the kids both walked past her and down towards the bathroom. Jean was scared now. She didn't know what these two things were, but she knew they were not kids. When the bathroom door shut, Charlie shot across the room past Jean and retreated into the laundry room behind the kitchen. Jean wanted to hide as well. She looked now to Stanley, who was covering his face with his hands. He asked, "Good God, did you see their eyes?" And then he moved his hands away from his face, and Jean saw they were covered in blood. Stanley had a terrible nosebleed. She didn't remember him ever having a nosebleed like that before. Just then, the power went out.
Oh, God.
The house turned as dark as those kids' eyes. Stanley whispered, "Jean, go back in the kitchen. I don't know what those two things are, but they're not." Stanley's whisper was cut off by the sound of the bathroom door creaking open. In the stifling silence of the cold, dark, lightless night, they heard the footsteps of these two kids, these two whatever they were, these two black-eyed children, walk out into the middle of the living room. Jean and Stanley both stood silently in fear. They could hear each other breathing, but they couldn't hear the breathing of these two children. Stanley and Jean would later reflect that unless they were speaking, the two kids didn't make any sound at all. One or both of the black-eyed children broke the silence. "Our parents are here." And then they both walked to the front door. The kids opened the door and exited the house, leaving the door wide open. The two children walked out and down the driveway towards the street, and then they just vanished. Whether they vanished into the darkness of the night or literally vanished from the face of the earth, they couldn't tell. The moment they disappeared, the power came back on.
Oh, my God.
Stanley and Jean would never see the two kids again, and their lives would also never be the same. Stanley continued to get horrible nosebleeds, and when he went to the doctor a week later, he had some blood work done, and when he came back, he was sent to an oncologist. He had a nasal tumor. He had brain cancer.
What?
It was a particularly aggressive type, and he died within the year.
No.
Charlie the cat didn't last nearly that long. They found him the morning after their encounter with the black-eyed children. He died while hiding near the ceiling on top of a cabinet. The vet said it looked like he'd had an embolism of some kind. Jean thinks he died of fright. She's convinced those childlike things with the black eyes killed both her cat and her husband, and thinks they'd both still be here today if they would have just never let them in.
I'm so mad at this story.
Yeah?
Well, first of all, I fucking hate black-eyed children.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you let them in?
Kids?
I don't give a fuck. It's the middle of the night. It's fucking creepy and weird.
Creepy and weird, but if you didn't see their eyes at first...
And in the middle of nowhere? Okay.
Right, rural place, but I think all the more reason to let kids in.
No.
If the kids showed up at our house, you wouldn't let them in?
Absolutely not. Especially after not doing this show.
Before this show. Yeah, probably.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm such a scaredy cat about stuff like that. I have severe
Never
stranger
let this
danger.
creepy children
No.
in.
Would you let
Yeah.
them in if you put a gun to the kid's head? Just the whole time they were there? I'm kidding.
Maybe. I do like guns. Okay, no, this is what it makes me think about though. So, growing up in Ohio,
Yeah.
my aunt lived in this town called Homerville, and it
Okay.
was pretty out in the middle of nowhere. Her and my uncle moved there after some very terrible family things. They just wanted to be away from society.
Yeah.
So they lived down this long, dark road. You'd go down this
yeah.
country road. It was
Got it.
paved, right? I mean, but no stop signs. The speed limit was probably 60, and then you would pull off. Just from the main road right into their driveway. And there were, several driveways, but
Yeah.
again, one here and then one
Yeah.
half a mile down the road. And then they had this long gravel driveway. And I was imagining their house this whole time because if a
Yeah.
car pulled up, it would illuminate the house through the bay windows.
Yeah.
It was, I was like, oh my
shit, yeah.
God, was this my aunt and uncle? Also my uncle died in a freak accident. Did they let something in? We never found out. But now they're both deceased and I can't ask.
I mean,
But
maybe...
it fucking freaked me out. The same thing,
Yeah.
hallway. I did not like that.
Made me think of my mom's house where, in the sense of being isolated, where, how weird, several hours after the sun went down, if two kids just showed up,
No fucking way that we're answering the door at your mom's house. No way.
And that would be so weird. But
That'd
then,
be so weird.
I will say, in the defense of this couple, you would also think oh my God, did something terrible happen for these kids to be showing up here? Grown-ups, different story.
I disagree because Because
You would not let kids just stay outside.
if we were at your mom's house, are you kidding me? Because it's not like your mom's house. It's like,
What are you gonna say? Just get out of here, beat it, kids.
no, maybe I would sit outside with them. Or, you know what I mean? But I'm not letting them into my space. I would
'Cause of
call,
this show,
I
'cause
would
of
call
this
the
show.
cops, first of all. I would say, like, okay, you stay there. And I would, like, make up an excuse like, hey, I'm a grown-up, you're a kid, I don't want to be accused of anything. You can sit right here on my porch.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call
never
the cops,
let
and we're
creepy
gonna, get
children
this
in.
sorted out.
But
And
they
then I
didn't
would
know.
maybe,
They
like,
didn't
stay
see their
outside with them.
Okay, what if you saw
faces.
their eyes though? Like, so for like, because you're spooked because of this legend, and then they didn't have black eyes; they had normal eyes. You probably let them in.
I still wouldn't understand what they were doing there. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, it's creepy. Okay, well let's. Okay,
I don't want to do this. Tonight.
little picture. First picture
I don't want
from the
to.
Vermont couple. Let's look at this. We don't lighten it up.
But bum.
With Vermont, Ben and Jerry's. This is my favorite Ben and Jerry, the fish food. My favorite flavor. I love fish food.
Okay, let me just say we have been together for what, like 8 years.
I haven't had it in so long because it's so many calories. I know.
You've never eaten it.
It's
It's not your
1,000.
fucking favorite. What are you talking about?
1,160 calories. I know there's another one we like, but I love fish food. Caramel, chocolate, and then marshmallows, chocolate ice cream, marshmallows, caramel, and little dark chocolate fishies.
Okay, what is amazing to me is that like when you make a sundae at home, you have vanilla ice cream with chocolate syrup on it. That's like you
I
could
know, there's
you could
different
add those
things.
things, and you don't even like marshmallows. Who are you?
I know, but I like fish food. I just haven't had it in so long.
Do you like the band fish?
Nope. I mean, I've never
Oh,
gotten
that
into
was
it.
definitive.
Okay, my reaction there was because I had friends when I was younger who were so into fish.
So into it.
And they pushed it too hard on me.
Got
and
it.
so the expectation was built up so much.
Yes.
And then I listened and I'm like, this is a fucking 10-minute guitar solo that I don't want to hear.
That happened to me with Dave Matthews Band.
Okay?
Like high school, all my friends were so into it, like so into it.
I was one of those people.
And there was this guy. He was a naughty, naughty guy, and he tried to get me to like them by flirting with me, and he had a girlfriend the whole time.
Okay.
And then really made me hate Dave Matthews.
Why?
But I'm
I get
back
it.
in. I'm back
yeah.
in.
And I've heard fish since. I bet now I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, I get it.
Do you like my stalling?
I
Do you
like,
want to hear more
I like
stories?
bands like Dispatch and stuff that are similar a little bit. Here, let's get into another picture. This is a better pic. Oh, that's not ice cream. That's a black-eyed kid. Ah, bummer. That kid
Fuck!
If that kid showed up at your door, I'd get not letting him in.
That kid looks like Joe's son.
Okay, so here is one of my favorite pictures from this story. That's the best like I could find. This has nothing to do with the story. When I found the first ice cream picture, this is one of my favorite pictures on the internet. I saw it years ago for the first time.
Weird.
It's so weird. This is a picture if you're just listening. This will be on Instagram at the Scared to Death podcast Instagram account and Facebook. But
Snuggly bunny.
I don't understand what's happening.
What's happening is it's a girl. She's having an ice cream cone. and it's soft serve, and it goes up to a point, and she has rested. She went in for a bite, and she went in at the wrong angle, and the tip of the ice cream went right up her nose.
But also, she's not holding the cone. This feels
So
very staged.
She's balancing it. It's one of the. I don't care if it's staged. It's one of my favorite pictures on the internet. and I came across it when I was looking for the Ben and Jerry pic.
Okay.
Okay, see, lighten up a little bit before we go back
stay
in.
in
The
this
bunny
space.
will
No.
keep us safe.
Okay.
This next
From
story, look at the
this,
setup.
I hope.
I can't tell you how
hope.
much I don't want to do this. I'm so freaked out.
Okay.
You're
Well.
not sleeping tonight.
Oh, great. Okay, so this next one, I feel like most
So,
of us
yeah.
like to believe that there's a hard line
This
drawn
feels
between
like an
the world of
album
paranormal and the world
cover,
of science.
if there ever was.
Comforting to think that there's the unexplainable, the stuff that happens in the dark, things that are seen in isolated places where there are few witnesses, the stuff that happens when you're alone. You can later rationalize it as a product of your own overactive imagination and nothing more. There is that world, and then there is the stuff on the other side of that hard line, the explainable, science, the stuff that takes place in the daytime, the stuff that happens under halogen lights, stuff examined by professional people with impressive degrees wearing white lab coats, performing careful, controlled experiments. Every once in a while, these two worlds collide.
Oh dear.
Not often, maybe not in the lab, but from time to time,
Yeah,
someone from
I
the
could
world of
see it
science
for a metal
wanders
band,
over to
yeah.
the world of the unexplained,
Haven,
and is forever
the metal
changed by what
band
they
named
discover.
Haven.
I really don't like where this is headed.
This next story is about one of these discoveries. In the last few decades, the Catholic Church has observed that cases of demonic possession have definitely been on the rise.
I don't want to go to church right now.
The United States is now home to over 100 so-called stable exorcists. those who have been designated by bishops to combat demonic activity on a semi-regular basis, a number up from just a dozen a decade ago. In 2010, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops organized a meeting in Baltimore for clergy interested in how to deal with cases of possession. In 2014, Pope Francis formally recognized the IAE, the International Association of Exorcists, 400 members of which convened in Rome in October 2016 to talk about cases of possession they'd witnessed and exorcisms they'd performed. And in 2017, the Catholic Church published the first official English-language translation of a ritual book on exorcisms. The Church hopes the book will make it easier for priests who are otherwise good exorcists, but feel hindered by a centuries-old requirement to use a Latin text for exorcisms. Having it available in the vernacular and the common tongue means priests can concentrate on prayer and on the ritual without needing to worry about working in another language. The book, called Prayers Against the Powers of Darkness, is available now in Spanish and several other languages as well. And all of this begs the question, how many exorcisms are being performed right now? Thousands. Tens, if not hundreds of thousands of exorcisms are requested each year now.
Fuck me, I don't want it.
And thousands are performed. An official exorcist in Indianapolis, just one priest received over 2,000 requests just in 2018 alone.
How many?
2,000.
In Indianapolis.
Just this one guy. And every once in a while, one of these exorcisms is not performed with only clergy present. Sometimes priests will bring in someone from the world of science to assist. Time for the tale of the demonic possession of Julia.
Oh God, I don't want to.
In 2007, Richard Gallagher, MD, a board-certified psychiatrist, was employed as a professor at the New York Medical College in Valhalla, New York, one of the nation's largest private health sciences universities, located less than 30 miles north of Manhattan. Dr. Gallagher was also on the faculty at Columbia University, the prestigious Ivy League school located in Manhattan's esteemed Upper West Side. He graduated from Princeton, another Ivy League school, in the 70s, and then got his degree in psychiatry from yet another Ivy League school, Yale University.
This guy's a genius.
Yeah, needless to say, Dr. Gallagher is very smart. He was also, prior to his involvement in the exorcism of Julia, very much a skeptic. He'd been raised Catholic, devoutly Catholic actually, but when he began to pursue his collegiate education, he began to burr.
Sure.
And then one night in 2007, he was in his office working late when he got an unexpected phone call. The person on the other end of the line introduced himself as Father John. He said he was a priest and he had a serious problem he needed Dr. Gallagher to help him with. Father John said that a woman came to his church he'd never seen before. She called herself Julia, and she begged for his help. Julia claimed she was possessed, and that if she didn't get help quickly, she was worried that she would die in a matter of days. Dr. Gallagher asked what his role in all of this was supposed to be. Father John explained that all over the world, the number of people claiming to be possessed was mounting, and the church was worried that this might be due to people fabricating possession claims. He explained that the church was well aware that many people who claimed to be possessed were actually suffering from mental illness, drug addiction, or any number of other non-spiritual conditions. The church wanted to avoid performing unnecessary exorcisms for a variety of reasons.
Okay.
They wanted to avoid being seen as medieval, irresponsible, pushing superstitious fixes for conventional ailments that should be treated by doctors and not priests. The church saw itself as being compatible with the world of science, not opposed to it.
Okay.
And Father John felt that Julia, with her dyed black hair and black makeup and piercings and overall goth appearance, fascination with the devil, was likely not afflicted by anything spiritual, but that she was likely suffering from a psychological affliction or from something related to drug abuse. Maybe she just liked the attention she got from making a claim of possession. That's where you come in, Father John said. He explained that he wanted Dr. Richard Gallagher to evaluate Julia. If Richard could give her a psychiatric diagnosis, then he wouldn't pursue performing the exorcism. He also told Richard that if he did agree to take her case, to be very careful. If there was something evil lurking inside Julia, it might and likely would do everything in its power to trick Richard. He also warned that Julia might have memorized a list of symptoms of possession and would try to trick Richard into approving the exorcism just so she could indulge whatever dark curiosity she had in the occult. He had to watch her very, very carefully. Over the phone, Father John couldn't see Richard smirk and roll his eyes. What's more, said Father John, out of the many thousands of consultations I've done, only about 100 were actually possessed. Many more than that, however, have suffered from oppression, which are physical attacks and harassment from the devil as opposed to taking actual possession of a body.
What?
We must try to get to the bottom of this. Yes, there's possession and oppression.
I did not know this.
What you're saying, it defies scientific reality, said Richard. He explained to Father John as respectfully as he could that he didn't believe in the possibility of a demonic possession or demonic oppression or harassment. He didn't believe in demons, the devil, none of it. Now it was Father John who smirked and rolled his eyes. He asked Richard to humor him. We strongly believe that we are not dealing here with purely material reality, but with the spiritual realm. One cannot force these creatures to undergo lab studies or submit to scientific manipulation. They will also hardly allow themselves to be easily recorded by video equipment, as skeptics sometimes demand. Richard explained that if he were to meet with this girl, he would not be looking for any supernatural origins to explain her behavior or mental state, and Father John seemed pleased by this. Well, he said if we thought you were easily fooled, we would hardly have wanted you to assist us. Richard reluctantly agreed to help. It sounded to him like this Julia, whoever she was seriously suffering from something. Richard always thought that if requested to help a tortured person, a physician should not refuse to get involved for any reason. Those who dismissed cases such as hers prevented patients from receiving the help they desperately needed. For any person of science or faith, it should be impossible to turn one's back on a tormented soul. Father John made an appointment in Julia's name, and then as soon as the priest hung up, Richard's skin began to crawl. What had he gotten himself into? The next day, while he waited for his appointment with Julia, he felt butterflies in his stomach. He was spooked, and then he was mad at himself for feeling spooked. He laughed out loud in his office. Did he feel a bit afraid? Mm-hmm. Of what? At 3 o'clock, he heard the receptionist outside say, "Name, please." "Julia," someone replied. "Just, Julia." When she entered, Richard thought she looked like someone he might wait in line behind at a local coffee shop. The kind of place with great beans and poor customer service. The kind of place that was proud not to offer Wi-Fi. A place where you could be sure to hear bands like Neutral Milk Hotel and Belle and Sebastian and never hear any top 40. Julie was in her mid-30s with jagged, shoulder-length black hair, plenty of ink and piercings. She looked like she could work at a record shop, maybe a tattoo parlor. They exchanged pleasantries, and Dr. Gallagher could tell immediately she was intelligent and didn't come across as someone desperate for attention. Like someone who wanted people to think that she was demonically possessed because it was cool. She was independent, she wasn't married, had supported herself since college. She didn't seem at
Yeah,
all
I could see it for a middle band.
ask the
Just a
church for help.
putty,
She was engaging
tone deaf.
and lucid, didn't see any initial obvious signs of drug abuse.
Just redeemed a spooky
why
OC
Richard heard
pick
himself
from
asking,
Simon.
"Did you
Will
go to
be
Father
fun
John
to
for
see the
help?"
difference, lol.
Julia bit her lip.
Oh, God.
"I was raised Catholic," she said.
Oh,
When I was a teenage
God.
guy, pretty rebellious. I wanted to give my parents a big fuck you. So I
Oh,
started getting
that's
involved with
the...
these
I think
groups.
I'm doing
At first
good
it was
on
just
this
teens
one.
messing
I think
around,
I gotta
but
move
then
these
some of them
two.
got really serious
I gotta
about it. It
move
got to be
these
like a
two
cult.
because
We
they're
didn't see anyone else.
they're
We
most
only
definitely.
worshipped him.
I'm sorry, guys. You're going to a
Who?
new
Richard
layer.
asked.
That
Julia's
doesn't
eyes
mean you're
seemed to brighten as
gone.
She said, "Satan."
Just means for now.
Richard, unfazed by this admission, continued, "So you were in a satanic cult?" "More than one," she said.
For now.
When one died down, I would find someone else who would worship with me. We would sacrifice animals,
Oh my god.
burn effigies. Sometimes we drank blood and ate raw meat.
Fuck.
And we prayed to him a lot, that he would use us to accomplish whatever he wanted to fight against the church. She fixed Richard with an even stare, and then...
For
got
now.
out of control.
Because I wouldn't
What do you mean out
mind
of control?
doing more
I mean,
creepy
I truly believe in the power of
pictures.
Satan, but I also believe
I wouldn't
in
mind.
myself as an
I wouldn't
individual.
mind just
When I
because
started feeling
it's so
not
different
like myself,
from a usual
I would be
fare.
doing one thing,
It's just
and then
so
come 2 hours later,
radically
alone in a
different
field or
from my
somewhere, naked and
usual
bruised, with my feet bleeding, as
stuff.
though I'd walked miles.
You're cool, but
That was
you
at the beginning. I lost
just
more time.
you
I
just
think I
not this
remember
one.
A couple hours of every day now.
yeah, they're cool.
Richard stopped scribbling his notes.
They're
"You
cool,
only
but just
remember
not
a
this
few
one."
hours every day?" She nodded.
I'm
He
sorry.
breathed a
I'm
huge sigh of relief.
feeling it.
This sounded like a straightforward case of dissociative identity disorder. A couple more sessions, and he could give her a diagnosis. He smiled at her. They talked for a while longer about her past. In the last few minutes of their session, Richard walked over to his desk to put away his notepad. And then when he turned around,
It's okay.
Julia was different. Her back was rigid, her shoulders hunched, and she was twitching like a dog with rabies. "Stupid fucking priest," she growled in a low, guttural voice. "Leave her alone, she's ours."
Oh my god.
"Julia?" Richard asked tentatively. Julia convulsed, sliding down in her seat, her eyes darting across the room. Her hands were like claws gripping her skirt. After a few brief moments, she shut her eyes, and when she opened them, it was the same mild, detached stare that Richard had seen for most of their session. When she spoke again, her voice was normal. "What?" she asked him. And then she looked at her watch. "Oh shit, I'm late. Bye." And just like that, she left the office. Richard stared down at his notes. That voice he heard, how could it have come from a small human woman? Over his next few sessions with Julia, he heard the voice again. It was like Julia would slip
Dr.
out of her
Cherry
body and something
Pep.
else would take her place.
Sorry I didn't join
The voice would bark
earlier.
at
I
Richard.
used the wrong Wi-Fi, so no notification. It's okay. Welcome.
Richard
I'm
agreed that
sorry.
something strange was
It's
going on.
okay.
He seemed dissociative
It's okay,
identity before,
Dr. Cherry
or
Pep.
disorder before,
It's
but
okay.
this was different.
Hello, I had a dream you guys was mad at me, so hopefully that wasn't real and I forgot. No, by the way, I finished this pic. I finished this right here. Look at it. Look how good it is. I'll post it later. It's too big. It's too big right now for Discord. I'll post it on Discord, Instagram, and Twitter later. But I finished it. I feel good about it, and I'm working on this for a spooky month for a spooky lady.
One by one, each person clicked in. Hi, Sister Mary, Dr. Simmons here, and so on. And then right when Dr. Gallagher began to discuss Julia's case,
I'm doing this for the spooky lady.
Voice, leave her alone.
You
She's
know her
ours.
name.
What?
Richard almost dropped his phone and then asked, "Did you hear that?" "Yes," said Father John. "Everyone else also heard it." "Did anyone add her to the call?" Richard asked. Before anyone could respond, the voice said, "Idiot, leave her alone. I'm warning you for the last fucking time."
Oh
Then
my God.
every single line went dead. The group jumped back into the conference line, and Julia shut it down again. When Father John began to speak, she screamed, "Leave the girl alone!" And the line went dead once more.
Oh, I don't like this.
How was this possible? They all heard her voice, but no one heard her chime in. Was Father John setting him up, he wondered? Was one of the nuns actually Julia? Richard was feeling paranoid. If they weren't setting him up, then something unable to be explained by science was going on, and he did not want to accept that. He badly wanted anything other than a supernatural explanation, but that was getting harder and harder to find. In subsequent sessions with Julia, things would start out normal. They would talk a little, like she was going to ordinary therapy, but then she would often slip into a trance and shout at him in that strange, deep and guttural voice. And even more disturbing to him, when she wasn't in trances, Julia seemed to know things she just couldn't have known. She knew how many children Richard's secretary had.
We could never be mad at you,
She
Doctor.
knew that one of her children was
You're
sick.
fine. Hell yeah,
Some
that's
information about
amazing.
people
Oh,
she'd
thank
never
you.
met. She knew the family history of one of the
Yeah,
nuns that Father John had
this is
contacted. One day,
this is
Julia
somebody's
described not only
fucking
the actual
paralysis
surroundings,
demon.
including
That's
the decor
for
of his room,
fuck
but the
sure.
exact state of mind, which was
Jesus
skeptical and
Christ.
dismissive of a priest that Father John had contacted, one whom neither Julia nor Richard had ever met.
I didn't think I'd
Also
ever
consistently
draw
depict from
something
hundreds of miles away with amazing detail
like
the
this.
activity of one of the principal priests involved. She would repeatedly report from her distant vantage whether and when he was in pain because he suffered from a chronic illness, where he was, and remarkably, even what he was wearing at the time. A blue windbreaker, she would say. He's on the beach, he's feeling good.
What?
And then one day she fixated on Richard with a soft, sympathetic look. She said, "Sorry about your mom. Ovarian cancer is a rough way to go." How did Julia know this, Richard wondered. It made no sense. There was no way. He hadn't talked about how his mom had died to Father John or Julia or anyone else he assumed she could have met. Still skeptical, Richard wanted to find out if someone was feeding Julia information. And then she told him something he had told no one. The night before a session, his cats had been running around all night, meowing, growling, hissing, darting through the rooms of his townhouse, waking him up. It was like something only they could see was constantly spooking them.
I don't like that.
The next day in a session, Julia flashed him a sinister smile and asked, "Dr. Gallagher, how did you like the cats last night?"
Oh my God.
How could she possibly know that?
Get the fuck out of here.
Richard decided to conduct another little experiment that day to convince himself, one way or the other, as to whether something supernatural was going on. After Julia fell into her trance and began to moan in a deep guttural voice, he threw water on her, water he'd been telling her was holy water. It wasn't, and she made no negative reaction to it. She laughed. Then, when she didn't seem to be looking at him, he secretly splashed a small amount of water on her that had been blessed by Father John. She immediately went berserk. Her eyes
Can't
rolled back in her
say
head.
this
She
was
started
the
clawing
direction
herself
I
on the
thought it
floor.
would
She
go
shouted,
in
"Stupid
yesterday."
doctor, don't do that."
Yeah, no,
Richard then brought out
I
a
was
small
like,
cross and
how
showed it to
spooky do
Julia.
you
"Is this
want
what you're
it?
fighting against?"
And
"Shut up," the voice growled.
I
"Fuck
just
you."
think that this
In that
is
moment, a vase fell off the
way
shelf on the opposite side of his
spookier.
office, smashed on the floor,
I just
followed by several heavy
think
books
it's
seeming to throw
neat.
themselves off the shelves.
I just think
Even
it's
more strange,
neat,
some of the
you
pages
know?
of the book seemed singed, and there was a smell of smoke and
I
burning in
didn't
the
think
air.
it would go this
Following
way
the end of his
either,
therapy
but
session,
I
that'll
like
be the
it.
last one. Richard called Father John.
I don't know
"In my
if
medical
you
opinion," he
like
said,
it, but
barely believing the words coming out of his mouth, "this woman needs an exorcism." the skeptic, the Ivy League doctor, had finally been convinced dissociative identity disorder did not cover books flying off shelves and the ability to decipher water from holy water. Not only did he actually recommend an exorcism, he wanted to be there for it. The exorcism of Julie began on a warm day in June.
Oh dear.
Despite the weather, the room where the rite was being conducted deep in an underground room of a nearby cathedral, very, very cold. As soon as she walked into the room, Julia fell into a quiet, trance-like state. It was as if she had vacated her body. The thing inside her hadn't woken up yet.
I'm totally in love with it. I want it as a poster. Oh yeah. I'll give you it as high res as I can. That's the big. I'll promise you that.
Father of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Could probably get it as a poster.
That recalcitrant and apostate tyrant to the fires of hell. You who sent your only son into this world in order that he might crush this roaring lion. Look speedily and snatch from damnation and from this devil of our times, this woman who was created in your image and likeness. Throw your terror, Lord, over the beast who is destroying what belongs to you. Give faith to your servants against this most evil serpent, to fight most bravely. Let your powerful strength force the serpent to let go of your servants, so that it no longer possesses her, whom you deign to make in your image, and to redeem by your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit as God forever and ever. As soon as he spoke, Julia started to writhe, her body twisting and straining against the ropes tying her down. She made animal-like noises, growling deep in her throat. Her pupils narrowed to slits. "Unclean spirits," this priest commanded. By the mysteries of the incarnation, the suffering and death, the resurrection and the ascension of our Lord Jesus Christ, by the sending of the Holy Spirit, and by the coming of our Lord into last judgment, I command you, tell me with some sign your name, the day, the hour of your damnation.
I feel like this is what, isn't the Nephilim like some kind of like angel creature?
Despite this prayer, damage would be done. With a flick of her wrist, Julia slammed a 200-pound priest into a nearby wall. There was an audible crack, and the priest slumped over unconscious.
Oh my God.
This image would haunt Richard. Nothing in the scientific world covered anything like that. While a few people ran over to the priest to get him out of there into a hospital, the voice spoke. "Stop, you whores," it said to the nuns who were bent over the priest. "Stop, you sluts will be sorry." Then the voices spoke in Latin, Spanish, and French. They cursed and ranted for hours, but Julia never seemed to grow hoarse or need water or tire. The room, which had been so cold, began to go hot and smell like garbage left in the sun, like sulfur. The heat and the stink soon became unbearable. As Julia screamed and screamed, her body rose until she was
half angel, half demon. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Nephilim is what it's called on Wikipedia. You can look. A lot of them are just. So this is the original picture, by the way. This is Haven's OC. This is Haven's OC. She said to make it spooky. And she is a spooky lady. So, yeah. I didn't stop.
And then, after they finished the first exorcism, Julia's eyes
I just kept going. And she didn't tell me no.
She remembered anything. No. She shook her head.
Oh my God.
I don't remember anything. Julia would go on to have 8 exorcisms.
And then the artist created it. It was awful. And I did not hate it.
The exorcisms were not working. When Richard, frustrated, asked Father John why it wasn't working, Father John replied,
"Oh, I love it. It's so cute. What happened? Do they get the...
Other times it can take years.
Did they get the ears?
On the willingness of the victim to help themselves. The exorcism makes the demonic hold on the person weaker.
You got this face up here.
The outcome greatly.
I was like, you know what? She needs a neck. Gave her a neck, and then she's holding, she's holding a little cute heart.
Let it go and return to a normal life. Crazy, but it
so I made it where her little pajamas ripped open and showed the inside.
Both sides, Father John said. Still possessed, Julia abruptly quit after the 8th session. And then a year after Julia had dropped out, she called Dr. Gallagher out of the blue, asked him to convince Father John to resume the exorcism rituals again. "I'm dying," she said. Richard, of course, made an appointment for her to meet up with he and Father John, but then she never showed.
Oh no.
And he never heard from her again. And now Richard wonders if Julia is still out there somewhere, still possessed, Has the demon finally killed her?
Oh my god.
Or does she still live with it inside of her? And which fate is worse?
No resolution?
Nope.
Oh god, I hate this so much.
That story really got you.
I did not care for any of that. I forgot that I didn't have my amulet on or my sage necklace. I had to grab it.
I was worried about you losing your shit in that story.
I felt like I was gonna cry.
I know, I was worried about that. I could sense it.
Oh, why?
Okay, couple real. Okay, first, this is Dr. Gallagher. There's like, on the web, there's pictures that are like JPEGs, and then there's like these web images that you can't show on the slideshow.
It's
and
a
there was, like, more
tiny
professional
cute
ones.
heart.
Whatever. You know,
Hell yeah, I love it. It's a tiny cute
so
heart.
that was best
What
picture.
up, Dr.
It's a
G?
tiny cute heart.
highly
It's just,
educated dude.
it's really
This next picture
adorable.
is Julia.
It just,
Best picture I could find of her.
the wings are gonna be
That is Winona
radical
Ryder
as
in
shit.
Beetlejuice.
They're gonna be so radical.
Picture. She was anonymous. Julia.
I was like, what?
But right, that's kind of who I was picturing.
So it's like she has, she still has her
I guess,
pajamas
Yeah.
on.
One of the best movies ever, by the way.
Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice.
Why would you do that?
I would love Little Beetlejuice
Happy
right now. He was funny.
birthday.
Little Michael Keaton Beetlejuice, come
Happy
on.
You're such a
birthday.
fucking idiot. You can't do that.
Have you had
The
an
movie.
artist make you
Okay.
a spooky
So this is next image.
piece?
This is just this one comes up with it. I think it's a stock
That's a
image of possession,
question.
so it might be from a
Have
movie.
you
It just comes
had
up with a story.
an artist
Fine,
make
whatever.
you
And
a
then last
spooky
one, yeah,
piece?
no crazy. This is Father Gary Thomas, and this is just a priest who works with Dr. Gallagher. When I talked
Okay.
at the beginning about the Catholic Church, having more active exorcists.
Was that the Indiana guy?
Spook piece.
No, but this
Like
is,
this.
Well, actually, I don't remember where
Where
he's
you're
from. No, but I
like,
think he's
yeah,
California-based,
spook
but
me
he's one
up.
of the most known U.S.
I'm just-
exorcists right now, and actually, I
Can
never
we
saw it.
interview him?
Maybe he might. Yeah, he's that movie, The Right. It's a 2011.
Just enjoying
exorcism. It was
myself over
Anthony
here.
Hopkins.
Oh, yes, I saw
I didn't
that.
see that, but that's who it's based on.
Yes.
Anthony Hopkins' character is based on this guy.
Nope. Well, you know I can't watch scary movies anymore. Like,
Right.
this podcast has single-handedly
Yeah.
ruined my ability to watch any scary movie.
If you were like, hey, could you spook me up for this?
I've been craving
Just asked if you
Netflix
were,
haunted. It's
doing a
called the one with all the true, those are true stories. It freaks me out. I like getting back into the mood of it. I've been getting more back into being, embracing my creativity.
I was going to tell you to
Yes.
go live somewhere else, but I don't want to be alone.
Yes, very cute. In fact, I would say it's cuter.
Headphones or something so you can't hear it.
I'm gonna say it's cuter.
What are you talking about?
Don't bring that
I'm
shit
gonna
in my
say it's
house.
cuter.
Okay.
Bro.
I'll watch it. I
I'm
do
gonna
wanna
say
hear it.
it's
Bro.
even
Bro.
cuter.
Bro.
I would say I took a lot of inspiration
But
from
maybe she did want it.
from
Because
Simon's
she never
Never thought of
work.
that angle before.
Well, she never said, I mean, to our knowledge, she never said that, like, she regretted joining those satanic cults. She never said that she left them. She just said it got more and more out of control, that it went, like, to another level. But
Right.
she didn't necessarily, again, based on what we know, she
Yeah.
never said she was objective to that. Right? Unless I missed it. Unless I was so scared. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she wanted. It sounded like from what we got from the story that she didn't like how far it had gone, and was like worried about losing herself. She didn't like in this kind of whatever this thing is taking over her.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
the
think it's an interesting,
cutest version.
Perspective on this or argument that maybe some people don't really want it to go away. Like part of them does,
Oh
part of
my
them freak out,
God.
but another part of
Oh
them
my
might like
God.
the attention. Another part of them might like the power they feel. It's like they can see things they couldn't normally see. Me,
I think you would like it if you were possessed.
Oh my
if it
god.
was the right demon, if you like.
I don't know what to do with the rest of the legs because I feel like
some kind of deal.
No, I
Where I
think
get
that
certain powers.
I think that you would like it. I do. I think that you would be like, okay, this shit is real.
If I could shoot fireballs out of my hands at people,
I'm not
my
sure.
enemies,
I can't
It's
think of
never been
anything.
reported.
I
I'm
know, but
gonna
going
get
fancy
some
work.
more
If-
work in
like,
progress
I'm
cream.
Seriously, you don't.
Uh,
No,
BRB.
seriously.
I am. If I can
Not a
incinerate
problem,
somebody,
doctor.
It's
Why
not.
can't that be my power?
Because
Get
that's
more of
just
that
something-
work
that's not something
work
you
in
wear.
progress
Why would I?
cream.
You don't get power.
Then that sucks. Why would I want to be possessed then?
Because I think that you would like the attention.
I wouldn't like the attention.
You would love it. You're an
Talking
attention whore.
I'm not. I'm a left alone. Leave me alone whore.
I know, me too. It's sort of a problem. that really. I didn't like that
yeah.
little demon voice you were doing.
The little
Why
pajamas.
got me?
I know.
Why would you do that to me?
This is a scary show. It's
That
supposed to be scary.
weird
I was
like
worried about. That was the first time.
pajama
I was like,
kinda
oh, man,
thing.
it's a Snap.
yeah.
I didn't look at you as much that show because I was like, oh, she's gonna start crying. I feel bad.
I was legitimately crying last night. I couldn't sleep.
No, I don't know what.
You don't know that I was crying last night because you
fell
went to
asleep.
sleep.
I know.
We should call it
awesome.
now.
Because,
Work
okay,
in
so last
progress.
night, I said to you, I was like, babe, and I wasn't even being dramatic. I said like, I don't know what it is. I'm just having a really hard time sleeping, and it really could just be like we are clearly all in a very stressful
little boy.
environment, and even though we're not personally affected in the sense that like our families are healthy, our children are healthy, like yeah, we lost. You lost your job temporarily, but like that. We're dealing, right? Just like
I don't know. I just want to make sure
like
that
all
it
somewhat
looks
manageable things.
right.
I don't know if that is like
You know what I
subconsciously
mean?
weighing on me.
Like I
don't
can't.
know.
I have
I don't know
nothing
what's going
for
on, but
the legs.
I was nicer. See, my defense.
Kind of.
No, hold on. You put me like in a no-win situation where I'm like, you're freaked out, and I'm trying to tell. I'm like, you're gonna be fine. I'm like, nothing's happened to you ever in your life. In that situation, the odds are this gonna happen now are very low.
And then what did you do?
And you kept saying no, because you kept saying you don't know.
Let me turn off the
And so
light
what can I
for
say to that?
Bun
And I'm
Bun
like,
because
well,
he is
I don't know what to tell you.
he is
You
trying
fell
to
asleep.
No,
sleep.
you decided to start making jokes.
What I do? I don't remember the joke I made.
Oh, okay. See,
But I can't comfort you if you're like, well, you don't
Yes,
know,
you can.
then
Yes,
there's
you
nothing
can.
I can say.
Yes, you can. You could hold me and say
There you
like,
go.
baby, it's okay. I'm here. If something happens, if you get freaked out, it's okay. You can wake me up. Like,
You would have said last night, you're like, you couldn't stop it.
so that's not the point. You have to keep being reassuring,
Okay.
and you have to tell me that it's going to be okay, and that you're there, and that you'll
So it's a
protect
match
me,
made in
and if I wake up
Heven?
in the middle of the night, because I've been having terrible dreams. Remember the last couple nights I've been like, God, I'm having the weirdest dreams. And that I used to have such vivid dreams when we first
It's a
started
match
dating. They
made
all
in
involved me being
Heven.
a very terrible human being.
Of course.
I'm sure that was just like relationship insecurity kind of stuff. But yeah, but you like last night you could have just said, yeah, like, well, if something wakes you up, just let me know. It'll be okay. Because under these circumstances, you could go back to sleep. It's not like those annoying times when you have to get up at 4 in the morning to catch a flight to go do stand up somewhere. I could wake you up, but you didn't offer that.
No, you wake me up.
Oh, now I pressured you to. But you were making jokes that I had 2 doodles and the doodles will protect me.
Exactly, the dog will protect you. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I talked
It's
about.
not funny.
It is funny.
It's not
I
funny.
talked about how they're a new breed, and scientists haven't, and paranormal people haven't studied them. And for all we know, Australian Labradoodles are the key to stopping.
Oh my
insane
God,
stuff.
Simon is looking so cute with little hearts and eyes and such. He says, I have to
that's their
share
main quality.
yours
People out
when
there are
it's
just, like, super
done.
cute.
Thank you.
No, they're fucking-
My
they're
traumatized
chosen warriors.
Discord
Oh,
in
now
my
they've got
news.
chosen warriors.
Yes, of course they are.
Oh my God.
Well,
I don't think
anyways,
the
if there's, like, a
Discord's
big,
fucking
powerful man
ready.
who wants to snuggle
I don't
me
think
and
the
tell me that I
Discord
can
is
come up and
fucking
go,
ready for
There's
this.
a job position available for you.
Oh man.
Don't lie.
invited someone else to
Don't
our
lie on
Sweet.
my
Well, if that
account.
person comes over, I want
Definitely
them to bring,
fucking lie on my
some
account.
sexy lady who's just like doesn't get fucking bothered by this stuff.
Fine. Deal.
Oh
Bring it
yeah,
over.
get that
Sleep upstairs.
real
I'm
ink
keeping her
block feel
We're not
to
even
it.
asleep.
Good for you.
All right, tell your story.
High five, bro.
Hey, bro. Fist bump, bro. Okay.
Well, I was really scared, and now I'm just. We can recap a little
Yeah.
bit more on that, but it just. That felt very, very real. And the fact that it was unresolved. No, but you said at the beginning that it's a very famous haunting. Is there like a
relatively.
movie? Is there a movie based
just
on
a lot of
it, or-
articles. Just I
Okay.
mean, it got a lot of press because of the guy's academic prestige.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you remember earlier in one of your stories there was like a tapping at the door, the black-eyed children? And there was like an animal involved. I've got more of that for you.
The cat. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Do you want your squishy?
Got my squishy.
Do you want to cross?
Boom. Nope.
It's really comfortable to
I
hold
like.
on to.
I like this guy.
Okay, well, for this story, we are headed to rural Kentucky. I hate how so many stories take place out in the middle of nowhere. Just really, because we kind of live in the middle of nowhere. Anyways,
You know that Kentucky used to be called Devil Tucky for a long time.
I did.
No.
I thought it was. I believed you. So really
I
convincing.
know. I really sold that.
You're a hilarious Dan Cummins.
You know
Are
what?
you ready?
No,
Okay.
I don't like
Leanne,
it.
Lindsay, Reverend Dr. Joe, and
I
PNGtuber.
will-
That's our dog, for those who don't know.
I will do the
And rest of
wings
gang.
and then I will
When
work
heard
on
you
the
give out
background.
The email and the opportunity to send in stories,
Itty bitty
I
tiny
just
legs
knew under
is
absolute circumstances I had
totally
to share
fucking
my
fine.
story with you
I
too,
think that
and the creeps and
works.
peeps. So
But
with no
let's
further
see.
ado, let's get into it. I was 18 when this started. My father had just passed away, and life was not all roses and sunshine. Rather, it was mostly overcast and crabgrass. A month had gone by since the passing of my dad. I was asleep one night in the early hours of the day, and I awoke in a cold sweat. panting for breath, scared, and confused. I was in my bedroom that I had spent my entire life in, but when I opened my eyes that morning at 3 a.m., I had a feeling that I just couldn't shake. Eventually, my yellow lab, Dixie, kissed me out of my confused state, and I was starting to come back into reality. Everything around me became familiar again, but one thing was certain: I was not going to fall back asleep. I was clueless as to why I was in such a state. I laid there, flipping through the channels, and then it all started coming back to me, piece by piece. I've always had vivid dreams, to the point where I constantly have to ask, did that truly happen?
Skinny looks make it look more spooky. Yeah.
Many times prior.
I think we should definitely traumatize the Discord.
Back together,
Oh
like a
yeah.
broken dish played in reverse. The image of an old
Well,
man
Dr.
stuck out
Cherry,
my head.
I
Little
would
by little,
feel
other
like
details
my
became
Discord
more and more
is
clear.
way more
I
accepting
saw
of this.
a set of eyeballs looking at me
Simon's
through a window
is
as I slept.
really
I heard a thud
not.
of something metal crashing onto the wooden deck that was directly below my window, and as one would assume, those terrifying images became present in my mind, and
I would
shut
say,
my eyes
like,
and did my best to forget them. However, against
Simon's
my best
is
attempts,
accepting
the
of
next few
this.
nights all started and ended
I
the
have
same.
never
No matter
seen
how
it
hard I tried,
on
I would wake
his
up in the
Discord.
same state around the same time 4 nights in a row. Each night I laid there, the dream kept replaying over and over in my mind. The creaks and groans of my old, empty house grew louder, and it seemed as if they were happening more and more and causing my dog and myself to freak out. On the 5th night is when things took a turn for the worse. I refused to go to sleep this night. I told myself that with the power of 3 pots of coffee loaded with sugar, I was staying awake and breaking this cycle. No matter how hard I tried or how much sugar with a splash of Joe I poured down my gullet, I fell asleep only to, yep, you guessed it, wake up around 3 a.m., out of breath and confused of my location. But this time, my dog wasn't in my bed with me, and my window was open.
Simon's
about
is more
half
like
an
my
inch,
original.
and
Yeah,
the
he
blinds
might
were
just
pushed
be
up at the
HDifying
bottom, all going in
her
different directions
original.
than the rest of the blinds.
But Simon is so
Dixie, I yelled
wholesome.
over and over
That's what
to
I'm
my dog
saying.
as I was frozen in fear.
There should
I
be a
didn't
creepy
want- I
drawing
did not want
contest
to
or
get out of bed. It was
for
December in
Haven's
Kentucky,
character.
and it was cold as
Ooh.
balls, as well as a
Ooh,
big
that
dump
would
of
be a
snow
really
had hit us
nice
throughout
one.
that day and
That
that
would
night.
be really
When she didn't
fun.
come to my calls at
Getting
3
people
I made
to
myself get up. I turned the corner from the hallway and saw her standing in front of our big picture windows
make
that went from
spooky
ceiling
versions
to
of each
floor
one.
in front of our house.
Of
She was
like
standing there
Haven's
making a
character
low,
or something
grumbling
like
noise.
that.
Her hair was
Spookify
razored
a
up along
character.
her spine,
Ah,
and her
that would
front
be a
paw
good
was lifted off the
contest,
ground and
like-
pointed towards the window. I froze in my tracks and
And all
called her
that.
once again, but it was as if she didn't hear me at all.
I don't know what the
and that was
prize
not her
would be
character in
though.
the
That's the
slightest bit.
thing.
Again, I called her name, Dixie.
I don't know what the
Dixie.
prize
This time,
for
I raised
this
my tone nearly
like
to a screaming,
spook
and she turned
contest would
around
be.
and looked at me,
And I know
as she did, there was one single
I would
tap
want them to
on the
enter.
window.
I would,
Just one.
but they're
She
just
sent her
too
into
damn
hysterics
good.
As she went forward towards the window,
Simon
pulling the
is
drapes
making
down
mine
with her.
cuter and
Standing
not
there
very
in front
spooky.
of my window was an
Not
old,
spooky at
pale
all.
man, pale as a hospital gown,
Oh my
almost glowing.
god.
Mind you, there was no porch light on my house.
Oh,
As
I
in
gotta
rural
see,
Kentucky,
I'll see it
where
in a
the
minute.
closest neighbor is a
Like,
half a
oh,
mile-
that's so
is a
good.
mile and a half
It's so
away,
good.
And there was no reason that I should have been able to see every wrinkle on this old man's face. Get the fuck out of here, you stupid son of a bitch, I yelled, as Dixie was steadily barking and biting at the window, but he never acknowledged me. He just stood there with one finger on the window.
It's getting
looking down
cuter
at my
by
dog.
the second,
I ran
and
to my bedroom,
mine's
which is about
just.
6 running leaps away,
Hey,
grabbed my
paralysis
shotgun.
demon.
As I turned back
I didn't know
into the
I
front
had
room,
you.
I made sure that he saw
Oh,
the gun
no.
as I cocked the slide.
Nightmares?
He and I made
Oh
eye contact.
no.
It was the same glassy, yellowish, pale green eyes that I had seen in
I
my
don't
dream
even know
looking
where
through the
they'd
window.
find you.
Like an old
Like,
movie recurring, my dream was
what
playing
would
over
this
and
be
over in my
chasing
mind
you in?
As I slid the
That's
devil
the
back on
question.
front door,
What
turned
would
the lock,
this
and turned the doorknob and flung
horrible
the door
fucking
open,
creature
letting Dixie run out in front of me as I leveled the
chasing
shotgun
you in?
towards this man's face. He was gone.
Sadly, I don't
Dixie
do
was sniffing
contests.
around the
Lol,
snow on the
deadlines
porch
make me
where he was
panic.
standing, and the only thing
I think
there
you
were
stole
2
all
footprints in front of
spook.
the window into the front room,
I'm just
and
getting you
2
ready for the
footprints under
season.
my bedroom window.
I'm getting you
There were
ready
no
for the
prints leaving,
season.
and there was a good 2 inches
You know what
of
I mean?
snow on the deck. The weirdest thing is that it was if he had been standing there before the snow had started. because
I'm
there
getting
was
you so
nothing at the
ready for
bottom
the
of
season.
prints
People be
other than
like,
the
"Oh
wooden
man,
deck.
I
No
love
sunken shoe
Haven's
prints like mine,
new
not a trail to where he'd broken the snow
new
to step
picture.
there or
It's
anything.
real
He just
nice."
simply
Oh
was
no.
gone.
Oh
I still
dear
live in this
God.
house. You should get the fuck out. And I have
Haven's
never
got
had this
such a
happen
cute
again.
little. Oh dear
Dixie
God.
was never the same after that experience.
It would be
Sadly, I
hilarious
lost
if
her
you could
later that
actually
next summer.
code that,
She died
where people are like,
mysteriously
"Oh
at the
my
age of 3.
God, that's such a
She
cute
was
picture,"
healthy as
and
a
then
hog dog
if
one
they
day,
click
and
on
then
it,
the
it
next I
literally
came home and
loads
found
my
her there,
picture
in front of the window
underneath.
where that strange encounter had happened. Still to this day, I'll close my eyes and see his print
Forrest,
and those liver
your
side
tiny
eyes, and
house.
chills run through my soul every damn time. I hope you enjoyed this. I suppose I've lived it, so someone else
Yeah.
may as well get something out of it.
A tiny
Everyone I've
house
ever
being
told
chased
just looks at
in.
me like I'm some crazy person and says, "Oh, bless your heart, honey." And then I'd imagine they talk about me when they get home. To be clear, I don't drink or do drugs, so I know what I saw, and no one can take that away from me. Your biggest fan in Kentucky, Cody.
Wow, Cody. That one I was wondering, like, if it was the... I expected it to be the dad.
But clearly
But
not.
clearly not. Just because of that detail earlier in the story.
I thought that's where it was headed too, and as I started to read the story, I was like, oh, it's just going to be his dad. It's going to be this, like, maybe potentially sweet
Right.
story of his dad coming back and, like, maybe warning him about
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
But then
yeah.
as it went on, I was like, eek.
Yeah. God, yeah, that's the creepiest detail to me was the footsteps going all the way down to the ground.
Yes, that it must have snowed around him.
And in 2 different spots. Like 2 different windows.
I thought it was most creepy that the dog died in
In
the
that
same
spot.
spot where he saw that old man. Or whatever.
Weird stuff. All of these things. When you look at all these stories in their totality, just like, what the fuck could be going on?
I don't know. I mean, could it just be really lucid,
Just a
vivid
nice,
dreams,
sweet
and then
title
happenstance his
of
dog just died?
I got a
My mind goes to the
Halloween
craziest
version of
places
my
sometimes with all this,
OC.
and I'll think of, like, we're living in a Matrix.
Do one of
This is all
the
computer
swipe
simulation.
things
Is that
as a
because we've been watching
reveal.
Westworld
Oh my God,
into
yes.
2 parallel worlds.
Her warning:
I've thought
I
of the
don't
Matrix thing for a
drink
while. I
or
remember
do
when it started,
drugs,
but
so
that's
I
a theory
know
that's out
what
there,
I
and a lot
saw.
of people think about it.
You
And not
don't.
just like wackadoodle
You can
lunatics
be
like Neil deGrasse
schizophrenic
Tyson and Elon Musk.
like
I
me
mean,
and
there's a lot
still
Those guys
be
are
off
wacky.
drugs seeing
of
stuff.
speculation
Yes,
that
you
We're
can.
living in some post-humanistic
You most
Matrix
definitely
situation,
can.
like essentially like a VR video game.
And also
And then
stress
some
of
these things
losing
are
a
just, like, glitches
family
in the
member
game.
and stuff like
Well,
that.
I hope that whoever is
or
playing
people manipulating the
But
game.
the whole point of the
whoever's
podcast
playing
is that
and, like,
you're
I'm their
supposed to put
avatar,
leave the
don't ramp it up.
skepticism
I'm just leaving
by
right
the
here.
door.
Okay.
Like the whole point is like, yeah, it could be
Oh,
all
man.
this, it could be
Okay.
Are you ready
that.
for one more?
I am.
Very
Okay, now this
easily
story,
so.
at the end,
The
we're gonna
point
have
is
some
that
audio.
it's a
So we're gonna
spooky
listen to
tale.
it a
Enjoy
few
the
times
spooky
over 'cause it's a
tale.
short clip.
Don't be
Okay.
like,
And
oh,
you have to
it was
really pay
this,
attention.
it was that.
Okay, so it's a
all
short
good.
story.
We're
but,
just trying
the
to
clip is
enjoy
like
a
what did we
nice
Okay.
spooky tale.
Dan and Lindsay, I started
But
as a
yes,
fan
no,
of
I
Dan's
agree
comedy,
with you
eventually
on
finding
that
Ty's up, and was
sense
thrilled when you both started Scared to
of
Death.
just being like, oh,
It really
you know, it
makes
could have just
interesting as I'm
been
walking my dogs in the
schizophrenia,
dark
right?
At night.
Oh, I bet.
You are brave.
Or it could have been
Or-
a stress reliever or
Just
or
possibly.
stress
Anyway, I
induced
wanted to give
kind
you
of
some insight
thing.
into my story.
Yeah.
Like Dan,
Like,
I've always
I
been
totally
skeptical,
understand.
But several years ago, I had the fright of my life. I apologize ahead of time if the story is a bit long, and it's really not. At the time, my husband and I were living in the Denver area with our 2 kids, a girl who was 3 and a boy who was 1. Both kids shared a bedroom, and my husband was working late nights at a movie theater. Like most 3-year-olds, my daughter fought me constantly to go to bed at night. There were a lot of tears and crying until I think she eventually wore herself out and fell asleep. We've all been there.
Yeah.
She would scream and cry, but there was a monster.
Yeah, there
under
are a
her
couple.
bed, and I just
Sorry,
assumed that
lol,
this was
don't
something that all
let me
kids
ruin
dealt
it.
with.
Exactly. I'm
A year
glad
later,
someone
my
understands.
husband
Yeah.
and I moved to Colorado
No, I totally
Springs to
get
be
you.
closer to family.
Yeah, there are a couple.
My daughter continued talking
There are a
about the
couple.
monster under her bed to the point where she gave it a name, Top. She played with it in her room like an imaginary friend, spoke to it at night. My husband had also seen blurs of movement out of the corner of his eye from time to time.
Okay.
Other examples of something in the house would be that another time when I was cooking, I couldn't find the salt. It wasn't until dinner was done that I found the salt container in, of all places, the freezer. Cups were always turned upside down in the cabinet that were normally flipped right side up. Things like this happened quite a bit in this apartment. Also, during this time, my husband and I were fighting almost daily. Screaming matches and arguments about everything and yet nothing all at the same time. One night, my mom offered to watch the kids so that my husband and I could have a night together. We decided to have a few drinks and then watched Ghost Adventures on TV. Afterwards, I said, let's go see if we can find Top. We had a ghost box, which we used to walk around our small apartment. We also had an old video camera that we set up on a table in the kitchen, a room we never entered during our ghost hunt. And that matters, okay?
Okay.
To give you some perspective, the camera sat on the table in the kitchen, and we were never than 4 feet close
That
to the
is
camera.
awesome.
About an hour later, after finding the daily squash,
It is pretty
we decided
awesome
to
that
end
there
the
are a couple
hunt.
that
My
that
husband
wanted to
took the
do a
audio from the
podcast together.
The camcorder didn't record video; they only used it for audio.
He
and tried to
he
analyze
has
it on
another
the computer.
podcast that I
The
love.
audio I have attached
It's
to
called
this email
Time Suck,
has not been edited or
which
modified
ironically-
in any way. We are no AV experts in any way and wouldn't even know how to do that. In the audio, you can hear me say "cars?" and the clicking of the ghost box. After that is when the speaking starts. I'm not entirely sure what the audio says, but I do believe it ends with "help us, please." When I heard the audio, I freaked the fuck out.
I
felt
might have to
exposed
skip
and
the
scared
audio.
all at the same time. Was something
'Cause I
always
get-
in my house
I get
watching me?
really
And worse
spooked.
yet,
I get really spooked.
after they die.
Oh. And that's all I got for now. We're just gonna get right into it.
I am terrified for today's episode.
I get real
because
spooked.
Dan was already saying that this episode, he's like,
I just love this one story.
Yeah, well, I gotta tell you, my stories today, as you can imagine, 2 stories.
But I love
One,
couple
very long, and
I
freaky.
love
This
couple,
might be the scariest story
podcasts.
I've ever read in the
Ironically,
history of scary
I
stories
love-
ever.
I love
From
couples
fans
like
or
being,
movies. Like, I am
banter and
fucking
stuff like that. I
scared,
wish
Scared.
I'm excited.
Oh, I was
I'll
having
find her.
so many
I'll find her.
My mind was fucking with me a lot.
I gotta stop being
short,
like,
very
well,
sweet
I want her
PowerPoint.
now. It's like,
Okay.
I'll
I'm
find
excited.
her.
I like
I'll
your pitch
find,
there.
I'll
I'm not
find Miss
excited.
Right.
I have
I'll
2 stories as
find-
well. First
I'll
up is,
find the
a
other
classic.
half.
Who doesn't like a haunted castle tale with an interesting "this is why the ghost is mad and wants some blood" kind of origin story?
Okay, cool.
And then we go back to Japan. This is the one I'm very excited
No.
about for more creepy folklore, another creepy urban legend. I love the Teke story. This one is way creepier to me.
Great.
I love this story so much. The tale of the 8-foot tall woman.
No thanks.
That's okay. We
So,
understand. I
okay,
get
decent
scared all
amount
the
of setup for
time
this
and
first
still
tale. Oh,
watch
you get
scary
ready?
stuff.
so
Yeah.
you do that, and
I
just,
do
like,
get
as a
scared all
reminder,
the
I'm
time.
wearing my
I don't
old
want to hear
school
the audio.
unicorn socks.
I don't want to hear the audio because it's like
unicorn sounds
it
like?
gets me.
A cat, unicorn cat. Corn cat. Okay, so getting started with a classic haunted castle legend, old drafty castle with not only ghost sightings but a murderous origin story for those sightings. Wolfsegg Castle in Bavaria. If there was one reason above all others that stood out as to why most people believe that the ghost of someone comes back to haunt the living, I'd say it would have to be for revenge. Someone dies a violent, tragic death, bonus points for being murdered by someone close to them, and then their restless spirit comes back looking to torment those who either took their life or had something to do with their untimely death. And this is exactly what happened way back in 14th century Bavaria.
Yes.
Wolfsegg, Bavaria in Germany, little over 10 miles northwest
Look at
of
that
Regensburg.
color.
The 4th largest city in the German state of Bavaria with around 150,000 people. A beautiful little city, actually.
And then I'll get to the other side.
So pretty.
The demon side.
Back in the 13th, 14th centuries, in Bavaria and elsewhere in medieval Europe, your place was dictated by your property. This plays into today's story a little bit. The feudal system made the king the apex of a hierarchy of lords and vassals and landlords and tenants. The lord-vassal relationship was one of personal allegiance, and the king called upon the vassals for military service, various duties in return for landholding. The lords held their lands directly from the king, swore to assist him with the knights they had in their service. These knights rendered military assistance to the lords in return for land, but if the lords themselves got too powerful, the king would try to cut them down, fearing an insurrection. The king could accuse someone of treason or simply lock them up without an explanation. It was a time when nothing was guaranteed, when your position in life depended on a vast network of shifting alliances, and you always had to be one step ahead of your enemies to avoid imprisonment or death. Beginning around 1279, the Wolf of Schonleiten. There we go. Woo. Big German. Schonleiten. The Wolf of Schonleiten. I tried to put an extra syllable there. A branch of a Bavarian noble family.
Finally meets Mr. Rice. Show him the stream. Okay, I'm out. You're free.
Proved to neighboring lords that they
Be
were
right
not to be messed
back.
with.
That's okay,
Equal
Dr.
parts
Cherpep. That's
representative
all
of their
good.
nobility and their military
Oh
might.
my gosh.
The castle only grew as the
Fucking,
descendants of
they're
Schonleiten
like, oh,
increased in power and wealth
hey,
and expanded
Heven.
structure.
Oh my
The
god.
castle was altered or enlarged
Oh my
around
god.
1325,
You're into this?
again around 1419, and expanded several times in centuries since. It was never destroyed in over 700 years of
If
its
you can't
existence.
handle me at my spookiest.
In 1358, Ludwig, the Duke of Bavaria and Margrave of
You
Brandenburg,
can't,
gave the castle
if you
to
can't handle
sisters
me at my
Margarita and
spookiest, you
Catherine.
can't,
One of the two sisters
you
and her
shouldn't
husband sold
have
the
me at
castle
my
to
sweetest.
Ulrich von Leber, and this Ulrich lived in the castle with his new young wife, Clara von Helfestein.
It is so fun to watch you struggle with these names.
Oh my god, all these German names,
All of a sudden-
old-timey German names.
Marita, or whatever, became Hispanic all of a sudden, and then you were back
I
to
know.
German names.
I know, I don't know what's going on.
Okay, carry on.
I
I'm sorry.
got through 'em. I got through 'em.
I had to acknowledge it because I'm over here dying.
Coming into possession of this impressive castle was a very big deal for Ulrich. It was a sign that his power was growing. He was a lord, and now he had a castle. He had a small kingdom within a kingdom to defend and pass down to his heirs, and he did have heirs, two sons from a previous marriage whose mother had died. And I'm sure he hoped that maybe one day one of those sons
I'll find
or one of
Mrs.
their
Wright.
sons would rise up to be a king.
I don't know what her
Ulrich
name will
was
be though.
frequently away,
She might already
waging
have.
wars against
If I
neighboring
find
kingdoms to
her,
expand
she'll
and
most
defend his new
likely have
territory,
a
to grow
username
his might,
already.
to enrich his status and increase his power further, to give more to his sons.
You never know.
when he someday died,
Maybe
and to
I will
impress
introduce
his Clara.
her to the
While he was
stream.
away fighting, his young, beautiful
You
wife
never know.
Clara stayed behind
You
and
never
ran
know.
his castle. Clara was alone, unguarded, and she eventually grew fearful for her safety.
Oh boy.
So she hired a local man, Georg Moller, to guard her rooms at night.
Okay.
That's how they said his name is pronounced. The castle served as a lodging point for knights on their way to battle, and she worried that one of those knights or some bandit or whomever could rape her, or worse, back in the days when that was unfortunately much more common than it is now. And then after spending more and more time with this Georg fellow, and less time with her husband Ulrich, who was always away, Clara began to develop feelings for Georg. The professional relationship between Clara and Georg soon turned romantic, and her guardian became her lover.
Oh boy.
And this would make for very juicy local gossip. The affair was scandalous not only because Clara was married, but also because she was married to a powerful lord from a noble family. And Georg, while handy with the sword and a formidable man who also came from money, was just a local shop owner and not a lord. The affair continued for several months. Soon the two, who had truly fallen in love, grew careless. Georg began to often stay the night in Clara's wedding bed, and eventually, of course, Ulrich found out that Georg was sleeping with his wife.
Well, yeah, that's how that works.
That's how that works. And by the time he knew, so did nearly everyone else in his kingdom. Ulrich was enraged. How dare Clara do this to him?
It
He had fought to
or
improve their
it's
status.
all or
He had
nothing,
bought the two of them a
cutesy
castle,
and
and this
freaky.
was how she
And
repaid
when
him, by humiliating
that
him
time's
in front of
come,
everyone he
we
knew.
will
He felt
welcome
that she had
her
ruined
with
him. No
open
matter how successful he was in
arms.
battle, everyone would now know him as the man who couldn't control his wife.
Yes,
He
I would
felt he had to
appreciate
do
you
something
guys.
to save what was left of his honor.
When
He wanted to
I
kill
find
Georg,
Miss
Georg,
Wright,
despite not being noble,
I would
was
like it.
well-respected,
I would
did
like
come
her
from
to
a
be a
wealthy
part of
family,
the
and
streams.
Ulrich,
But
being
that's
noble, but
the
not actually
problem
being
is
a
that
king,
I would
couldn't just
want to make
openly
sure
kill him
that she's
without risking
Miss
being killed
Wright
himself.
and not,
Okay.
you
He considered
know,
hiring someone to kill him, but
some
Georg was a skilled swordsman,
some chick
and there was a
kind
lot
of
of risk
thing.
with this plan if he failed. If he hired men to kill Georg, and Georg ended up besting them and getting them to talk, they could confess that he had put them up to it. And then he could end up being put to death himself. Again, he couldn't just kill whomever he wanted with impunity. He was a lord, not a king. So Ulrich decided to kill his wife instead.
Oh, I didn't see that coming.
He hired two young farmers to kill Clara, men strong enough to do the job, poor enough to stay quiet about it if he gave them enough gold. After dismissing his wife's guards several evenings prior, he paid the men, gave them directions to his wife's bedroom. And as the men snuck into the room, Ulrich heard Clara's death screams ring out. The men had done their job. Over the following days, Ulrich played the role of the grieving husband. He wept for his dead wife. He pretended to search for her killers. Time now for the tale of the Wolf's Egg Castle's woman in white. A funeral was held, and as was custom in Central Europe at the time, Clara was dressed in her finest clothes, which were all white. She was wrapped in a white shroud and lowered into the ground. As the dirt covered her face, Ulrich savored what he thought would be the last glimpse of his cheating wife. He was glad that she was dead. But although her body would remain in the ground, she would see Ulrich again. In the days and weeks that followed, people started to see something moving around the castle. Sometimes they just see a white flash.
This looks
out of
like
the
an
corner of their
anime
eyes.
monster.
Other times,
This looks like a
particularly at
fucking
night,
anime
they would see the
monster.
figure of a
This
woman
is fucking
dressed all in white, walking just outside the
horrifying.
castle.
This is
The
terrifying.
woman always looked angry or annoyed, as though she had been locked out and was waiting for someone to let her back in. And, legend has it, whenever she appeared, death often followed. A few days after the White Lady first appeared,
I can't
Ulrich
keep
left
saying
for
that.
another military
It's not
campaign.
a full
His army would
descriptor.
later report that he was with them the entire time. Until just before they arrived back at his castle, something caught his eye and he rode out into the woods. It was assumed he saw a stag or some other creature and pursued it. Ulrich was fond of hunting, and that's what his men assumed he'd taken off to do. But then, he was never seen by anyone ever again.
What?
Did he see Clara? Did she lure him into the woods? Did she lure him to his death? Ulrich's sons, those sons he'd had with the wife he'd had before Clara, those all-important heirs, disappeared a few months after their father did.
I could see it in Res Evil or
Several
something.
people at the
Yeah.
castle reported seeing the White Lady
I
again,
could see it in
with a slight
Silent Hill.
smile on her face. And then a few days later, Ulrich's two sons vanished. Did the White Lady take them too? Was she so angry that she wanted to kill not only her former husband but also his young sons? The White Lady would continue to be seen after the disappearance of these boys, but less frequently. Sometimes a century or more would go in between sightings. Disappearances frequently followed the sightings. In 1960, the White Lady appeared to Mr. and Mrs. Pilmer, who lived in the castle as caretakers. Mrs. Pilmer recounted, "Suddenly a blurred white figure appeared in the branches of the nut tree. In my excitement, I fetched my husband out of bed. He could also observe all of this. Again and again, the light appeared in the courtyard, and then it disappeared behind the wall." Mr. and Mrs. Pilmer did not disappear after this sighting. Did someone else vanish instead? In 1968, Hans Holzer, a parapsychologist from New York, visited the castle with his medium, Edith Riedel from Vienna. She told him that the room where Claire was murdered had an evil
BBC
energy in
with
it. Standing in the
your
middle of that room, she
favorite
said, "A murder happened
monster.
here. I
Yeah.
see men in medieval clothing. Near the
The
window, a young woman is sitting.
sexiest
She hears
of
footsteps.
the
She begins
Silent
to
Hill
pace.
monsters.
She considers climbing
Pyramid
out of the
Head.
window, but is fearful of breaking her neck. She
Which
hears
is
the
so
lock
sad
turn and cowers
that
against the wall. The two men smell
that
of
Pyramid
earth and
Head
food.
was kind
One
of
rips her from the wall
the
and stabs her
start
in her chest.
of their downfall
Was this evil energy being sensed
as
coming
a
from
series.
Clara's murder, or from centuries
Like,
of Clara's
ironically
spectral
enough,
rage that followed?
that was kind
Recently,
of
investigators found some interesting remains that might belong
it was
to
too
one of the
good.
possible victims
It was
of
too
that rage in a
good.
cave near the
They
entrance
couldn't
of
top
Wolf's
what they
Castle.
did.
Below the entrance to the castle lies a deep stalactite cave that falls over 500 yards down into the earth. Called the Hole by locals, the cave descends slowly at first, then drops off sharply after just a couple of feet. For centuries, locals avoided this cave, believing it was cursed or haunted, or at least infested by some sort of terrible beast. Many claim to hear strange sounds at night, a type of crying or wailing coming from the cave's entrance. They couldn't figure out what kind of creature could make those sounds. It wasn't some animal they knew of, and it didn't sound entirely human either. Some theorized that the cave was being used as a bird or some sort of monstrous mythical beast. The cave's
Sorry
entrance
about
was
that.
thought to be far too steep for any animal to scale, and it was assumed that this particular entrance was just a vent, and that the actual, much more accessible entrance was elsewhere. But when a team of scientists recently sent down some cameras into this hole, they realized there was no other entrance. Instead of branching off into different tunnels, the cave just continued further downward into a pit that no human could possibly ever escape from. When the investigators explored the cave's bottom, they found the skull of a child. Is this the skull of one of Ulrich's sons? Did the White Lady lure him into this pit? Did she lure his brother and father into the pit as well? Will more skulls, possibly many more, soon also be discovered? Is this where the White Lady ultimately took her revenge? And since she still appears from time to time, is she still seeking more? Will someone else disappear the next time she appears?
Eek. I don't like when people disappear.
Yeah, when they just vanish?
Vanish. No explanation. Remember that kid?
Yeah, it's a shame when that happens. Yeah, when a good game series just
I've gotten a lot of emails
falls
about
off
him.
the map.
People who live in that area.
Yeah, no, I
So it just
hate
freaks me
that
out.
so
Like,
much.
have disappearances been happening for so long?
Oh yeah. I mean, that is
Don't say that. Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. They happen all the time. No big whoops.
I mean, I think it's so
Blur
I think it's so
this.
sad, but I think about when I was a kid.
Let's
I'm
blur
very old.
this just a
I'm
bit.
back in milk cartons.
I'm
You know, people say it's so
Yes.
sad, but it's like, you know, and on Time Suck on that podcast, I've done so many mysterious disappearance type episodes where it's assumed obviously that people were murdered.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is, a lot of times like remains are just never ever found, and we just don't know. Nobody knows for sure what happens to everybody.
Do you know what the saddest disappearance is to me?
What?
Carol Baskin's husband.
Oh my God, Tiger King.
Yeah, no, with blood red
geez. I saw her looking, I
wings.
was like, where's she going?
Where's she going? Where's she going? I do remember though the milk carton things, because then wasn't
Yeah.
there a movie or something called like the face on the milk carton? There was a book or a movie for sure. I am younger than you.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that it was a true story so much. It was just like that was such a thing.
Yeah.
I wonder why they stopped doing it. Did it freak kids out so much?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I never thought about that. Yeah, why did they stop? Because I mean,
I don't know.
I would think that people just like people were before. I mean, I get why you would do it in the first place because the milk is on the table. Everybody's. It reminds me almost of like the back of the shampoo bottle, when people would read shampoo bottles because they're
Yes, this is definitely a fallen
I guess this
fucking
was more
angel.
before people were
Yeah.
using their phones. You know what? That's why. I bet that's why. Because people would be like going. There was like a joke. I don't know. Tons of comics to talk about, but just like people in the bathroom going to the bathroom in the days before phones, they forgot to bring in a magazine and they ended up just reading the shampoo bottle.
I see.
Because there's nothing else to read.
I was trying to figure out when I was at the dinner table with the shampoo bottle on the table
Oh,
instead of
no.
milk. I was like, what?
But I bet that's why they got rid of them from the back of the milk cartons, because now
Probably.
people are not reading the milk carton or the cereal box because they're bored. They're looking at their phones.
And yet, in Canada and other places, they still put pictures of disgusting,
Oh, on cigarettes.
infested lungs
Yeah.
on cigarettes. So
Yeah.
I don't know if your theory is correct.
I think it is, but that's different. The cigarette is different than the because that's you just have to see it every time you're grabbing a cigarette. They just want you to see like a
Yeah, well, you
diseased lung.
would have to see. You still pour a glass of milk. Your phone doesn't miraculously do that for you.
Yeah, it does. Mine does. I don't know what kind of phone you got. My phone pours my milk. It rinses me off in the shower.
Nice. Nice. You got a good phone, man.
I do. I don't know what kind of janky ass flip phone you got.
Motorola.
Okay, I got a couple pictures before we move on to the next story.
I don't like the disappearances, but I think if she did it, I say good for her.
Were they kids? Come on.
Well, kids are always like a little, sorry about that.
The guy maybe.
But
not
he
the
deserved
kids.
it. Why did he have her killed? Why did he have to do that? I get it. He was upset. He was embarrassed.
Because back in the good old days, dudes could just, have their wives killed, and no one would even bat an eye. Back in the time when, I wish I lived in.
Really? Really?
Anyway. First one. This is Wolf's Egg's Castle.
I don't like
AKA
its name
bird,
also.
Wolf's Egg. I know, Wolf's Egg.
Wolf's egg?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Wolves don't even have eggs.
I know, I thought I wrote it down wrong. I kept having to double check, and I'm like, nope.
I kept thinking, I was like, did he fuck that up?
This is from an Airbnb thing to do. I mean, it is a cool little...
Wait, this is from you can
This
Airbnb
picture.
this?
No, but you can Airbnb near there, and then it was like things to do in the area. That's where
Oh
the
yeah,
picture comes from.
Airbnb experiences. Tell me about it. I had to cancel a bunch of them.
This next one is a picture of Reagan, nearby city. So pretty.
So pretty.
So that's the little landscape, and then this next one
Germany
is...
is so great.
Oh, I want to go
Have
so
you been
bad.
to Germany?
No.
One of my
I want
favorites.
to go so bad. And then this,
So good.
This next one is like the little near the downtown.
My manager
square.
just messaged me
cute.
saying
So
she's leaving
So
on
cute.
Sunday.
And
I
then one
won't.
more.
I don't return to work till Monday. Yeah.
And then this
Fuck
is,
her.
I tried finding the lady in white.
I mean, no,
I'm not sure if that's her,
no,
but she
don't.
popped up. That's like
I'm sorry.
I
I'm
Googled-
sorry.
Love
I
her
shouldn't.
pretty eyes.
Yeah.
I
Googled a Bavarian
shouldn't.
woman in a white dress. And
Yeah.
She just seemed like a nice
From
lady.
what you've told me,
She
she
seems
doesn't
She seems super
seem
friendly.
that interested in
seems
doing
very
a good
generous.
job.
She
So
You know, she seems like she gives a lot of things.
She gives.
it's okay.
She's a giver, not a taker.
You do.
Okay.
Okay.
you ready for the one I'm so excited for?
I know. I was like that whole time. I'm like, don't like this warm up because I know something else is coming after it.
Yeah. Ooh, I want to tell this right.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'll try to be really good about my reactions. I'll try and.
Okay. No, you.
And then let me fix this hand because this is annoying me.
Okay,
This is
Japanese urban
annoying me.
legend.
I
Not
must
much setup
fix
with
this
one.
hand.
We'll get into it pretty quickly. Gonna tell this one in the first person. I just want to say that, even though
Okay.
obviously this has not happened to me, I just like telling it that way for variety. I feel like it fits the story better. So pretend I'm someone else. You know, maybe someone who teases you less, way more into crystals, six-pack abs. But seriously, pretend I'm someone you don't know very well.
Okay. I will imagine that you are my hot six-pack ab hippie lover. Got it.
But also pretend that I'm someone who could be you, telling you a very creepy story. You're glad, it isn't your story.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
I guess.
Time now for the tale of the 8 feet tall woman.
Oh, yeah.
As a child, I only saw my grandparents during the summer. They lived in a different country, and every year my parents would take me to visit their small village, which was surrounded by open fields and farmland. After about a week together, my parents left to have some time by themselves, and I was left with my grandma and grandpa for the following week. I always looked forward to that week because my grandparents would spoil me, giving me extra helpings of dessert and buy me presents from the nearest town, which was a few miles away. Grandpa would let me ride on the back of his motorcycle, which my parents had forbidden, and I could stay up late watching movies and fall asleep on their old, comfortable couch. My grandparents laid down every afternoon for a short nap, leaving me to play by myself. I didn't mind, I loved it. The countryside where they lived was safe, and I was allowed to wander as far as I wanted. But mostly I stuck to the backyard, nervous as a city kid to venture any further. One day, as my grandparents slept, when I was playing in the backyard with some toys, enjoying the feeling of the breeze on my face, enjoying the shade provided by the leafy trees overhead.
Yeah, we'll be
I
back.
started to hear a strange
Back to me
sound.
sorting everything again. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, Heven. That's gonna suck.
and over
Big
again.
donk dick. That's gonna suck. Big donk dick. And donks don't even
I couldn't
want
tell what it
their
was,
dicks to be
or where it was
sucked.
coming from. It sounded like a person
You know
talking,
what?
calling out. But what were they
I
calling
don't know
out
if
for?
donks
know
want their
anyone named
dicks to be
Poe.
sucked or not.
It was a deep,
You know
masculine
what? Now I
voice.
don't
I
want to
looked around,
know.
searching for the source of the
You know
noise,
what?
when I noticed
I
something
don't wanna
beyond
know.
the tall hedges that enclosed the backyard. It was a straw hat, bobbing as though the person wearing it was walking along the perimeter of the backyard. I realized this was where the sound was coming from. Poe,
Poe.
Poe,
Poe.
Poe. Then the hat stopped at a small gap in the hedge, and a face peered through. It was a strange-looking woman with long, dark hair. I was shocked to see where she was looking at me from. She was leaning over to peer through a gap at the top of the hedge, and the hedges were so high, around 8 feet tall. Was she wearing stilts? She was moving so she couldn't be on a ladder. And then she ran off, and the strange sound she was making disappeared with her, fading into the distance.
Hey,
I got up and walked back into the house,
Willow.
leaving my toys lying in the
Hey.
dirt. There had to be an explanation for this, I thought. Maybe my grandparents
just
had a neighbor
showing
they
you?
didn't mention. A few minutes
This
later, my
is
grandparents got up from their
Heven,
nap and began to make tea.
OC, and she
I sat
wanted
down
me
at
to
the kitchen
spook it
table,
up,
and trying not to
everybody.
sound like a scared little kid, I told my grandparents about the strange woman. They brushed it off until I told them about the strange sound. Pull. Pull.
I hope you guys
As soon as I said that,
enjoy
my grandparents froze. My grandma
real
almost dropped the mug of tea she was holding.
spooks.
The tea
Thank you
slopped inside the
guys
cup
so
and spilled on the
much.
floor. My grandpa grabbed me by the arm. He looked afraid. This is important, he said. His eyes were dark and concerned. It scared me. I had never seen him look so serious. You must tell us exactly how tall she was. As tall as the hedges outside, I said. My hands started to shake.
Yeah.
My grandpa was almost shouting
Wait,
out. Where
well-
was she standing?
Oh my God.
When did this happen? What did you do? Did she see you? I tried to answer all his questions
There we
behind
go.
the hedge a few minutes ago. I didn't know.
Thank you
anything yet.
guys
She
so
saw me.
much. Willow
Grandpa left to the
is
hallway,
an
and I heard him make a
amazing
phone call. I couldn't hear exactly what
artist.
he was saying. Beside
Wonderful
me,
stuff.
Grandma was trembling. When Grandpa came back to the kitchen, he addressed
Wonderful
her. I
stuff.
have to go out for a while.
That's
Stay here with the boy.
scary.
Don't take your eyes off him for a
Yeah,
second. What's going on, Grandpa? I asked. He
She
looked at me
said
with
to
despair
spook
in
it
his
up.
eyes and
She
said,
said to
"She
do
likes you."
whatever I
Oh my God. You've
wanted.
been chosen by her.
Hey,
With that, he hurried
Valen.
out, got on his motorcycle, and
Valen.
drove off. Who is she,
That
Grandma?
is certainly
What's going on,
a
I
step
asked.
in the spooky
Don't worry, she
direction.
replied in
I'm
a shaky
probably
voice.
gonna
Grandpa will do something. There's no need to worry. We sat in the kitchen
All
waiting
right.
for Grandpa to return.
Go
Grandpa
to
walked out
bed,
the door
Floofy
and shut the
Snow.
windows
Thank you for
before
coming
sitting back down
in.
and
Do
pouring another cup
appreciate
of
it.
tea.
You're awesome
After
and
a long
amazing.
silence,
Let's
she
not
told me,
talk about
"There's something haunting this place. We call her 8 feet tall because she can
You have
hear
an
differently.
amazing
In a
one.
long
I'm
traditional
most definitely
dress,
not going to
or in
be
a white
doing this
funeral
next
shroud.
time.
But the
It
one
will
thing
be
that never changes is
very.
her height
It
and the
will
sound she
not be
makes.
as spooky.
A long time ago, she was
This
captured by monks, and they managed to confine
is a
her
bit
inside a ruined
spooky,
building on the outskirts
guys.
of town. They used
Slightly
4 small religious
spooky.
icons placed at the north, south, east, and west to contain her. Grandma looked at me. Her
Will's
eyes were full
art
of
is
tears.
amazing. Yes.
Someone must have disturbed the statues.
Rib cage
she got something stronger
looks
than her to help
fucking
her break
awesome
out
though.
because somehow
Holy.
she's escaped.
An
The last time it
amazing
appeared was
artist
15
who
years
just
ago.
spent
Clearing the
7
throat she had.
hours on line art. Don't call me out like that.
Anyone who
Oi!
sees her dies within a few days.
An
After a few hours, Grandma
incredible
returned to the woman who introduced
artist.
herself as Kay.
I'm
She
not
handed me a
sorry.
small piece of crumpled paper and said, "Take this and hold it, but don't
An
look at it."
incredible,
She and
amazing
Grandma and
artist.
Grandma
7
then went upstairs,
hours.
and I was left in the kitchen until they
Awesome.
returned
If you
and
want to
brought me
show
into my
your
bedroom.
stuff,
The
that's totally
windows were
fine.
now
If
covered
you
in
want to just go to
newspaper.
bed,
Lots of ancient
go to
symbols had been
bed.
written on them. There were small
Just
bowls of salt
let's
in every corner of the room,
zoom
and in
in.
the middle of the room there was a blue bucket.
Let's
"What's the
zoom
bucket
in.
for?" I asked.
Let's just
Grandpa
give it a
lowered his
little.
voice. "That's your
Give
bathroom."
it a little bit.
Kay sat me down in the bed and explained,
Yeah.
"Soon the sun will set. So
Yeah.
you must listen
Yeah, no,
carefully. You must stay in
everybody
this
will
room
get
until tomorrow
good
morning.
sleep tonight.
You must not come out under any circumstances until sunrise.
And yeah,
Your grandparents will not speak to you until then.
I-
Remember, do not leave
you
this
know
room
what?
under any circumstances."
sorry,
"What the
Willow, but
fuck?"
it's the
She's right,
truth.
Grandpa
Nothing
said. You have
more,
to follow
nothing
everything
less.
she
Yeah,
says, and make
you're an
sure never
amazing
to let go of
artist.
the paper she gave you. At the
Yeah,
end
let
of this,
me.
if you follow
I'm gonna go to
our
bed
instructions, you'll be fine.
momentarily.
They
Good
hugged me
night,
goodbye,
babe. Fool.
closed the bedroom door, and locked
Also,
it.
I
I
finished.
sat on my bed and
I
tried to
finished
watch
this.
TV, but I felt sick to my
Guys,
stomach.
I finished
Grandma had
this
left some snacks
piece.
for me, but I couldn't eat them. Every time I
I
did,
think
felt
it came out
nauseous, and I didn't want to throw up in the
amazing.
blue
I
bucket
think
and
it
have to
came
smell it
out
until sunrise.
super
I lay down on my
amazing.
bed, all the events of the day overcoming me, and I fell asleep.
Like,
When I woke up, the clock showed that it was
I
just
think
after
it came
1 a.m.
out very
Oh, no.
good.
All of a sudden, I realized something
I love what I
was
did with the
tapping on the window.
scales and stuff like that.
Tap,
It looks real good.
tap. The blood drained from my face. I tried to tell myself it was just the wind, or the branches of the tree, or the old house
Back
settling
into
down for the
position.
night. I turned on the TV to drown out
There
the
we
sound
go.
of the tapping. Eventually, it stopped. I was safe.
I can't tell from afar.
As if on
Okay.
cue, I heard Grandpa calling me. "Are you okay in there?" he asked. "If you're scared, you don't have to stay in there alone. I can come in and keep you company."
No.
I sighed with relief and rushed over to the door, but something made me stop in my tracks. I had goosebumps all over my
Yeah.
body.
Here,
Even though I was shook, I felt
here
relieved.
is the zoom
Grandpa's
in
voice
version.
sounded like Grandpa, but something was wrong. "What's the holdup?" Grandpa
Yes,
asked.
well,
"You can
the
open
face
door
is so
now."
detailed.
No.
Yes, I can't tell
I
from
glanced
afar.
at the
Zoom
corner of the
again,
room, the chill went down
please.
my spine. The salt in the
There will
bowls
be
was starting
counseling
to turn
tomorrow.
I backed away from the
It
door. I was
looks
shaking,
cool.
and a piece of paper almost slipped from my
It looks
sweaty
so
hand. So I fell to
good.
my knees and started pleading for my parents to
We'll
save me,
see,
for God to save me, for anything
we'll
to
see
help me avoid certain death. I
we'll
heard a
see ya.
voice outside the door
Yeah.
now saying,
But
"Pull,
yes,
pull, pull." The tapping on the window started again. I could see an enormous shadow
I
through the
definitely
newspapers, crouching
spent a
as
lot
though
of
ready
time
to
on
leap
it.
through the
I think
grass.
it looks
I crouched under the bed,
amazing and
crying and praying
spectacular.
for the rest of the
And the
night.
two main characters look
Eventually,
really
it was
good.
morning. The salt in all 4 bowls was pitch black. My watch read 7:30 a.m.
I just don't
I
want them
opened the door
to
cautiously,
take over
but
the
to my relief,
screen.
Grandma and Kay were standing outside. Grandma
See you,
burst into tears. "I'm
Fluff.
so glad you're
Oh
still
my
alive,"
gosh.
she said.
Oh my
I ran
gosh.
downstairs
By
and
the
by
way,
surprise, my parents were
everybody,
sitting at the kitchen table.
if
"Mom,
you have
Dad,"
it,
I rushed into their arms,
Floof.
happy to see them. But Grandpa came in a moment later and said, "There's no time for that. We have to get
Yes.
going." In the driveway, there was a large black van.
Rest
Several
well,
neighbors were
Floopy
standing around it. And
Snow.
when they saw me, they started muttering. "That's
Yeah,
the boy,"
and
one said. I was told
give
to
them a
sit in
hug.
the middle of the van,
Give
surrounded
them
on
a
all sides by
hug.
my grandparents and neighbors. The man on my left said, "You're in trouble. Keep your head down and your eyes shut. We can't see it, but you can. Don't open your
Give
eyes
them a hug
until we've
before
got
they
you
go
safely
so
out
that
of
they
here."
feel
What
loved.
the fuck?
One of these things is not
Grandpa drove
like
his
the
motorcycle in
other.
front. My dad's car followed behind.
True
We got going,
that.
we weren't going
One
very
of these
fast because
things
the road
is
was
most
rough and bumpy.
definitely
I heard Kay
not
say
like
next
the
to me,
others.
"This is where it gets hard."
You're already,
She started to mutter a prayer. That's
so
when I heard the voice.
there's so many small details I wouldn't be able to see without
I kept my
zooming.
head down, but peeked through the window, saw
So
a
much
white dress
hard
floating in
work
the
goes
breeze running
into it.
alongside the
Yeah,
van.
I'll put it
Suddenly
on
she
the
bent down
Discord.
and
I'll put it
peered into the
everywhere.
van. "No,"
I'll
I
put it on my
gasped. The
Instagram.
man
I'll put
behind
it
me shouted,
on.
"Close your eyes."
I'll put it on my
I shut my
Twitter,
eyes as hard as I
so
could. To
you
my
guys
relief, I
can
was still holding the piece of
take your
paper Kay
time.
had given me.
Thank
It
you
was
so much,
almost disintegrated,
Valen.
but I held
Thank
it
you
like a
for
lifeline.
the creep.
The tapping began.
Do the creep.
The
Do the
voice grew
creep.
louder. "Pull, pull."
When you see
there was
a
tapping
what?
on the windows all
When you
around
see
as
a
though she had many hands. The neighbors couldn't see her or
Do
hear
the
her voice,
creep.
but they could hear the tapping on the windows. Kay prayed louder and louder until she was almost shouting. My head felt like it was
Let
filled with
me
noise and pressure,
zoom
but I
out
still
so
didn't
that
open my eyes.
I have
After a
room.
while, I couldn't tell how long. The tapping finally disappeared.
So yeah,
Oh my God,
there we go.
sweet baby Jesus.
Kay was the first to speak. I think we're safe now. Everyone breathed
There's
a sigh
just
of relief.
a lot
The
of
van pulled
detail
over.
in
I was
these
told to get into my
pictures.
parents' car. My mom held me close in a grip so
Thank you
tight it was
for
hard to breathe,
so
but I didn't want her
much
to let me go.
for coming in,
The van sped off,
Valen.
leaving me,
I do
my
appreciate
parents, my
it.
grandparents, and Kay.
And I appreciate
Showing the
everybody.
paper, Kay
Oh,
said.
thank you for the
I opened my van.
follow.
It had turned completely black.
Thank you for the
We drove straight to the
follow.
airport, and Grandma
Valen,
and Kay hugged me and my
thank
parents before
you.
security.
That's so
When the plane
sweet
took
of
off, far from being
you.
nervous as I usually was on flights, I was relieved. My dad told me about a friend of his years ago who had been chosen by the 8 foot
Yeah.
tall
Oh my
woman.
God, I just realized I'm
disappeared.
not
He
in the
was never seen
Discord.
again.
Well, I am now.
There were other
Okay.
people,
All
not just
right.
children,
Hold
that the
up.
woman had chosen. They all had to
Hold
leave their home
up.
country and settle
Go to
abroad
the
if they wanted to live.
Discord.
They could never return home.
Go to the
We landed in our
welcome.
city's airport, returned home,
Willie's
tried to forget about it.
Eve.
All this happened more than 10
And
years ago.
let's
I haven't seen my
manage
grandparents
user
since,
and
because I
tab a
haven't been able to
regular.
go back
Read
to
the
their country.
rules.
I
Yep.
called them every week on the phone,
Big up.
trying to be as close to them in
Set
any
it
way
up.
as I can.
I
My
set
grandpa
it
died
up.
2 years ago.
You were
When he was
in the
sick, he wouldn't allow me to
Discord,
visit.
and now
He left
you're
strict
right
instructions in
there.
his will
Ba
that I was
ba
not
ba
to
ba
attend
ba
his funeral.
ba
Oh my
ba ba
God.
ba
It was
ba
very
ba.
sad, but I understood.
Whistles on
My grandma called a few days ago. She told me she'd been diagnosed with cancer. She missed me terribly. Wanted to see me one
I
last
don't
time
think
before
you
she died.
should.
Are you sure, Grandma? I asked. Is it safe? It's been 10 years, she said. All that
So
happened a
yeah,
long time ago.
every
It's forgotten. You're grown up
like
now.
real major
But what
person
about
that I
the 8 foot
know,
tall woman?
like people
For
that
a
come
moment,
in
there was
here all the
silence on the other end
time,
of the phone,
I give them
and
a
then I heard,
birthday pic. That is a decision I've been that I have made very recently.
Fuck off.
How creepy is that story?
That's fucking
Yeah,
terrible.
baby.
I
So
have chills everywhere.
I love that.
here's the
story.
thing.
Of course you do, you fucking weirdo.
I was gonna draw like a serious version or like a cutesy version
so hard to
of
hold it
Haven's
in.
character, and she said spook me up, and I said
I just,
sure.
like, I mean,
I
those
have
early legends,
two other
a lot of
versions
times
of
it's like,
her.
oh, okay, we got a good one. The way this one laid out.
I have two other
I can just picture-
versions.
That one just made me
I
think,
I
if
like
was a
the
kid,
I like
Yeah.
this
camping with some
one.
buddies,
Yeah.
It's just
and somebody
kind of
told that
too
story, like,
much.
"Oh, yeah, whatever." And then I would
It's
lay
too
my
much
sleeping bag and be
me.
freaked the
Like
fuck
it's
out.
too much
Every
like
sound
what
you
I
hear, you'd be like, "Is that a
usually
Pope?"
do, kind of thing.
Totally.
Was that a...
Yes, tapping. I got chills telling it again. Oh man.
This is most
Yowzers.
definitely
Okay, got a
not
few
something I
pictures. So
rarely.
this is, like,
This
artwork
is
associated with the
rarely
legend.
what I
This first
do.
one is,
Okay.
there's like depictions like this.
So-
Just creepy,
Sure.
dark hair.
So yeah,
Mine's-
if
I
you
love Japanese horror. Mine's
if
like
people
The
come
Ring,
in
The
here
Grudge,
and
that
stay
kind
in
of look
here
of
and
like,
just
hair covering the
you
face.
know
Yeah, yeah.
be
and you're curious
active
what's behind it, and then
stuff
when
like
it
that,
pops
they
up,
get
you're
free
like,
art.
"Fuck, I wish I didn't see
I
that."
think that that's
And
fair.
this randomly sent me into a wormhole. This next picture is
A free
Sandra
birthday
Elaine
pic of
Allen,
Okay.
for people
one of the
that are
tallest women in the world's
you know
history.
come in
Oh,
here
okay.
enough and
7'7".
stuff like that.
Almost
I think
literally
that's
an 8 foot
nice.
tall woman. She died in 2008 at 53 years old. And then Yao Defen is this next picture, a Chinese woman who died at the age of 40, officially measured at 7'7". She died in 2012. Yeah,
And
also
do they-
7'7".
Is that giantism?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's like basically a pituitary gland disorder where your body keeps kicking out the hormones that
Yeah.
make you want to grow. It just never stops.
And do they die of the height, the problems associated with the height?
Associated with, absolutely.
What makes him die?
I don't know. I can't speak to that
It's like
intelligently,
being
but it's like
tall.
organs and everything just is constantly growing more than it's supposed to. And
Oh, it's
eventually
not just your height.
they usually get like kind of decrepit, like in their later years they're
Yeah.
crippled. Eventually they can't walk and things.
Sounds
I've
terrible.
got the giveaway select
And,
my
now
peeps
this-
lol,
this is
so
the
I don't
this
have
last
to
lady is the
pick
tallest lady I
and
was able to
choose.
find. I don't
It's a
know
very
her name.
awesome thing to do
She's
and
gotta
very
be 40,
appreciative
50 feet
of it.
tall.
Yeah.
Gotta
You can
be.
see
Maybe
her,
as a
put your
bigger
foot on a
channel,
little tiny lady girl.
I'll probably
Definitely
do a
not Photoshop.
giveaway.
No, she's huge.
Like
Yeah.
but
she looked pretty normal,
this is
marginalized for, like,
more so
40,
for the
50, 60
people
feet tall,
that
maybe? I don't
are
know.
very active in my chat.
That's-
Like
She had a tiny lady friend.
Haven,
I think a lady friend
Raven,
normal size.
Yeah.
Board, Delon,
I
Mass.
don't want anybody to tap on anything for at least a week.
Like
I was just
those are
thinking,
people like
I mean,
that come in on a regular basis, and I'm like, I feel like they are my
The
friends.
tapping.
I
is
feel
somehow
like
creepier to me than
they
the
give me their time enough that I
Shouldn't
want to
say
make
that.
something
That's
nice
that's
for them.
what you wanted.
Yeah, she's.
I don't like
My
decisions.
biggest problem
Yeah, I
would be
got you.
I'm gonna get
Yeah.
some social distancing coffee with some girlfriends
Yeah.
this week.
Oh, yeah.
And if I was just
But
like
yes,
on the
no,
phone or something,
I
before they
really
got
love
there,
your
and I'm
art, by the way.
Just
I
anything
wanted to bring that
happening
up
over the
is
next
that I
week,
really
I
love your
am gonna
art,
lose my shit.
and I think that you're really cool and you're awesome.
Don't.
I didn't want to forget
You're
that.
too fragile right now.
I am so fragile.
I know. I don't even want to scare you because I don't
Yeah.
have to deal with the aftermath.
I'm
Like people that
melty, as we
actually
call it in our
deserve
house,
a
which is,
VIP
like,
slot.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna have a meltdown.
Yep.
Feel very melty. I could cry any minute,
Like
any moment.
I've been good. I haven't been scaring you home or nothing.
Haven definitely
Well, I'm
she
gonna
deserves a
scare the
lot. I don't want
bejesus
to
out of you.
I don't want to pressure her with the
Is
VIP
related to
slot,
Jesus?
but
Bejesus?
like
Huh?
I'll give it to her.
Maybe.
Like Jesus' cousin?
Well, but Jesus might be related to Jesus. This is
It's
the
like distant relative.
well, this
like
is
a
the
fourth cousin
atheist
twice removed.
version of
Oh.
bejesus. This is bejeebus.
I don't want to her to be like, oh man,
Jesus for the
oh,
believers and bejeeba for the non-believers.
Oh, Bajiba.
Oh, bejeeba-deeba.
oh
Okay, so,
thank
I'm
you.
just telling you, I was reading this story and was
Yeah,
like,
thank you.
so many
Sometimes it's
times,
very difficult to see that
confused,
in your own self, to
taken
see
out of the
that
story
you're
just in the sense
an
that my brain was
awesome
going other places.
artist
Like, oh my
or
God,
like
maybe
an
it's
awesome
gonna be that,
creator, and it
yeah,
validation
and-
is very much appreciated.
I
I
think this
really
is gonna
do
get
need
you.
validation
I'm excited. Get me.
You got your
because
squishy?
I got my squishy.
Are you ready?
I'm so
It
ready.
is so fucking good, and it's long. So like, stay in for the long haul. Okay.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
not lose track. Okay.
Eh.
So, for sure, the most terrifying story to date. This email
Aw.
begins. What's up, Dan and Lindsay? My name is Tom.
But yeah, no,
My sister and I are
here's the
huge
biggest thing.
fans of Scared
I've
Cat.
only been
And
meeting
I'm also a
great
giant fan of
artists.
Time Suck.
Like
Thank
I've
you.
been meeting
I'm
some
writing to you
really
guys,
great
hoping to share an
people, or
incredibly
like
bizarre
they
and
have some
horrifying experience
creativity
my sister,
or something
brother-in-law,
like that, and
I
I'm
went
like,
through
this is
together. So
this is
3
exactly what I
accounts of this, okay?
wanted. I wanted to meet
So,
some
like, you and
wonderful
Donna and Jared,
people.
right, like,
Yeah,
would be
okay.
the
And
equivalent,
I'm
okay?
glad to
I want
meet
you
you.
to picture that
And
as
if
this
you gotta
happens,
go,
because it
go
will help
get
so
some
much.
rest.
The
I'll
story
be here
covers a period
later.
of about 2 weeks.
I'll be here.
Excuse me, in
I'll see you
2007.
later.
In fact,
It's gonna be
this
okay.
March marks the 13th anniversary of these events, which kind of
Okay.
freaks me out. Even like, oh god, 13 and like
Been
all
just
the
over
things.
13 years.
My brother and sister-in-law have given me their blessing to tell you our story.
The dang
as
light
we
art
went
I spent
through a
7
portion of these
hours
events
on.
together. We've talked and talked together. and
That's
decided
all
that the
good.
first one
Let's
was
see
going to
it.
be told to
Let's
anyone
give
other
it.
than
Let's give it a
family or
look-see, Lou.
anyone
Let's
than-
give it a
than
look-see,
my
Lou.
brother and
Hold up.
sister-in-law or myself.
Let's
Why not
give it
have
a
told on our
look-see,
absolute
Lou.
favorite horror podcast?
Okay, hold up.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
apologize if I find this story to be quite
Goodness.
lengthy, but I want to make sure I tell
Gracious.
it accurately and respectfully. I'm not really sure how to preface
Gracious.
this
Ooh,
insanely fucked up tale,
looking
So
good.
let's just dive right in. And it is
looking
so fucked up.
good. Hold
My
up.
sister
Let me
and I
see if
grew
I
up in
can
Portsmouth, New
OBS
Hampshire,
this.
and are only about a year and a half apart.
Let's see.
She's older than I, and we were always
Let's
very close.
see.
Our father left early
Let's
on in
see,
our lives, and
browser.
our mom always did the absolute best she could to give us everything we
Browser,
wanted.
and then-
It created an awesome, loving environment for my sister and I. While we may have had trouble financially growing up, we never had problems being loved or supported by our family.
Cancel.
In high school, I played a variety of
Damn it.
sports and became very good friends with a guy who would later
Damn
become,
it.
in life, my brother-in-law. Out of respect for
Damn
my
it.
sister and brother-in-law,
I want to show
I'll use fake
everybody.
names, Karen
Oh, I
and
know
Paul.
how to show it.
Okay?
I know how to show it.
Karen and Paul married
Don't.
in 2005.
I'm good. I know how to
And by
show it. Hold up.
2007, they had moved about 20 minutes
Save
south,
image.
outside of the town of
Downloads.
Seabrook, so Paul could be closer to work.
I
as
can
he
keep
worked
it
over
here.
the
Yeah,
state border
I'll keep
in
it here.
Massachusetts.
26.
It's a pretty area.
And
So
then, yep.
They moved in March.
And
to a
then
three-story
let's go
home
here.
for, you guessed
Let's
it,
go here.
Incredible steel.
Let's open it for
The house was
everybody.
located back in the woods and was away from the row of houses that sat
Where
along
is
the
it?
main
Where is it?
street.
Where is it?
They purchased
Here it
the
is.
house
There it
for
is.
only
There it
$15,000.
is.
The
There
house
it
itself was
is.
beautiful. A gate separated the front portion of the house from the back of the house and its spacious backyard.
Copy and paste into
A
Canvas,
large
baby.
open living area for
Yeah, I
entertaining
did.
guests
Yeah.
was adjacent to the
It's not
spacious
even
kitchen.
that
You
detailed,
had to go
lol.
out through the
I
kitchen door
just
into
have
the
awful
sunroom
line
to
control
another
and have to
door that
undo
led to the
30
basement.
something times per
The basement
line.
itself
No,
was
it's
unfinished and
fine.
largely just a dirt, ground, and stone. Upstairs
It's
was
looking
the master
amazing,
bedroom
Willows.
and bathroom,
Love
with two
the
additional smaller
diversity of
bedrooms and a
art
third
styles
small
in the
bedroom
Discord.
on the
Oh,
main
yeah.
floor. Helping Paul and my sister move in went great.
Yeah,
I even
no.
helped Paul install
I
a few security
love
cameras around the
this.
property,
This looks
as they
so
both wanted to
good.
move so far back into the woods.
This looks so
The house felt warm and
good.
inviting.
Willow? Oh
Felt
my
like
goodness.
home.
I wanted to do
However,
that.
It would not
Fuck.
feel that way for
Now
me.
I want to do this.
At first, Things
No,
were
I
great.
want to
We'd
do
have parties on the
a.
weekends, and they would invite friends
a
and family
goat.
over. And about
Oh
2
well,
months in,
we'll
but about 2 months
we'll figure
in,
that out
visits
later.
became less and less frequent.
We'll figure
Paul and
that
Karen
one out
stopped inviting
later.
people over. I wasn't sure what was going on, but knew something was wrong, as Paul and Karen were the two most outgoing people.
A cute
I
little
ever
goat,
knew. I wasn't like
a
them to
mech
withdraw and
goat
to become so introverted. I tried
with
to reach
its
out to my sister a
little
few times
robot
through
tail.
texts or phone calls, but would usually get her voicemail or just flat out
That would be
ignore
very
in
cute.
general.
I would
became
love that.
extremely
I
concerned
love
for my
Five
sister and
Nights.
Paul. I wasn't sure
that
they
would
were having
be
issues in their
very
marriage,
cool.
So I decided to go over and visit my sister.
Heck yeah, become an
At the time, she was
animatronic.
staying with my nephew,
We can have a
while
band.
Paul was at work.
Okay.
Make your own
When I
FNAF
arrived,
crew. Oh
I almost
yeah, that
became
would be
sick
cool.
At the rotting smell.
That would be
emanating
really
from
cool.
underneath the front porch. I tried peering
would
through
be
the
very
fencing
cool.
to see if there were any animal carcasses or
I would
source
love
of this
that.
horrific odor.
I would be
couldn't see
very.
anything.
I would be
It was
honored.
pitch black underneath the house.
I would be honored
I had
to be a
knock
part of
few times
this.
to get my sister to answer.
This
And when
sounds
she did, I was
great,
shocked
in
to see
all
the state she
honesty.
was in. I could see terror and desperation plastered on her face. This was not my fun, loving, outgoing sister. The look on her face was a mixture of, you have to get the fuck out of here, and also, please don't leave me alone. I barged my way in
This
after a few
is-
moments of uncomfortable silence.
This is
What the
most
hell is
definitely a
going
demon
on?
from
I asked
fucking.
my sister, and she immediately broke into tears.
This is a
It's the
real
house. It's the
Nephilim.
house. It's just not
This
right.
is a real
What do you
Nephilim
mean?
right
I
here.
asked.
This is.
And then she went into detail about all
Man,
of the
did you
creepy,
guys
crazy
want a
shit that had been
paralysis
happening.
demon?
Initially,
Guys,
things started out small.
Don't you worry.
Flickering lights,
Haven is
doors
here to be
creaking
your
open or shutting on
paralysis
the road,
demon.
That type of stuff. Then one night, about a week after the initial sign,
Loki completely
things
forgot
got
her tail.
My sister told me that one night, Paul was at work late, and while
I
she was
didn't
lying in
even
bed, she heard
notice.
a car pull
If
into the
you
driveway.
hadn't said
She heard the
anything,
sound
I
of
would
the
have
car door
fucking
opening
known.
and closing, and then the beep beep.
I'll
of
add
the
it
lock
into
on a key
color
fob.
when I
My
color
sister
it.
went downstairs to meet
It
Paul,
took me
but
too
all the
long
lights
to
on the
work
main
on
floor
it
were
in just
completely
one
out.
day. Oh
None
yeah.
of them would even turn on. My sister walked out
You
to the
find
living
out
area,
that things
peered through
take
the window at
longer
the
than you
driveway.
think they do.
Paul's car was nowhere to be seen.
Oh my
sister,
god. I
feeling
wouldn't have
uneasy,
said
went back to her
anything
bedroom to grab the
if
phone
you
to call
didn't
Paul. When she returned to the
bring it
bedroom,
up, but
the
yes,
door
you
to the
did
master
forget the
bathroom
fucking
was open
tail.
wide, and the lights were on.
That's okay.
They were
That's
off when
alright.
she'd gone downstairs.
Mine will be a
She
little
looked around the
bit.
bathroom and discovered a large
I guess that's what
scratch
happens
on
when
the
you have
back of the
sonas like
toilet room
us,
door that she hadn't
like
noticed when they
a
walked through
reindeer
the house.
/ dragon Sona,
After she
and
was
mine
satisfied that
a
there was nothing
chimera.
there, my sister went back to bed and fell asleep.
So
When she
like,
woke the next morning, she said she rolled over to hug Paul, but he was still not there. She went downstairs
it
to
would
discover the
definitely
front door
be
wide open,
that.
and Paul sitting in the yard underneath the tree of one of the large pine trees. She asked him what he was doing there, and he just sat there silent.
What?
Sitting almost hiding under the cover of the hanging pines, she asked him how long he'd been sitting there, as he was still in his work clothes from the day before.
Oh yeah.
She said that his response chilled her to the bone.
I'll
You'll
have.
never see it coming,
What?
Yeah.
she said. Then almost immediately, it was as if
I'm
Paul
really
snapped out of trance.
nice.
She'd never
I'm
seen Paul
nice,
scared,
really.
but he looked absolutely
Yeah,
terrified.
she's
decided to
very
get out of the
nice.
house for
I
the
would
day
say
and run some
Haven's
errands.
one of the
He didn't
best.
get back until late,
One of the
and when he
best.
did,
One
all
of.
the lights in the house were
I've
on,
got many
and
best.
both Paul and Karen said they
She's
could
one of
see handprints on the glass windows
No,
of the
Heven.
sunroom.
Haven is very
When they went in, it
helpful.
looked like a tornado had torn through
She's
the room.
also an
Blankets
amazing
strewn all
mom
over the floor,
as
clothes
well.
ripped out of dressers, and a knife
Haven is a
laid next to the
wonderful
bed
mom,
with a number
doing
of
her
stab marks in the
damnedest, doing her
mattress.
best.
Their first thought was a break-in.
You know,
My sister said she immediately went to grab her phone and call 911.
just being an
until she was
incredible
stopped by
person
Paul,
all
his
around.
voice trembling.
That she gives her
Wasn't a
time to
break-in,
me,
honey, he said.
and
And they both
to
realized that all the doors were
you
locked.
know,
There
to
had been
inspire me and stuff
absolutely
like that.
No sign of anyone breaking
Like,
in. All the locks were intact,
is
and none of the
pretty
windows had
darn
been broken.
incredible.
They got out of the house for the night and stayed at a hotel. Paul went back the next
But
morning to grab some
Haven
clothes
can
and
also be
essentials.
your
Time
paralysis
passed
demon.
and passed and passed until my sister said Paul had been gone for over 10 hours. My sister tried calling and texting multiple times, but every time she called, it would ring twice, and then Paul would seemingly send her to voicemail. Karen decided to go back to the house and found Paul, once again, sitting underneath the pine tree. She coaxed Paul out of his trance and said they went back inside to gather additional
Yes.
belongings.
And
it was
now
as if
to
the
create
events
a
of the day before had
background
never happened. The room
for
appeared
it,
spotless, pristine.
which is not going to be
My
that
sister
hard.
logged into the security app connected to her cameras and was shocked to see that Paul had continuously
We're
gone
gonna
in
Silent Hill
and
it.
out of the
We're
house
gonna
over
Silent
those
Hill
10
it.
hours, seemingly in a trance. Paul had no recollection of even driving over to the house. They were both extremely frightened and wanted to move, but being a young married couple, they had sunk almost their entire savings into buying the house. I arrived about a week after this final incident. My sister was convinced that there was something supernatural in their home, and it was specifically targeting Paul. Paul was unsure about what to make of the entire situation. He said that he would begin to feel overheated and dizzy, and then it was like he lost chunks of time. Paul
I remember
offered
that
up the theory
town.
that perhaps something was wrong with his health, but he wasn't sure why this was
That
happening.
awful
My
town.
sister said that Paul had a doctor's appointment for that Friday, which was only 2 days away at this point, and so I stayed for about an hour before I had to leave to get ready for work, as I was tending bar at the time. I told her to let me know how Paul's appointment went, and she said she would. I spent the next 2 nights worrying about my sister and Paul. I
Yeah,
kept my
yeah,
phone
I'm
right by
either
my side
super
on Friday
nice or
while I waited
complete
for her call.
demon.
She
There's
called
no
me at
in
3 p.m. on
between.
Friday and told me that Paul's doctor
Right?
had given him a physical examination.
So that's the
and he was going
question.
to be
Where
in
where
perfect
does this
health.
demon
They took some blood for additional
vood
testing, and were told they would have to wait a week or
where
so
does
for the
this
results.
demon
Little
reside,
did they know it was
Heven?
going to be a long fucking weekend. My sister woke up on Saturday
That's
morning
the
to find Paul
question.
standing at the edge of her bed, just watching her. When she spoke to him, he did not reply. She kept yelling his name over and over, and with an emptiness in his eyes, all he said was, "Soon. It is coming very soon."
Jesus Christ.
And just walked out of the room. When my sister went downstairs, Paul had made her breakfast and set a romantic bouquet of flowers on the table. My sister, feeling perplexed, asked him how long he had been up, and his answer scared the fucking shit out of her. "I've been down there for the last few hours cooking your breakfast." My sister asked him if he remembered coming upstairs, but he said he never came back up. My sister wasn't sure if it was another one of Paul's trances, so she decided to let it slide, not wanting to worry Paul further. The rest of the day went on without a hitch, and they spent most of the day cleaning and even tried to play some board games in the evening to lighten the mood and their spirits. When Karen and Paul crawled into bed that night, any enlightening that had happened was completely ripped away. My sister said she woke up and could feel a freezing pressure pushing straight down on her chest from the ceiling of her bedroom. She tried to wake Paul, but she said the pressure was strong.
Yes, that's all good.
Eventually the pressure lifted, but the bitter cold remained.
Silent Hill is one of
Once
my
she could
favorite
speak, she
games.
woke Paul up, and they
At the
both
end
were
of
terrified to
your
feel
bed,
another
watching you
presence in the house with them. My
you
sister said she felt relieved in a sense
sleep.
because Paul usually
Sadly, I
would be in
need
a
to go
trance-like
sleep.
state
Oh, the
whenever
woes of
these
being
things
mortal.
happen.
I hope you have
They
a
both
good
said they could
stream.
hear
The art
tapping
looks amazing so
downstairs,
far.
almost
I
like
can't
someone
wait to see it
knocking on a
finished.
window.
Oh, it's almost finished.
Both of them went
Also,
down to
thank you for
investigate,
the
and
follow,
what they saw
Haven.
utterly horrified them.
Rest
They
well,
entered the living room
hun.
and could see lights
Haven
flickering
is an
on
amazing
and off,
person.
all around the walls in the
She's
kitchen.
incredible
They crept
and
silently towards the
stupendous.
kitchen, Paul
Thank
leading
you,
with my sister pressed tightly behind him. They
Thank
both
you
did
so
nothing
much,
but
Willow.
stand and look through the
Thank you
window
for
of the
being
kitchen
awesome,
door
and thank you
into
for
the dark
being
sunroom,
stupendous,
where they
and
watched
thank
the
you
silhouette of
for
what
being
looked like
you.
a tiny
I know
person
it's
dance around
easy
in
to
jerky,
be
inhuman
so
movements.
stupendous and awesome,
Then, as if they were
but
aware they were watching it,
still
began
needs to be
pounding
said.
on the glass windows of the sunroom,
Now get
shattering
some
two of
rest
the
now.
windows and
We'll see you
screeching
later.
violently. They both ran out the other side of the house and into the front yard, where they noticed their bedroom light had been turned on. They didn't turn it on when they left the room. How had this happened?
Haven.
They just decided to run back in, grab the keys, and drive around until sunrise, not knowing what to do. Sunday morning, I got a call from Paul, inviting me to stay with them for a few days. The rational part of my brain
What
said,
do you
no
think?
way in hell. However, I knew I absolutely had to go and be there for my sister. I got there Sunday afternoon, and the first night went great. We watched movies, got Chinese food delivered. It was my sister's favorite. We lightened the mood. We tried staying up as late as we could, and Paul and my sister took off work that Monday. Paul and I stayed up late talking about sports and just anything to keep our minds occupied, while my sister slept peacefully for the first time in ages on the couch. It would be
I
the
am in
only
total
peaceful night
awe
the
of
three of
it.
us had
It's
together.
amazing. Yeah.
I ended up getting called into work on Monday evening, so I wasn't
What
there
else?
for a
Oh,
large portion
right.
of the night.
Almost forgot
However,
the one.
when
I almost
arrived back
did
at the house
exactly
at approximately
what
2 in the
Willow
morning,
did.
I was perplexed to find the
Oh,
front door
damn it.
standing wide open.
Damn it. I
Wide
almost
fucking
forgot.
open. Paul
The
and Karen
fucking
had
tail.
always locked their doors. Not that they lived in a bad
Damn
area,
it.
it was just their own personal comfort.
Why didn't you tell me,
Immediately unsettled, I
Haven?
grabbed a knife out of the
Why
drawer
didn't
in the
you?
kitchen
Why
and
weren't
took a
you
look around the
like?
house.
Oh,
I
it's
don't
got no
usually
tail.
scare easily, but I knew there was no way my sister had left that door open. I went and knocked on Paul and Karen's door and received no answer. I I peeked in the room to make sure they were all right, and both of them were sound asleep. I continued to search the rest of the top floor, finding it empty. I made my way back downstairs and noticed something I hadn't before. As I peered through the sunroom, I could see the basement door was open, with the light from the bottom of the basement dimly illuminating the doorway. As I crept through the sunroom,
Heven.
I noticed that the carpet was wet and heavy. Every step I took I could feel some sort of foul-smelling liquid seep out of the carpet. Then I heard the sound of eerie, childlike music coming from the basement. I stood by the doorway for what felt like 20 minutes, and then after mustering up some courage, I slowly crept down the first few steps, and it was as if every step I took was causing someone or something immense pain. Horrible wails and screams echoed and bounced off the barren concrete basement walls. I could see a small humanoid-looking shadow writhing and darting around, and then suddenly...
It's your interpretation of it. So if you want to know tale, that's fine. No.
Door. I went straight to the guest room, locked the door, barricaded myself under my imaginary impenetrable blanket fort, and laid awake for the remaining hours before sunrise. That morning, my sister could tell I had had an experience that was only a sliver of what they had been going through. A few hours later, Paul received a call from work saying he needed to go on a work trip to Michigan for a few days and that he would need to be on the road by morning. The rest of that particular day went off without a hitch, although I could tell my sister was uneasy about Paul leaving. I assured her that I would be there to keep her company the whole time. That morning, we all woke up early to see Paul off. My sister was upset that Paul was leaving and was even more panicked when she couldn't find her phone that she had only laid on the kitchen counter no more than 15 minutes before. She was looking for her phone to add the business cell phone number Paul would be using primarily while he was in Michigan. My sister and I were surprised to see Paul pull back into the driveway only a few hours after he had left, coming with flowers and chocolates for my sister. He told her that with everything going on, there was no way he felt comfortable leaving her there with me, and I totally understood that. The rest of the day was great, actually. We went for a walk in the local park, and Paul and I stayed up playing video games while my sister went out with my mom and aunt for a night to tell them about the strange and weird occurrences taking place in their home. In the morning, we all met for breakfast and had a great family outing. I was once again working late that following night, and when I got home, I was surprised to see the back porch lights were on. I crept out to the gate and was sick at what I saw. Paul was standing in the backyard, totally naked, with a shovel in his hands. There were roughly 15 to 20 giant holes dug in the backyard, holes that looked exactly like graves. And then I did something incredibly stupid. I was a Darren. I had just become so fed up and pissed off at whatever was happening, at whatever was plaguing my sister and my best friend. I've always stuck up for my sister, and I just wanted to destroy this thing. I opened the gate and yelled out to Paul, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" And I yelled at him some more. Paul dropped the shovel and just stared right through me, and then calmly walked back into the house. I followed him at a distance back into the house, at which point I turned on the lights to the kitchen, and Paul immediately came to. It was a really tense moment. He just stood there and cried and hugged me. I had no idea how to handle this. I told him to take a shower and go back to bed. I went out and I filled all the graves he had dug, and just finished as the sun was coming back up. The rest of that day was so tense and awkward. It was as if Paul had no recollection of what had happened earlier in the morning, and I didn't want to bring it up, but as Paul was cooking dinner out on the back deck, I went out to see if he needed help. He looked at me with that strange emptiness in his eyes again, and he screamed at me, "Yeah, you can help me by redigging all those fucking holes." Jesus. I played it off as if I didn't know what he was talking about. I have never seen Paul look so enraged. I didn't show fear, but on the inside, I was feeling a mixture of all different types of emotions. Paul continued to stare. His eyes were beginning to burn through me, it felt like. Thankfully, the tension was broken when my sister came outside. The following afternoon, Paul asked for my help transplanting some bushes into the garden. As we worked, he seemed perplexed as to why the yard had been all dug up, and I returned with, "You don't remember any of this, do you?" He kept shaking his head, wondering what the hell was going on. I told him to just take it easy and rest while I finished. When I came in for lunch, Paul was screaming about the red water flowing from the walls. My sister and I were confused because at this point in time, we hadn't been experiencing much, and everything we did experience seemed to be based around Paul. That night, before I had to go into work, Paul was sleeping soundly upstairs, and my sister and I had a lengthy talk in the kitchen. My sister was so depressed and beyond knowing what to do. She had mentioned reaching out to a medium or to try and get Paul inpatient psychiatric treatment. I told her to be patient and that we needed to work with Paul in the meantime, and we needed to get everyone out of that house. I went to my room and got changed and left for work at about 10 p.m. As I settled into the driver's seat, I was immediately spooked by the image of Paul sitting behind me in the back seat, crying and yelling about the small man who won't leave him alone. I got out of the car and screamed for my sister. When she came out to the driveway, she was absolutely horrified. Bawling and shaking, she said, "Tom, get away from that fucking car right now." I said, "What's going on?" My jaw dropped at what she showed me. She found her cell phone. She had found it ringing in the basement. There were missed calls from Paul's business phone in Michigan.
What?
She had, in fact, missed several calls over the last 3 days from Paul's phone. The thing masquerading itself as Paul began laughing slowly and maniacally in the back seat of my car. It stood out of the car and began punching out the windows with glass flying everywhere, screaming, "It's time! It's time! It's time!" My sister's keys already in hand motioned for me to hop in her car, and we peeled out of the driveway faster than a NASCAR racer coming out of the pit. We were on the highway in a matter of 10 minutes, at which point my sister had me call Paul on her cell phone, and sure enough, he answered it from his hotel room. He said he was supposed to come home in the morning from Michigan, but my sister yelled that he needed to stay there and we were coming to him. She explained everything to him as much detail as I could possibly give here. Paul was understandably
This is looking
devastated
super
at
cool.
whatever the
Very
fuck
different
that
from your
thing was
usual stuff.
that had
Hell
been
yeah,
playing
it is.
sick tricks
It
on
is
our family.
very different.
Paul and Karen went back to the house from hell for a week later to retrieve their belongings. The state of the house when we arrived was absolutely shocking. Multiple holes in the walls. Every mirror in the house had been shattered. The strange
Hello,
foul odor emanating from the
heart.
porch now overtook the entire house. We didn't waste much time packing all of our essentials and leaving whatever was disposable behind. Whatever happened to us in that house, we wanted to remain dead
It
and
is free
buried there.
real estate.
None of us have ever gone back, but the three of us still talk about it in length at occasion. As weird as it is to say, that crazy experience truly solidified a lifelong bond among the three of us. In the decade plus since, our lives have actually been great. Paul and Karen went on to have 3 kids. My sister and Paul moved back to Portsmouth. I moved to York Harbor in Maine, which is only about a half-an-hour drive, and even have a couple of kids myself. We've made a pact to tell our kids when they're older about what happened. We're sure we'll get crazy looks and eye rolls, but we decided not to lie to our kids and to make them aware that there are things in this life that are unexplainable. What they do with the information is up to them. We just hope that none of them ever have to experience the horror the three of us endured in that house. I hope you guys like
Hey,
this
man,
story
I
and get
can't
to
stay.
share it.
Just came
Thanks
in
so
to
much
say
for
hi,
bringing
to
us
be
all the
honest.
scares.
No, that's
Keep up the
okay.
great work. Your
Thank you
kindness
for
and
being
suck. Peace and
awesome.
love, Tom. Oh my god, I love that I closed that because I can't even like.
Ooh, Tom, man, that was like a great horror movie, or like the plot of an awesome Stephen King. Like that was like what? I did not see the fake Paul
Me
coming.
either.
I was like, Jesus Christ, because like, why does he have to get out of the car? What's going on?
Right?
And then the phone in the basement. I mean, that was great.
I was holding onto my binder with a death grip.
Oh my God,
Is that crazy?
that's a crazy story. Oh man, if that story, oh, I hope for both of us. I hope that a story like that doesn't happen to either one of us. But if one of us has to experience something like that, I hope it's me, not you. I feel like I wouldn't do
break
well,
me.
but it would absolutely break you.
I would be committed after that.
Absolutely.
That would be the end of me. Truly.
my
I couldn't handle it. I
No.
don't know how you move past that. I would constantly be touching you like, are you real? Are you the real Dan? Are you the real? Like, I would probably cut you to make sure you bleed. Like,
Sweet.
no, I'm serious though. Like I would come with like weird things of like, I don't know, like how to find out that you're the
free real
Dan
estate.
and not this
He's spooked.
thing that has taken like a
Enjoy
shit
your day,
show.
everyone.
That's
He
all horror
is
movies. If
spooked.
that happens
He's
to you,
spooked by the
and then
pick.
the following of your reaction to me is my
Oh.
own horror movie.
True.
Where I'm being like, I
True.
just picture waking up to you with a knife. Like, I gotta cut you. I gotta cut you to make sure that you're real.
Yeah, you'd have to commit me.
Oh wow. Yeah, I almost just completely smashed this thing. Yeek.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Good one.
I told you that's the most terrifying thing I have ever read in my life because everything about it feels
What's the
so
background of
possibly
this?
real.
Okay.
Oh, man.
I mean, obviously it happened to them.
You know what? I'm gonna do this.
Fuck me.
That was intense.
Would you
Let's
like
do
a lovely
this.
little palate cleanser?
I would. I
Okay.
would.
Now, the story is sweet. It is a tiny bit sad, but it is sweet, and I think that it just goes to show for certain that people do hang around after they die.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Hey, Dan and Lindsay. I am a recently minted fan of both Time Suck and Scared to Death, and I always look forward to new episodes every week. I just listened to The Possession of Clara Germana. What is it? Keel?
It's like
Seal?
I can't remember.
Her.
But yes,
You know, that chick.
Clara Germana. Yeah.
Clara. And Lindsay's comment about how the idea of beloved family members lingering on in the physical world can be comforting reminded me that I have a story fitting that description myself. The events of this story happened to me when I was about 6 years old, but I was never told this story until about a year ago. I'm now 26, so 20 years ago this happened.
Yep. Okay.
I've always wanted to believe in the paranormal, but this story moved me in a profound way to the point that I now 100% believe that a person's spirit or energy or ghost can live on and manifest itself in a perceptible way. My mother passed away in a car accident when I was just 5 years old. I was with her and we were on our way back from Christmas shopping for our family when our van veered off the highway, rolling in a ditch. I don't remember anything surrounding the accident other than the few moments before the crash and then what happened later after I regained consciousness. Her death was really hard on my dad and me. I was my dad's first and only child, and he felt lost trying to raise me on his own. While coping with the death of his wife, who he had been with for 15 years, my dad struggled with depression during the first few years, and I was in grief counseling during that entire time. However, the one decision my dad and I made together that was a huge positive impact on my recovery during that time was to enroll me in our neighborhood Girl Scout troop. Some of the friendships I made during those years have lasted to this day, and that new outlet helped me take my mind off my mom. Sometimes my dad would take me to our troop meetings, and other times my aunt, his sister, would take me. According to my aunt, who would recount this story to me over 20 years later, during one meeting, all of the girls were seated on the floor in a circle while the moms and other caretakers sat around the kitchen table watching us play. One girl's grandmother was there, seated next to my aunt. This was my grandmother's first meeting, and she knew nothing about... This was the grandmother, not my grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
The friend's grandmother,
Yeah.
sorry. This was my friend's grandmother's first meeting, and she knew nothing about me, my aunt, or my mother's death roughly a year before this. As I would come to learn later, after being friends with this woman's granddaughter for several years, she claimed to have the sight and to be very in tune with supernatural energy. As we were playing in the living room, the grandmother leaned over to my aunt and said, "Who's the red-haired woman sitting behind Mary?" This question shook my aunt, as my mother was a ginger with fiery red hair, not that this woman could have ever even known that. My aunt replied, "That's her mother. She passed about a year ago." The grandmother then went on to explain what she saw. She said that as she looked at us sitting on the floor, she could see my mother kneeling close behind me with her arms around me as if she was trying to protect me. When I heard my aunt tell me this, almost 20 years later, we both immediately began to cry. I don't have that many memories of my mom, as she died when I was so young, but everyone who speaks to me about her always says I was the light of her life and how much she truly loved being my mother. I've never had any paranormal experiences in my life. I've never seen a ghost, my mom's or otherwise. I've never heard weird noises in the night or felt a sudden chill in an empty room. However,
Looks like it
this story
belongs with
does
Siren
make me
Head or
believe that
something.
my mom
Yeah,
may have
it
lingered
looks like
on in the
it
months
definitely
after her death.
belongs.
Perhaps
What's
out
the
of regret that she
lore?
won't be there to help
Haven,
raise
let's
me.
go
My
over
apologies if
the
story is more
lore
sad
of
than
this.
spooky, but there is something a bit comforting to me.
Let's
in
go
the
over
thought
the
that our loved ones
lore
may not
of
completely
this
leave us when we depart from this
particular
plane.
cryptid.
I never
This
thought I would ever be
thing
writing this story. but I always love
definitely
hearing other listeners'
not
personal
of this
stories, and that really
world.
encouraged me to share
This
mine.
fallen
Thanks for always
fucking
creating such an
angel.
inviting space for your fans to share. Keep on
What
sucking,
is it?
Mary.
What
Oh, thanks, Mary.
I don't
What
know, I
brought
love that. It
this
was, like, a bit
thing
sad, but I
into
do
this
love that
world?
idea.
Yeah, me too. I mean, yeah,
Let me
that's
make
the
sure
tough
that
to, you know,
these are
in
white,
moments,
because
skeptical as
they
I am
gotta
of
be
all of this.
Yeah.
stark fucking
Why
white.
would they see that?
They
Why
have
would
to
they
be
know that
bright
you know, like,
white.
just-
Right. So specific.
And it is so sweet, sad, but also sweet. Of
Yeah.
like she wants to still be. Oh man, yeah. What worlds lie beyond this? So,
Shapeshifters and protective spirits.
oh man. I hope more protective spirits than whatever that fucking crazy little dancing dark basement demon thing was.
Have no clue. Come on, you're an amazing writer.
Picturing it as a horror movie.
I know. It just felt
You're
so...
a great writer. Come on, do it.
Paul.
What's the lore on this critter?
No.
I know.
On this particular critter.
Well, I just think that like if they had a friend like I have a friend.
What's the
who
lore?
sends you? This was a Valentine's
That's what
Day
I.
gift
That's
forgot
the
to
aspect I'm
mention
looking
on
at.
here.
What's the lore?
There we go. And do you know what's in this box?
A bunch of crystals.
Not chocolates, crystals. Look at this. This is a rose quartz little
I'm dying.
Wolf head. It's a wolf head.
I'm dying inside because the next episode I'm going to record later today is the secret sock. A little companion to where I make fun of like what I call wackadoodles.
I'm thinking
if you were selling
this
exactly
thing
this like,
fucking
infomercial,
comes
I
after
would
you.
absolutely be making fun of you in the next podcast.
I can't lift this up enough for you to see, but she like this.
I don't want to say.
In she must be in near Bloomington where Kate is.
Mm-hmm.
Kate, I just.
It's gonna eat you immediately. I'm gonna say that.
Took all the chocolates out, or maybe
Most definitely, it's gonna. Those might be like its victims and stuff like that, or like going through the mouth and then eventually ending up here. I don't know.
It's so cute. It's
I don't fucking know.
It's cute. It's cute.
I know it's
I wouldn't be making fun of
fucking
someone
metal
if
as
it was like, here's a cute
shit,
display.
though.
But I was picturing,
All right.
if you were like, okay, and this is the
Save.
one that allows you to telekinetically.
There you go,
move shit
Heven.
around your room.
There you go. You got your own fucking
That allows you to bend
monster
fire, and This is
here.
the one that allows you to read
Here's a
minds.
firebender. Eucanite.
But
Let's
if you're
see.
serious,
Let's
I'm like,
save it.
you're so close to the people that love on the other podcast.
You don't know how serious I am.
There you
I
go.
hold back.
No.
Because I don't want to be your wackadoodle.
I don't want you to be my wackadoodle either. I mean, if I have to have a wackadoodle, I want it to be you.
That's nice.
It's
I
saving.
could wear a shirt that said like you could wear a shirt that says something like I don't want a wackadoodle, and then I could wear a shirt that says I'll be your wackadoodle.
That's pretty cute.
Yeah, I
That's
definitely think
It
it
is
would
cute.
eat anything
You do
and
not.
everything, good
I am a
or
little
bad.
nutty.
Thank you
Listen, you're a little bit
so
insane in a
much.
different
It's
way. So, like, we
awesome.
just bring our own kind
No
of crazy to our
problem,
relationship.
Haven.
That's people ask all the time. Like,
interesting.
what makes your
This
relationship
was a
work? I said,
very
"Oh, we
fun
just each other's kinda
stream, I
crazy."
gotta say.
This I bring a new level.
I was
of
like,
Chris was
you
that.
know,
very
what you want, Haven? I don't
Thanks,
know.
Kate. I love
It's
you.
like spooky. And I was like, all right, let's see, let's feel it out.
That one really got.
And it
Please keep
felt
sending
right.
those
It just
stories, you know.
felt
I like
right.
both of them today. They don't have to be like the big. Long
I think
story. They can be
Simon
a
will be
poignant
very
one. They don't have to be, you know,
confused at what he
don't
sees,
overthink it,
though.
I guess.
I
You know,
think
what I'm
very
trying to
much
say. If
so.
you just have any
Simon
experience with
will
something
be
that you
like,
think science
"Oh my
can't
God,
explain,
oh my
and it's
God,
just like, especially
Haven!
something that maybe
Oh,
convinced you
let's
to
see it!
believe
Oh
in
my
the,
God!
unbelievable, I guess.
Oh my dear
We
God!
love it. We love those stories.
Oh.
It's my favorite part of the show.
Oh, okay.
So please keep sending them to my story.
All right, not what I would put out there, but
you want to send
you
it
know.
to info@scaredtodeathpodcast.com.
Yeah, and that's how you talk to me.
So thanks for listening or watching Scared to Death Bad Magic Production. Thanks to the Bad Magic Productions team, Harmony Vellicamp, Joe Paisley, Zach Flannery.
Yeah. That's not what I would do. It's not exactly what I would have done, but you know. Let's close that, and then yeah, the difference is crazy. Like, this looks like concept art for a video game. Like, in all honesty, this looks like concept art for like some like real spooky game. Let's see, what's the size? Let's see, what's the size of this file? Let's see what the size of this file is first, and see how much I need to change of it. Alright, 21.5 megabytes. Okay. Alright. Alright, this is it's gonna need some scaling. Cause, you know, of Secret Force studio stuff. Oh, yeah. yeah, I'm glad that I tried something different. That's normally not me at all. Spooky. This is going to be the smaller version. Yeah, let's see. Yeah. Yep, Clip Studio is trying its best. Clip Studio is trying its best so bad right now. It's like, oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit, here we go again. He's got giant fucking files. He's got huge. Alright. That's small enough for Discord. So I will send it on Discord. Hold up. Upload file. That should be small enough. Should be. It's loading. Oh yeah. Oh, I don't apologize to Clip Studio. It should understand me by now. I don't treat it well at all. I don't treat it nicely at all. It can go fuck itself. There we go. There you go, Heven. I put it in the art Discord, and I'm gonna put it everywhere else. Let's see. Yo, Danny Phantom. It's just 14. And I gotta put it into I've got to put it into what's his face's Simon's. Okay. Corpse 29. Okay. I got to put it in Simon's chat. Let's go to Simon. Let's go to his art share. Let's go all the way down his art share. Quite a lot, quite a few, quite a bit. I haven't uploaded in a bit. And bam. Bam. It's gonna freak him. Oh yeah, it's gonna perturb him quite a bit. Yeah, it's in his Discord. Let's see, art section. It's gonna freak him out quite a bit. Love that the mic picked that up. Great. Yeah, no. I think that he is going to just love that. And you know what time it is? Heven, you know what time it is? I got done with art. So you know what time it is? Which means it's about to be that time again. It is the spooky month. It is the spooky month. We got to find out who we're rating. Let's find out who we're rating. Raid time. Bill. Rating Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill. We got Neko Chibia. Neko Chibia. We got D20 Thoughts, but he's got 17. I think it's gonna have to be it's gonna be Neko Chibia. Alright, Neko Chibia it is. I'm not tired, but it's 5:53 in the morning. I need to go to bed. If I wake up early in the tomorrow, I literally did 4-hour stream. Like, right, Heven? I did basically a 4-hour stream. I got done with the art piece. They're playing Vampire. Yeah, this is a good stopping point. So it's all good. Hell yeah, I did. Alright. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, everybody, for everything you've done. Thank you, Heven, for being such an amazing viewer that I could do this amazing piece. Sorry for not being able to continue on talking. If you ever did a question or compliment, I went to get some alcohol and some sorry on talking. If you ever did a question, Merp, good stuff. Thank you, General Lautis. It's okay. I am the Major General. Square of the hypotenuse. Anyway, thank you guys for being amazing. Thank you guys for being stupendous. Thank you guys for watching me. And thank you, General, for coming back. And high five, bro. Thank you, everybody, for being amazing, stupendous, and awesome. I will see you tomorrow night, and we will have some fun then. So I will see you later. Bye-bye.